Okay, we're doing it. Woohoo! All right. Okay, ba-bam. All right, we've got one viewer so far. Lovely. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Just getting this thing started. When it looks like it's we got 3 minutes to begin here. And yeah, I'm still sort of organizing things. So yeah, please stick around. And yeah, don't forget your adult beverage. Okay, how we angle this? How do we do that? That looks better, huh? I think so. Crank it up just a little bit. Can't really see me, which kind of sucks a little bit. All right, let's do a little prep here before we get started. 2 minutes. 2 minutes! Can we see the whole board? I wonder. Yeah, we can all see that. Yeah, hopefully that may run out of space. I'll try and be a little. And number one, of course, I had that screen pulled up, is the Rangers. Rangers. Who else we got here? Oh, I have the order right here. Rangers, LA. Oh, of course, these could be traded anytime soon. You never know. Imagine the Rangers trading their pick to Buffalo for Jack Eichel. Wouldn't that be a lot of fun on draft day? 2. Right. How's that? Can we see that? Yeah, we can. That's good. It's good. Okay. 2 people. This is getting a little heavy now. All right. We're a minute away, less than a minute away, and we'll get the show going. Back to one person. Okay. Who's next? Ottawa. Get this going here. Bam. Why don't I move this closer? To really help me out, I think. There we go. And the show should be starting any second. Let's refresh my page here. See what's going on. Go to channel.
Celebrate Canada's talented and racially diverse filmmakers.
There we are. Okay, so we sort of started. The commercials have begun. And more commercials. I guess we'll just wait this out a little bit longer.
Train for your true calling with the Canadian Armed Forces.
The following is a presentation of Sportsnet in association with the National Hockey League.
We have the Detroit.
There's never going to be an NHL draft like this again in history.
One thing is for sure, there will be the raw emotion of dreams coming to fruition.
The future begins tonight.
This is it, the moment that 31 kids have waited for, the moment that 31 kids have skated for.
In this year of doing things differently, it goes without saying that it will be a bit strange this time around. No nervous players in the stands with flashy suits and fresh haircuts. flanked by friends and family as they await the moment their name is called. No greeting from the commissioner.
You should be very proud
How's
of
that
yourself.
looking?
This is awesome. Focus to the
Looks all
NHL.
No new sweater to slip on.
Yeah. We can do that.
Everything happening at a safe remove. But let's focus on what's the same. A new wave of talent entering the National Hockey League.
Byfield, tight to the middle of the ice. Nice move. Byfield wants it. He scores! Ryan Byfield! Here's a chance for Rossi. Scores!
All right.
Including a first overall pick.
So it
Tabbed as
started.
the Sportsnet superstar.
They're just going over all the pre-show stuff.
The intrigue of draft day wheeling and
As
dealing
I'm sure you can
as
hear some
teams
of it right
position
now.
themselves
It's
for next season and beyond.
it's the
We
foreplay
have a trend
stage.
to announce.
And most of all, a sense of renewal. The cycle of the game continuing, knowing soon enough the puck will drop again.
Two boards. Have another
Welcome
one ready.
to June and
This
October.
one isn't.
And why not? As long as someone is on the clock.
16. Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
Great work as always by Stephen Brunt. Have a look at 31 NHL draft centers. Some big decisions tonight. General managers have all been sent cameras, but like every draft, it's all about the kid. 31 of them. Hats have all been sent, and we are going virtual. And the wonderful thing
Right.
about the draft in a lot of ways is it is a optimistic day. Nobody says goodbye.
Welcome,
just
everybody.
hello. Welcome to the team. It may have been difficult to get here, but here we are. The season may have been messed up, but tonight we are getting dressed up. Welcome to the 2020
I'm
NHL
watching
Draft
this on
presented
Sportsnet,
by
by
Team
the way.
Rogers. We are so happy to be along with you. Jeff Merrick,
Here we go.
Sam Cousin,
Here we go.
Brian Burke, Jamie Hirsch of
Let's
the
listen
NHL
in.
Network. We will talk plenty about Alexis Lafreniere here in a couple of moments, but Sam, for everyone out here who is an agent of chaos, let's talk about the wrench in the gears. Who are some of the wild cards we should pay attention to in the first round?
Well, I think it starts with Hendrix Lapierre of Chicoutimi. And here's a guy, when you go back to last August, based on a great performance at the Hlinka Gretzky Cup, he was a projected top 10 pick. 19 games into the season, he gets hurt. The determination is it a head issue? Is it a neck issue? Teams will have to make that determination. But he's healthy enough to have started
How's
the year.
everybody hearing
Preseason,
this?
8 points in 4 games,
Anyone
5 points
wanna
in 2 games to start
give
the
me a
year,
yay
regular
or a nay?
season with Chicoutimi. Is he back in that top 10 conversation?
That weekend he just had in the queue was outstanding, but there's a goaltender to talk about here, Brian.
There's a goaltender in here, and this guy's special. This is a really special player, Yaroslav Askarov. This guy's tall enough to change light bulbs without a ladder. He's 6'3", 190. He's athletic. He's competitive. He's sound technically. He's a good skater. He handles the
I
puck
could see
well.
them going in
He
the
has
top 10.
staggering save percentages in his last 3 international tournaments.
Yeah.
948, 954, and 960. This guy is a stud.
Maybe we
We've
can
not
bet
seen a
on
goaltender
when
that's highly
he'll go.
touted since Carey Price was selected
Oh, nice.
fifth
Thank
in
you.
2005 from the Tri-City Americans.
Thanks,
Let's
Houston.
meet the rest of the
Houston,
crew
you.
this evening. We go upstairs. Elliot Friedman, a mainstay on draft day, joined by former NHL executive, most recently with the LA Kings. Welcome, Mike Fuda.
And I think it's safe to say, Jeff, the best executive who's ever appeared on a Sportsnet panel, correct?
Well, it was 2008. Steven Stamkos draft. LA Kings picking second overall. Have to come away with a piece of gold. Drew Doughty, 2-time Stanley Cup winner, 2-time gold medal championship, Norris Trophy winner. We walked away with a piece of gold. Flash forward 2020. Los Angeles Kings picking second overall. Lafreniere's off the table, staring him straight in the face. 2 legit, solid
gracias,
future
señor.
superstars.
Much
Quentin
appreciated.
Byfield, Tim Stützle. They're going to walk away with a piece of gold.
Thanks
Yes.
very much, Mike. We look forward
I
to
very
hearing
much think
everything
he'll
you have
go
to add
number
to the broadcast, your insights
Hell.
throughout the evening. Jeff?
All right, and all eyes are very much
Is it
on Alexis
possible he goes
Lafreniere, who
one?
burst onto the scene in the QMJHL as a
Little controversy
15-year-old and scored 42 goals. That's outstanding. He was a star in the
cool.
Quebec PB
Welcome,
tournament
Hans
as
Kuhl
well.
from
Let's get a
Germany.
little bit closer now to
Hey,
someone's going to
Todd.
be
How's it
selected
going?
here in a couple of moments.
What's up,
Meet the
buddy?
future, Alexis Lafreniere, presented
Thanks
by
thanks
Ram
for
Trucks,
coming.
back-to-back winners of Motor
Hope you have
Trend
your beer.
Truck of the Year. Here's Lafreniere.
We'll have another light. More light. Aziz.
Lafrenière side, le tir, le but. Lafrenière, pleine vitesse. On lui ramène le tir.
Still talking about Lafreniere. Moving on. It is
looking
very
forward
loud.
to be drafted in
Like, to turn it
Montreal,
down
in my
a
hometown,
touch.
but with COVID and all that stuff, it's going to be something different.
My goal is for you to
You know,
hear
I've been
that
dreaming
and
of
me.
being drafted in the
But,
NHL growing up, so for me, it's going to be a really
hopefully that's
special
better.
for sure.
Let me know how that
The
sounds.
number one overall selection in the
I keep on
2020
looking at the
NHL Draft
screen where I should be looking at
belongs to a
you,
team
at the camera.
yet to be determined, coming from the qualifying round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It was pretty
Maybe I'm just
surprising,
very
I would
loud.
say. We
I think
thought
I'm-
it was going to be
I
a team
project.
that was going
A
to
loudspeaker.
be big. Pretty weird feeling, I would say.
It is now time to see who the winning team is.
The first selection in the 2020 NHL Draft belongs to the New York Rangers.
I was really happy. They have a really good team, really good players there, and exciting to see the logo of New York.
Yeah, I think
we'll see what
Stutzel's
happens
going to
next.
go
From a league standpoint,
second.
this
That's
guy's
my
going to be a
guess.
special
He's
player.
just too
That's a good
talented.
market for him.
I've never been to New York, so I don't know what to expect that much. But I think the guys there will be able to help me a little bit, and just try to be myself. And
Imagine Lafreniere falling
really
to like second.
Maybe the
overall.
most impressive thing for me is
Weird
just
things
how
have
good
happened.
he's been, how consistent he's been. You think about comparing him to Sidney Crosby, of course you would, because he's wearing the Oceanic uniform.
Watching him a lot growing up, one of my favorite players, and just being able to play in the same team.
Volume is perfect.
Really fun and really
Thank you.
amazing for me.
Rimouski, vous êtes beaucoup pour moi et ma famille.
Now, is that
Nous avons des bons
how
souvenirs
loud
ensemble
I am? Or how loud
pendant
the
toutes
TV?
ces années. Et ce soir, c'est
Not
un grand
loud.
honneur. Merci du fond de mon cœur.
After the jersey retirement, he came in the room, talked to us, talked to him a little bit. It was fun for us because we were excited to have the jersey retirement, and for me talking to him a little bit, it was really special.
He does everything well. He's a great skater, great hockey
So
sense.
Lafreniere is just talking
Shoots
about
it well. You could just
himself,
tell every time he
blah,
was
blah,
on
blah.
the ice, he was setting
And
up
everybody
guys
else
or getting
talking about
chances himself.
Lafreniere.
He's a special player.
For sure,
Still,
I'm getting excited.
more foreplay.
Been waiting a lot. Time I'm going to
continue
hear
to
my
wait.
name. It's going to be really, really special.
Meet the future. Powered by Ram Trucks. Innovative, capable, luxurious. Back-to-back winners of Motor Trend Truck of the Year.
Such a special player. So here's the question. Does Alexis Lafreniere join the ranks of Connor McDavid, selected first overall? Austin Matthews, same in Buffalo. Have a look at Nico Hischier. Have a look at Rasmus Dahlin. And last year, Jack Hughes. The answer next.
What if there's a betting line?
The 2020
for who
NHL
goes
Draft
for
on
draft,
Sportsnet. Brought to you by
for
Team
players taking
Rogers
the draft.
Community Draft. Apply now at
I'm sure there's gotta be in
Rogers.com/get
Vegas
drafted.
somewhere.
Who says $1 is only worth $1? We think it should be more. So we reimagined the bank account.
You can't do that.
Can you?
We can, and we did. For a start.
Commercials. I'll just turn that off. Maybe I should have some theme music, so every time I mute the commercials, I could have like a soundtrack. That'd be great. Probably something around, or like CCR, AC/DC maybe. 24. Although I'm a big James Brown guy too, so it's more commercials. Look at that. Oh, there's a glare here, huh? Well, it's just
When you
over the
commit to
numbers.
setting a new standard, you don't just build an award-winning vehicle or a safe vehicle.
Yeah. Maybe I'll
You
turn
build
off
a
the
truck that's
other
more
light
than
here.
anyone thought was possible. Ram 1500,
How's that?
awarded Luxury Car of the Year. Right now,
That's a
get
little bit
0%
better.
financing for up to 96 months on Ram
Yeah,
1500.
okay, the glare's gone.
Plus,
That's
your
what that
first
light
three
was.
payments
Okay.
are on us.
I'm a genius.
Register your kids for the Team Rogers Community Draft for a chance to get access to pro athlete mentors and $150 towards league fees. Apply now at Rogers.com/get drafted.
So, who do we have fans of here so far? Who's looking forward to? Who are your teams? Who am I talking to? Hans? Houston, you? Todd? No, Todd doesn't watch too much hockey.
Castro Edge.
Blues.
Live on the edge.
Oh, we got
Castro.
Ludwig's in
It's
there.
more
Okay.
than just oil. It's liquid
When are
engineering.
Blues drafting? Probably high.
Tip of the City. Weekdays on
Do they even
Sports.
have the first rounder? I'm sure they do.
What's
I don't
up,
remember them trading it
Chicago?
away.
New York Islanders are proud to select
Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Anybody else besides Ludwig? 24th, thank you. I don't have the list in front of me. I just kind of put the live video together like last minute. I knew I was going to do it, but I've been working a lot lately, so I haven't had time to prepare. This all literally went up like 20 minutes
I miss
ago.
all that. The tingles, the smiles, the laughs, the tears. There is no rink for the draft this year, but the commissioner is still very much involved as we head to our friends at the NHL Network in Secaucus, New Jersey. The NHL commissioner, Gary Bettman, about to get things rolling. Gary.
Let's see if I can get that list right now. Here's Gary Bettman, everybody.
Good
Stop what
evening,
you're doing and listen.
And welcome to the 2020 NHL Draft. Obviously, we are not on the floor of a packed and excited Bell Center in Montreal, as we had planned and would have much preferred. Rather, tonight and tomorrow, we are coming to you from the studios of the NHL Network in Secaucus, New Jersey, and through over 100 virtual connections from club draft command centers and prospects living rooms throughout North America and the rest of the world. So let me start the way I normally would and thank the Canadiens organization, beginning with Jeff Molson, both for the work they did in bidding to host this draft and for their understanding as we continue to adapt to circumstances beyond our control amid the challenges of 2020.
Okay, here we go.
Montreal, we look forward to you playing host to another draft very soon. As for tonight and tomorrow, some things are different than the most recent drafts. Some are even throwbacks to an earlier era when NHL drafts were conducted at league headquarters or hotel ballrooms with only staff in attendance and draft picks notified of their selection by phone. That all changed in 1980 when, for the first time, the NHL draft was staged as a public event in, of all places, Montreal.
Okay.
But the most important thing about the draft has remained constant
Thanks
since
for
its
joining.
inception in
Hey, everybody.
1963.
Egon,
And
hey, what's up?
however and wherever it has been held in the intervening 57 years, the draft is where a young man's dreams come true and where the
Nice.
foundations of franchises are built. Another aspect of the draft that remains unchanged, whether it is held in late June or early October, is that it serves as the pivot point at which the league turns its attention from the season just completed to the one coming up next. It was just over a week ago that we celebrated the successful completion of our 2019-20 return to play with the crowning of the Tampa Bay Lightning as Stanley Cup champions. And tonight, following discussions with the NHL Players Association,
Gary
and
Bettman is
based
just
on what we
blabbing
have
away here.
learned and what we know and what we even still don't know, I can say that we are now focused on a January 1 start for next season.
January 1st.
Given the increasing impact that
course, we all
talented
knew that
young
already,
players are making in our game, we can expect that there will be prospects chosen who tonight will make their NHL debuts on opening night of next season. And we can't wait to welcome them to our league and to be amazed by what they can do. So let's get started. In the first round, once a team is put on the clock, teams will have 5 minutes to make their selections. The first selection in the 2020 NHL Draft belongs to the New York Rangers. New York Rangers, you are on the clock.
Right, already? That's it.
Okay, and have a look at the Rangers table there. At the head, of course, Jeff Gordon. It was February the 8th, by the way, guys, 2018, when the Rangers essentially waved the white flag and said, we are rebuilding. Remember Henrik Lundqvist with the tears. Matt Zuccarello was leaving. Going to strip it down and build it back up. Since then, and have a look at Alexei Lafreniere. Igor Shesterkin evolves. Capo Caco gets drafted second. Artemi Panarin comes in, and going to sound like Churchill here. It feels like this is the end of the beginning of this rebuild for the New York Rangers. What are they getting in Alexei Lafreniere?
They're getting a guy who does just about everything in the game. You talk about a guy who competes hard. He can shoot the puck. He makes plays around him. He makes those around him better. He pays attention to what's happening in the defensive zone. And here's a guy really who, when you look at a Nathan McKinnon or you look at a Connor McDavid, it's that skating that pops to you immediately. You're not going to see that with Alexei Lafreniere because he's so good in so many facets. He has that well-rounded game. The interesting part about this player is that he's had 3 years to play in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League for his development. He's out training right now, but what will happen with him once this pick is made?
You know, and Brian, in a lot of ways, this has been the model rebuild from pretty much the beginning. Certainly there's some luck along with it.
Still waiting for the Rangers
Jeff
to make that
done a masterful job here.
Oh, yeah, model
not
job.
like they have to make
Win
their
the
way to
lottery
the podium.
twice, the draft lottery twice. Move up 4 times once, move up 11 spots this time. Yeah, that's a great job. That's someone said to me,
Rangers,
why didn't you do the Pittsburgh model rebuild? I said, yeah, win a lottery and get the best player in 20 years. How do I sign up for that? He's done a good job, but he's got a lot of help here. They've done a really good job, but they got help from the draft lottery, and we got to fix that. They can't leapfrog 11 teams.
Alexei Lafreniere is going to be an outstanding prospect for the New York Rangers for a number of years, and that's our panels in. So let's head upstairs now. Elliot Friedman with Mike Fuda with their thoughts.
So, Michael, you've been in this seat just before the draft is about to begin. What's that like for the individual teams, the people who are making these selections?
There's a ton of tension. I mean, you're looking for something to break the tension. You're looking in the crowd for that kid you're going to select. You're waiting for the media text that's going to ask you who you're going to take. You get senseless calls from friends. That still hasn't stopped.
Anaheim,
and you're just trying to break that tension. It's like around here, you've got Brian Burke that keeps things light, keeps things cool for us. And at the National Hockey level, I found it funny, especially when Luc Robitaille and Rob Blake took over, that the phone would usually ring and the Montreal Canadiens would, Marc Bergevin, I'd pick up the phone thinking there was a big trade happening, pass the phone to Rob Blake, and Berge would be just cracking a joke to lighten things up.
And San Jose.
Your tie's badge, something like that?
You got something on your tie. Luke, what'd you have for lunch? What'd you have for dinner? Nothing hockey related, but it was always to keep things light.
Well, Michael, Marc Bergevin did make one phone call today, and that was to Columbus, where the Canadiens
wants to say hello.
traded Max Domi for Josh Anderson. Columbus also got a 3rd-round pick, 78th overall. That will be done tomorrow. Both players are restricted free agents with arbitration rights, so both teams will have to sign those players. Let's go to Jamie Hirsch at the NHL Network. Jamie?
This is totally different. You are at home. You mentioned your family. So what's your setup like right there?
Okay, so they're talking to Lafreniere.
We have cameras here, and
Lafreniere.
I'll be with my family sitting and just waiting for the pick. And we'll see. It's like you said, it's different.
We're still waiting.
It's not what everybody expected, but
the Rangers got to get their fax machine.
Find a way to enjoy it, and it's still a big honor for me.
Okay. I'm
Have a look at a young Alexei Lafreniere wearing the Rimouski jersey, destined to join the same team that Sidney Crosby once played for. And I always feel a little bit strange putting these graphics up. No pressure, kids. Only 2 players who won the CHL Player of the Year twice. Sidney Crosby and Alexei Lafreniere. Is this fair? Are they more, Sam, similar or different players?
I think they're different players. I think they're both exhibit the power game, but when you look at Crosby, when the chips are down, this guy's performed well.
They're
So too is
comparing
Lafreniere
Crosby
to this
to
point. He just
Lafreniere
hasn't
right
done
now
it
on the
at the
panel.
NHL level, but that will come in time. But in
Between
terms
Jeff
of their
Merrick and,
overall skill set, attention to
Burke
detail
and,
all
my
over the
great
ice,
scouts
there are a
right
lot
here.
of similarities there.
This is a big market that Alexei Lafreniere is going to. New York City. Does it take a special type of player, Brian,
Okay,
to
so I have all
succeed in
the
an environment like that?
It takes a special player to
players
deal
lined
with
up here.
failure or adversity in New York. They're unforgiving fans. They'll be
You can
given a
see
real
that.
good
I'll
chance.
bring a little
If he has
closer.
a slow start the first 18 months,
There we go.
they will be hard on him. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's ready to play and contribute right away.
Deep prospect pool already for the New York Rangers. Think of Keandre Miller and we think of Philip Hedl. It's about to get deeper, Sam.
4 years, no first rounders. The last 3 years, they've had 6 of them and 2 more tonight. That's how you hasten a rebuild.
And you win a lottery twice.
Sorry.
The Metropolitan Division about to get that much better. Let's head back to the NHL Network.
Okay,
NHL Commissioner
I've lost
Gary
the
Bettman.
message board here. Houston, Hugh,
The
move the
first
board a bit
selection
closer.
in the
Don't need to see
2020
that Ducks
NHL
look.
Draft will be made by New York Rangers
Touche.
general manager Jeff Gordon.
Oh, here we go. First pick.
With the first pick in the 2020 NHL Draft, the New York Rangers are proud to select from the Rimouski Oceanic, Alexis Lafreniere.
There we go. Alexis Lafreniere, everybody.
Celebratory hugs for Alexis Lafreniere. Perhaps the worst kept secret at the draft, guys. Alexis Lafreniere was going first overall. Sam, your thoughts on? I mean, you followed this guy even before he played in the QMJHL, but going back to the Quebec Pee Wee tournament.
Surprise, surprise,
exactly.
everybody.
You know, talk about his development a little bit and what the Rangers are getting.
They're getting Mr. Everything. And you look at his dad, Hugo, there, and just think that this guy might have some more room to grow. And that's scary because he's already a big-bodied guy who loves to play that physical game. We saw that this year. But going back to the start of his career, when he came into the league as a 15-year-old, he put up 42 goals. And you're saying, all right, well, you're the first overall pick. You should produce at pretty high levels, maybe not that high. So the next year he comes back and he says, you know what, I'm going to show off a little different element to my game. I'm going to add a layer. What's that layer? The ability to make plays. 68 assists, 107 points, and now you're saying, all right, this guy's a dual threat. Well, how about in year 3? What are you going to do for your encore? Well, I'm going to show a little bit more consistency in my game, and I'm going to add that physical edge. So if anyone wants to mess with me in the net front or in the corners as a winger, don't worry about it. I've got you handled. He proved to be all of those things for Canada at the World Juniors. He scored goals. He made plays. He showed off the great physical attributes to his game, and all of a sudden you were looking at an MVP and the first overall pick. Well deserved for this young man.
I think we're all
right. The last time the New York Rangers drafted a left winger in the first round, we go back to 2009.
Who else is here? Hey, Kip Spider,
Jeff
2009.
You have Alexis Lafreniere. What's your first order of business as a general manager with this prize?
Well, you got to sign him, obviously, but everyone knows what the market is for these types of picks. Whether that changes in the COVID world or not, I don't know. You got to sign him. That's number one. Number two is get him into the city and acclimate him. He's never been there before. It's an intimidating place your first time you go to New York City. But I think if you talk to the other players, you might get bumped off a line here and reassure them that they've still got a job.
What are expectations? We always think of the first overall pick goes right into the NHL. This young man's going to go right into the NHL in the Big Apple and play with the Rangers. You wonder about expectations. What's reasonable for Alexis Lafreniere at the NHL level?
Well, first let me say they're probably going to be heightened. And the reason is when you look at what all the time he's had to prepare here in terms of the training, the off-ice, the on-ice, the skills, the skating, all of those things will have had more time to prepare than anyone else in the draft history. So now you're saying to yourself, Jeff, all right, we expected him to come in and be an impact guy right away, but I would look at a baseline of 50 points because I do believe as smart as he is and as good as he makes those around him better, when you get to the National Hockey League, some of those passes that are in the feet or just beyond the stick no longer are that way. They're received, they're taken care of. And now you have a guy who is that much better because he thinks the game at that same level.
You've seen this player play, Ryan. You know what he can bring. You've talked about how he's a left winger until he crosses the blue line, and then he's a center. We've seen more playmaking wingers
Johnny Hood
in the NHL than we ever have
Go
before.
Sens, go.
This is a long-winded way, Brian, of me asking you the same question I just asked Sam. Expectations for Lafreniere in New York.
Well, the expectations I think will be met because I'm with Sam. I think this player is ready to play. He's physically ready to play. He's a robust kid.
That's my
all these kids quit playing hockey in March. All they've done in those 5.5 months since then is train in the gym, working on their explosiveness, working on their upper bodies. The kids we interviewed are all at least 10 to 15, some 20 pounds heavier than they were at the pause. So to me, he's even more prepared. He was ready before, and now he's even more prepared. I think he's ready to step in right away.
I know you're sour about this, but the Rangers are the first team since 1983 to compete in the Stanley Cup playoffs and also select first overall. Minnesota did it in 1983. That was a trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They took Brian Lawton, now, of course, at the NHL Network, and now here are the Rangers. Let's get now to Jeff Gordon, the New York Rangers general manager.
Okay.
Jeff,
now
congratulations on the first overall pick. We can
Rangers
now talk
GM.
about it officially. Alexis
going to say the same thing they
will
just
be
said.
a New York Ranger. What is
It's
it
so
about his
exciting.
game that makes you believe he can come into the league and make an immediate impact for your team?
I still love the draft. I
I
don't
think
care.
it's how well-rounded he is. You know, obviously when you
I
go
make
first
fun of it,
overall,
but,
he's got
you know.
skill. The talent's obvious. He can skate.
Gotta make fun of
But
something.
I think it's on
Including
top of that
ourselves.
is his work ethic and the physical play. He's willing to do anything to win. Putting team first. He has. You know, we talk about 5 tool players in other sports, but you know, we feel like he's got all the tools.
You know, it
All
was
the
probably
tools.
in
He's a
January
good
where
player.
he really set himself apart from the pack. But at what point
Plays
in your
hard,
scouting
battles-
process did you
battles in the
know
corners.
that if you were able to get the number 1 overall pick that you would
I think
pick
he's
him?
number 1.
I mean, I think like everybody else, we knew early on that he was going to, you know, he came out of the World Junior. I think it was pretty clear he was going to be the number 1 player, that it wasn't, you know, we most teams.
Everyone
would've said
heard
the same
about
thing.
the
So we had
Brendan
him first
Dillon
overall
signing
for a long
earlier
time,
today.
and it never
The
really changed.
Capitals
So you
signed him
not
to
only
a
have Alexi
4-year,
Lafreniere, but you also have
$15.6
one
million
more pick to
deal,
make later on tonight, assuming
works out to about
nothing crazy
3.9 a
happens,
year.
no
I think.
other trades are made. So what are you looking into
Of course, Domi
improving
went
in
to
terms
the
of other
Blue
areas of strength?
Jackets for Anderson. There's that too.
Yeah, I think at 22,
That's the latest.
you know, we're going to see how the board develops, and I think we'll be in a position later in the first to take the best player available and look down the road who's going to be the best player in 3 or 4 years.
Best
Okay,
player.
well, we'll talk to you
I
later
gotta
in the
find a
night
way
then.
to
Thanks,
stream
Jeff.
this through my camera because the
Thank you, Jamie.
camera on the Mac kind of sucks.
Jamie,
doesn't it?
thanks very much. Congratulations to New York
I know,
Rangers,
I'm
and
regularly
congratulations to
ugly,
Alexi
but
Lafreniere, who
it's
goes first
just
overall. We now wonder
not
who
up to my
goes second.
standards.
Back to Secaucus in the NHL Network, and the commissioner, Gary Bettman.
My standards.
The second selection in the 2020
Here we go.
NHL Draft will be made by Vice President and General Manager of the Los Angeles Kings, Rob Blake.
LA's up to bat here. Rob Blake.
The Los Angeles
Ooh, he's at a
Kings
podium.
are proud to select with the second pick in the 2020 NHL Draft from Sudbury Wolves of the Ontario Hockey League, Quinton Byfield.
Oh, wow. So he does end up going second after all. Quinton Byfield. Wow.
What a wonderful celebration for Quinton Byfield.
Quinton
and his
Byfield
family.
just
The
goes
hugs,
to
high
the
fives,
LA
the tears. We
Kings.
should always point out the bow tie. That is very important to Quinton Byfield, even going back to his days playing minor hockey with the York Simcoe Express. Whenever it was a big event, he always wore the bow tie.
Let's get that on the board.
Sam, you've talked plenty and watched Byfield plenty in Ontario. What did the Kings get in this pick?
Number 1, everything that a general manager wants. A 6'4", 215-pound center. What I like most about Byfield is the fact that I think there's massive growth potential with the player. And I'm talking about not just size, but in his game. When you talk to this young man, he still looks like a young man. I think he can play at 20 pounds heavier than what he is now. And if he happens to grow from 6'4" to 6'5" or 6'6", can you imagine what it's going to be like? Now you talk
He could
about the
still
skating
be growing
ability for a
at
big man.
6'4".
Unbelievable. He gets it up and down the ice in a hurry. Then you add in the elements of the hands. And where's the game being played today? It's being played in tight areas and in small
I'll see
spaces.
the board.
So Quinton Byfield has the
Everybody
ability
is
to
content.
be able to do
Yes.
that. So I love everything that he brings to the table. But most importantly, NHL general managers are looking for size down the middle of the ice. Oh, yeah, and all those other great attributes are nice gravy to this pack.
Everybody
And,
I
look
can hear
down
this,
the
I
center
assume.
position
Volume's
for the
good
Los
for everybody,
Angeles
I think.
Kings. And if you're Quinton Byfield, you're saying to yourself, I get to be in the same room and share the same sheet as Ansei Kopitar.
Kucherov
It's
is
a
the
blessing
best.
mine.
Great mentor
He is a pretty
position.
awesome
Also
player.
point out, he's a young player. He's 10 months younger than the other kids in this draft. So he
10
does
months
have
younger,
potential to
Byfield.
grow and develop. The one criticism I have, and it's a minor criticism, is I don't know why he uses such a short stick. He loses a lot of his height advantage. My guess will be LA is going to fix that as soon as he gets their development.
That is a
camp and
really
say,
short
"Kid,
stick. Wow."
Try a stick an inch longer, then 2 inches longer. He skates so hunched over.
It's
he
like
loses a lot of his height
2
advantage.
feet off the
a lot
ground
of his
when he
reach
holds it
advantage. He's
like
still a special
downwards
player.
on an
But
angle.
I think
like
he can
this
be
still.
the more special if he grows. And you see it right here. I think if he has a longer stick, he has a bigger wingspan. He can make wider moves with the puck.
They're comparing
And I think
his,
that'll be
what
change
his
number
stick
1
should
for
be
LA.
like a guy
Again,
his size
much
like
in the
Malkin.
same vein as we talked
now.
about Alexi Lafreniere and Sidney Crosby. Here I go again. Is Malkin the right comparable?
Yeah,
Quinton
because
Byfield.
Well, sure, because he plays a power game. He's so difficult to get off the puck. You're talking about a guy who's got amazing stick skills, and you saw that long stick. Once he gets used to playing with that thing, look out, he's going to be lights out. You'll never be able to get the puck from the young
So this
man.
is a sports
In tight,
net
he can
scout.
give you that net front presence, and that's where they played him at the Hlinka Gretzky, knowing that, hey, we got some pretty good
Talking
half-wall
about
guys
Byfield here.
with Perfetti and Jarvis. Why don't you go get in front of the net there, Quinton, and just pick up all the trash, because there's going to be lots of it there for you. I love this young man. I love his personality. I love the fact that you know what? He's got
Celtic, Roscoe,
type of
Lachaim,
kid. When Rob Papineau
Zdravia.
selected him first overall in the OHL
Good
draft,
ball.
look at this.
Cheers.
He sent a card to the general manager. Best regards, Quentin. Thanks so much for making the last couple of weeks special. That's when he went to his first camp with Sudbury. This guy was so elated to be in the Ontario Hockey League. I mean, who sends a card unless you're Brian Burke, who's old school, is writing letters to everybody?
Berkey's not old school. He's from the school they burned down to build the old school. How much does this, because we see LA right now, last year with Alex Turcotte specifically, they're really moving that program forward with youth. How much does that push it for LA?
Well, this is an elite player, and I agree with everything
player.
Sam just said. This guy, when you get a player, like step back, he's an elite skater. Forget the fact that he's huge. He's an elite skater in a pool of elite skaters. But you add the fact that he's an elite skater and he's that big, and I think he might grow some more too. You're talking about a special package here. So to me, they have taken a giant step forward today, adding this player. I love him.
The thought on taking Byfield
I thought
over
Stützle might go second,
sort of
but
back and forth. We've had this
how
conversation
talented he
numerous
is. But
times. Why go Byfield?
I guess
the Los
he's going to
Angeles
go third here.
Well, I do think it's the size down the middle of the ice. But when you look at the mentorship that you
Oh,
talked
well,
about with Anze Kopitar, I
Rip
mean,
Z
you're hitting a
Tex.
home run there. You're
I
talking
guess I
about a
just
guy who
answered
plays the
your
game
question.
the right
I
way.
thought
Quentin does that
Stützle
already.
might go
I
second.
talked to Corey Stillman, his coach there last night. He said, we absolutely love this guy. And you sit back and maybe you
He seems like a
overanalyze,
really
you know,
intelligent player.
paralysis by analysis,
Stützle, that
if you will.
is.
Take the big guy down the middle of the ice.
World-class
That's exactly
skater.
what they did.
Really
Okay,
good
so
hands.
congratulations
He's
to
a
the LA
center
Kings, and
who also
Quentin
plays
Byfield and
wing.
his family goes second overall to Los Angeles.
And
now
he's-
it's time,
he's-
and you
it's
always
not like
talk about
he's,
legends, Brian. And there's a drop
he's
off
6
after
foot,
one,
so
and
he's
then there's
not
a pair of twos. How do
super
we
big or
see this
anything,
ledge? Essentially, what I'm asking, Brian, is does Pierre
He's still
Dorian
growing, too.
have to make a pick here, or did a pick just fall to him and Tim Stützle?
In my opinion, the latter. I think there were two guys. There's a group of three guys, and
So
Tim
Ottawa's
Stützle
next.
is in that group. I think this kid's a legitimate top prospect as well. I think LA decided to go for size. This kid, in my mind, he plays center and wing. I think he's a winger. He's a thick, obnoxious, physical kid. He gets to lose pucks and wins battles. He doesn't hit to punish. He hits to separate the puck and win puck battles. But this kid's going to play right away too.
And we see a
There's
theme
your
already
answer there,
developing. If you
Tex.
have a look there at Tim Stützle,
Well,
the bow
not my
tie
answer,
is very
Brian
much a
Burke's
thing
answer,
so far
but-
with these young prospects. Tell us about the German forward.
Well, it's a little bit of a German thing. Dominic Bach did it when he was taken in the first round. I believe Leon Draisaitl had it going on, and now here, or Mo Seider had it going on, and now this will be the case for Stützle. But you know, you look at the
Stützle.
Ottawa Senators in general, and Pierre Dorian has really done a
So
brilliant
he
job.
sort of
I think
passed like
you go
a
back to about a year ago, and everyone's saying, "Hey, what are you doing? No Stone, no Carlson, no Duchesne. What's going on around here?"
Maybe Hans
And
can
now
tell
all of a
us
sudden,
how to
this guy's got
pronounce his
13
name
picks in
properly.
this draft.
Stützle's
He's got
correct, I
prospect
would
stock
imagine.
deep at every position. He's just going to add to the pile here.
Hans.
The Ottawa Senators draft third in a couple of moments. They will also draft fifth. Two players in the top five. Do you know anything about that? Going back to 1999, maybe Brian Burke. I'm sure there's a Sedin.
3 players in the first round for Ottawa. That's crazy.
Commissioner Gary Bettman.
Here we go.
To make the third selection in
Introduce Ottawa
the
here.
2020 NHL Draft, the Senators have enlisted the services of a special guest who also happens to be a graduate of the University of Ottawa.
Here is the host.
Alex
of
Trebek,
Jeopardy!
really? That's fantastic. Bravo.
Thank you, Johnny. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Jeopardy! Our category today is the NHL. And here is the clue for you. With the third pick in the 2020 NHL Draft, the Ottawa Senators choose this player.
Oh, this is
The
great.
correct response, who is Tim Stützle?
He said Stützle. That's like. I think he just mispronounced that. That's hilarious. That's a great little gimmick there. That's funny.
That was fantastic and
Yeah.
completely unexpected. Alex Trebek with the pick for
announcing
the
the
Ottawa
pick.
Senators. If you're expecting Pierre Dorian, sorry, Alex Trebek announcing Tim Stützle.
Genius,
He goes
Ottawa.
third overall.
Got to give him kudos for
Quickly,
that.
before we get to the player, thoughts on Alex Trebek making the pick, Sam? You never thought we'd see that.
Germans for 200, please, and we might get him back
That's
for a
gonna
couple
start
more
a
in
trend,
the
I get
later
a feeling.
part of the round. You're looking at Reichel and Paterka down the road here in this first round as well. So pretty cool to be able to do that. That's awesome.
That's fantastic. What does Ottawa, as he puts on the sweater and puts on the ball cap as well, what is Ottawa getting with this player at 3?
Well, you're getting a guy who's got great feet, and he has the ability to match the hands with the feet. And that's a tough combination to find. Usually one is ahead of the other, but that's not the case with this young man. The most impressive part about him, though, I believe, is, yeah, we can watch him make plays. We can watch him score goals. A first power play unit playing in the DEL in the men's league. He puts up 34 points in 41 games, and he runs a power play off the half wall. You just don't see that. But he's got great admiration from his teammates. Mark Caddick used to play in the Ontario Hockey League in Sarnia. I gave him a call, and I said, what is it about this guy? I mean, is he the real deal? Like, what's going on? He said, oh, you have no idea. Not only is he an unbelievable person, an amazing player, but we can't get him out of the rink. He's the first guy to the rink. He's wanting to work on his off-ice stuff. He's wanting to work on his skills. He's wanting to work on his skating. And you look at him, it looks like he's cut out of stone. He looks a little bit like Ivan Drago from Rocky. I mean,
I wonder if LA is going to regret picking
I love what he brings to the table. And Pierre Dorion was just sitting there saying, come to mama, come to mama. He's either going to get Byfield or Stützle, and he got a great one there.
It's a great pick for the Ottawa Senators. And Brian, you specifically, going back to when you were manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, have talked about
Ottawa gets Stützle.
German hockey. This is another brick in that wall.
Well, you remember the old movie, The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. The Germans are coming, the Germans are coming. Not just this year. This is a big wave. He played for Mannheim. That is the Cadillac of European teams, in my view. There's a couple could argue that. It's certainly the Cadillac in Germany. They do things right. This kid's ready to play. He speaks perfect English. He's a cheerful kid. He'll be a popular teammate right away. He'll be popular in the Ottawa marketplace. He plays with pace. He plays hard. He can shoot the puck. I like this pick a lot, and I love the way they announced it.
Let's have a look here at some of the highest raised German players ever. And Sam mentioned he may see
my brother,
more.
Frank.
Patricia and Reichel a little bit later on. Tim Stützle goes third.
How high will Matt
Reigning
Sundin be
Hart Trophy
drafted?
champion with the Edmonton Oilers, drafted third in 2014.
I'm surprised he didn't go already.
Cider last year, by the way.
Craziness.
Steve Yzerman,
What's
here from Detroit in a
what's
couple of
everybody
seconds.
else
Shocked
thinking?
Everyone. So Brian, to your point, the Germans aren't just coming; they are here right now.
Welcome, Frank.
Well, there's 83 million people in Germany, and it's a country the size of Ohio and Indiana combined. It's a massive, dense population in a small area. They're athletic people, and they're starting to love hockey. Franz Reindl headed up the German Ice Hockey Federation. They've done a great job.
Good.
They force teams to keep a certain number of players a certain age. They should reduce their import totals, but otherwise, this is going to be a pipeline. This is not the first star from Germany after Draisaitl. There are going to be a lot of them.
Okay, that's Tim Stützle, who goes to the Ottawa Senators at number 3. Quentin Byfield has gone to the Los Angeles Kings, if he is joining us at 2. And a couple of moments ago, our good friends at the NHL Network, Jamie Hirsch, catching up with the first overall pick, Alexis Lafreniere.
Everybody can hear this, right? Can hear the
Alexi, congratulations. The speculation is over,
I've
and
already
you are
asked
now
about
a
that,
member of the
I'm
New
sure
York
the volume's
Rangers
fine.
franchise. What was it like to hear your name
I'm
as the first overall pick of this year's
obnoxious, but
draft?
no, you can't hear the.
It's a big honor for
can't
me.
hear the
Obviously,
TV?
Rangers. New York Rangers is a big organization with a lot of history
How
and
about now?
a lot
Let's
of
turn
great
it up.
players. So for me, it's a big honor, and I'm really excited to join this team.
You become the first Quebecois player to be drafted first overall since 2003. What do you think it means to the Quebec community, the hockey community
they're just
overall, to
interviewing
have a Quebecois player drafted
They're
first
interviewing
overall?
Lafreniere right now. I'll be right back.
I think it means a lot. It means a lot to
Don't
me.
go anywhere.
Just being able to represent the Quebec City, I think it's something really special for me, and I'm really excited to keep going and to try to make them proud again.
I know this night was totally different from how you probably imagined draft night when you were a kid, but what will you remember most about tonight?
I think just throwing on a Rangers jersey, it's pretty amazing. Growing up, you dream of being drafted in the NHL, and just being able to have an NHL jersey, and especially the New York jersey, it's really unreal for me.
Congratulations, Alexi. Can't wait to see you on the ice.
Okay. Almost at 300 subscribers, I think.
Lafreniere looks great in the
Quite
Ranger
close.
blue. We'll turn our attention now to the Detroit Red Wings. And a quick note, Steve Yzerman, the general manager, will participate remotely. He was exposed as someone who tested positive for COVID-19. Yzerman has gone through a number of tests, all negative, and is showing no symptoms. Chris Draper will handle the pick here in a couple of moments. The Detroit Red Wings selecting at number 4. This is not new territory for Detroit. They've done
Any
it
guesses
twice
here? This
before.
is wide open.
And let's have a look at who they selected.
Anyone?
4th overall. That is Fred Williams. Once upon a time, who played for your Maine Mariners, by the way,
Jamie
Brian. You guys missed each
Drysdale,
other by one season,
Marco
and then in
Rossi.
1983, Steve Yzerman was selected 4th overall. And have a look at the smiling Mike Ilitch there, and the smiling Steve Yzerman. Is this the first real pick that someone needs to make?
Oh yeah, this is where it really starts to rock and roll here. I mean, yep, Pierre Dorion next, so he's going to have an impact on things, no question. But when you talk about this 4th pick, there are a variety of ways in which Detroit can go. They have a boatload of picks in this draft, especially early on. I'm fascinated to see what they'll do here.
All right, back to the NHL Network in Secaucus, New Jersey, and the commissioner, Gary Bettman.
That's what brothers do, right? Here we go. Detroit's pick.
The 4th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by Detroit Red Wings Director of Amateur Scouting, Chris Draper.
Chris Draper. Anybody remember him in the Stanley Cup years?
With the 4th pick in the 2020 entry draft, the Detroit Red Wings are very excited to select from Frölunda, Lucas Raymond.
Wow. So far, the Hockey News is getting this right. In order. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if anyone heard that, Lucas Raymond, he's a right wing, shoots right, 5'10".
Red Wings, and there were so many rumors
going to Detroit.
Okay, guys, over the weekend, into yesterday, into today, would they look at the goaltender? Would they look at Cole Perfetti?
299
would they be looking at Jamie Drysdale?
Thank you so much,
Lucas
everybody.
Raymond, the winger, who started the season off fantastic so far, Sam, is
get that a
now
little
a member
higher.
of the Detroit Red Wings. Your thoughts?
Well, what's interesting about this guy is that you go back to last year when he played in the SHL, and he played limited minutes. And so you looked at his numbers and said, well, he doesn't really dazzle you that much. That is until you go at least close to his peer group. This guy's always played a year up. So when he went to the World Juniors, when he went to the under-18s, he was a star. He just didn't get the opportunity to do that with a great Frölunda team. That's all changed now. He's on the top line in Frölunda. He's on one of 2 power play units. But what's impressive about this guy, according to our people at Iceberg Analytics, he's great from home plate. That's where everyone wants to see those shots coming from, the high percentage shots, the high scoring area, the high danger area, if you will. Lucas Raymond is really proficient in that area.
It's like Vladimir Tarasenko in that way, who won't release the puck until he gets to that home plate area. Lucas Raymond, selected 4th by the Red Wings.
Well, consistent performer. Like every tournament he's in, he's been consistent. Like going back till he was 15. This guy performs on an even keel all the time. And he was a multi-sport athlete, which is something we like in draft picks. He's a great team player. He can kill penalties. In the Swedish Elite League as a kid, that's not easy. So this guy is a solid pick. I'm going to say this once now. I'll probably say it 5 more times. Scouts I talk to say there are more safe picks in this draft. Guys that are absolutely going to play, more safe picks in this draft than in the first round than they recall ever. So you can't go wrong in this next little stretch here. What's interesting to me is the 2 defensemen are still on the board. The goaltender is still on the board. So this pick is a little out of left field. Not that it's a strange pick. It's a sound pick. But that's the difference to me is now there's 2D just dropped.
The 2D that Brian is referring to, Jamie Drysdale of the Erie Otters, Jake Sanderson as well, the goaltender Yaroslav Askarov, who may throw a wrench into all of this. Do you have a quick final thought on Lucas Raymond for Detroit?
Well, you go back to a couple of years ago, a hat trick, including the overtime winner in the under-18s to beat Russia. Pretty heady stuff.
So he's 5'10", 165
pounds.
Lucas Raymond,
Elliot Friedman standing
by Detroit.
Well, when Pierre Dorion met with the
right
media
wing.
a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how
Hockey
potentially
News,
this pick could be in play. I don't think that
so far has been right about
I
all
think
the
Ottawa
picks
just
1
decided
through
they were going
4,
to stay and
and
make
they
the 2
compare
picks 3
him
and
to
5. What do you
Mitch
think
Marner,
he's thinking right now as he saw
believe it or not.
Lucas Raymond go in front of him?
Well, I think he's
Tim
just
Stutzlaw was compared
licking
to
his
Patrick
chops because
Kane.
there's 2 outstanding right shot defensemen sitting there.
Quentin Byfield,
looking at him. You've got Sanderson and you've got Drysdale. And I mean, they're both
Lafreniere,
completely different
Jonathan
players.
Huberdeau.
But I really think the Ottawa Senators, you build from the back end out, and there's just 2 incredible, totally different players. But I think both of them are going to be just incredible options for him sitting there at 5.
Were you surprised at all that Detroit took Raymond 4th?
It's that kind of draft. I mean, he's an elite player. He's got incredible offensive upside. He's speed, as the guys said. He's performed offensively gifted at every tournament in. He's a huge numbers player. I personally thought there was a couple better players on the board, but this is an outstanding pick. That's the difference in this year's draft, whereas you could almost pick the next pick after the next pick. I think there's going to be lots more like this where guys just have individual preferences. Their staff's done the work. It's a great pick.
I wanted to ask you
Frank,
one story.
who do you think the Leafs are going to pick
and
at
Braden
15?
Shen when
Who do
they're
you
in
want
their
them to
draft
pick
year?
anyway?
How you fooled around with Arizona picking behind you.
Well, you get your time, and of course you want to have fun. And Keith Gretzky was at the table next to me, and like that time Christian Ruutu. And I just reached over, and we knew we were taking Braden Shen, and you have those Velcro strips on the back of the names. So I just reached over to our guy at the time, Lee Callens. I said, Lee, do me a favor, take Ekman Larsson's name bar out and put it on his shirt. So we picked up the shirt, put Ekman Larsson on it, and showed Arizona. And you could just see it just took the wind out of their sails. Gretzky dropped his crayons, and Don Maloney was whining everywhere. And then they said, okay, guys, now you can take it off and put Shen on. We've had our fun.
That's mean. That's really mean. But I'm laughing at the idea of Gretzky dropping his crayon. That's a good line. Jeff, let's go back to you.
Brian Burke, you would never do anything like that as a general manager. The Ottawa Senators poised to select again for the second time in the top 5 teams with 2 picks in the top 5 in the last 40 years. Remember DiPietro and Rafi Torres back in 2000.
Who would you like to see them
I'm not sure who selected Daniel and Henrik 2-3.
I know it's a deep draft.
1997, Luongo and
I'm
Brewer,
thinking,
Chris Lecition, and Daniel Doré. The Quebec Nordiques back in 1988. By the way, on that Lucas Raymond pick, the last Swede to be selected in the first round by the Detroit Red Wings, Nicholas Kronwall,
ranked 22 by the Hockey News,
29th overall. So what are the options here, Sam, for the Ottawa Senators?
Overall,
well, if you look at what you probably should do, you want to address the toughest positions in the draft. So they've already got the center taken care of, so you'd have to look at a defenseman.
Yeah,
and the way I look at these two defensemen, Drysdale and Sanderson, is there's a bit of a drop off to the next two D,
like
Jake Muzzin and Braden
he
Schneider,
can defend
in
like
my
him
opinion.
too,
So I
and he
think
has
you have
offensive
to address
upside.
that area. But again, Pierre Dorion is sitting there and he's saying, all right, I've got 2 good goalies, Mads Sogard, Joey Decourt. I've got guys in the back end with Brandstrom and Bernard Docker, Lassie Thompson over in Finland. Then I've got guys up front. I got Formanton. I've got Josh Norris is going to be unbelievable player. I got Drake Batherson. So
if they can pay their players
to build and stockpile at the most important positions he's already done in a sense.
We see a Kachuk up front. We see a Shabbat on the blue line. We're starting to see the foundations of what the Ottawa Senators are going to look like.
3 years.
Here's another piece of the future for Ottawa. With that, we go to the commissioner, Gary Bettman,
Boston might
in New
kind of
Jersey.
suck.
The 5th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by Ottawa Senators General Manager Pierre Dorion.
Here we go. Pierre Dorion. Ottawa, number 5,
Thank you.
everybody.
First of all, I'd like to thank Alex Trebek for helping us with our 3rd selection. We'd also like to welcome Tim Stützle to the organization. Les Sénateurs d'Ottawa sont très fiers de choisir. The Ottawa Senators are real proud to select from the United States National Team Development Program and the University of North Dakota, Jake Sanderson.
Oh, cow. Wow. Ottawa picks Jake Sanderson, who was ranked by the Hockey News 11th
Okay, so we have
overall.
a little bit of a delay, but you will see the celebration.
And they
for those
pick
that
him
don't
at
know,
number
Jake
5.
Sanderson, the defenseman who's
He's
going
a left
to
shot
Nodak,
defenseman.
is the son of former NHLer Jeff Sanderson.
from the
Ricky, what
US.
can you tell us about Dad before we start to drill down on Jake the son?
Well, I only lasted a year in Hartford, so I only had Sandy for a year, but I'm pretty sure he scored 46 goals for us, and we were terrible. He was a joy to have. Great player, great teammate.
Put him on the board.
I'm glad this kid's bigger than his dad, though. This kid's 6'3". I called the dad last week to
6'3"?
check.
Hockey
He's
News has him at
6'3",
6'1".
left shot.
Maybe
He's a
grown
top
since
pick.
then. Who knows?
And now the crunch
possible.
comes on
Like
Anaheim. What do you do next?
6 months?
One of the 2 D is gone.
There's a Jamie Drysdale certainly out there.
Wow.
We know that Anaheim loves to select their defense.
let's get him on the
What
board
is
here.
Ottawa getting in Jake Sanderson?
Let's hear about Jake Sanderson now.
6'3", 100, well, now over 200 pounds left shot defenseman, but he's really good in his own end. Here he has a good stick, separates the puck from the man, no problem, initiates the breakout. How about a tight gap here? Yeah, I'm just going to erase this play, pinch him off to the boards. Puck's turned over. There we go. We exit the zone. Same sort of thing here. All right, I want to be able to initiate the breakout. I'll go to the middle of the ice. There you go. Okay, break up this play at the blue line. No problem. We get the offside call. Now more of Sanderson
No
playing that
trades
great
so far.
defensive style of game. Little support from his partner coming across to the blind side. Again, separates the puck from the man. So you're looking at a guy who has a great defensive foundation to his game. That was established early in the season. As you went to go later in the season, he said, you know what? We need to add more offense, and he started to add that part of his game.
And Seth Effort said, low-risk offense from this player will develop. Captain, elite defender.
You know, his father's, of course, Jeff Sanderson, and Jake is, I would suspect, oh, by the way, Berkey, I know this is after your heart. I wanted to make a story about Jeff, but
okay,
the
Jeff,
fish story.
I took Jeff fishing at Langara Lodge in Haida Gwaii, BC. That is a 77-pound Chinook salmon that was released, by the way. It was my turn, and that fish hit the rod and Sandy said, Berkey, you're up. And I said, no, it's a big fish. You take it. I will regret that till I die. But he caught that fish and I didn't.
There will be plenty of stories from Brian Berg this evening. Many of them.
And there's Jake Sanderson is the son of Jeff Sanderson.
Was such a meticulous hockey player. One of the great stories about him is, as a player, he used a different stick each period. He had a normal stick for the first period when he had full energy. Then he had a second period stick, which was a little smaller, so he bent his knees more. And by the time the third period rolled around, he had a third period stick to force him to bend his knees to engage in the play. That's how meticulous Jeff Sanderson is. We talk about second-generation hockey players. Jake Sanderson is that second-generation player. How much of an advantage does he have because Dad played in the NHL?
Well, I think these kids all have an advantage because they watch their dads play the game. The rink has no fear for them. The system, the media, all this, the American League, it has no fear for them. They've seen their dad go through it. Same with kids with older brothers. So to me, one of the wonderful things about the NHL today is this second generation of players, that this knowledge and wisdom and experience has been passed down to the Tkachuks of the world and the Sandersons of the world. This kid's underrated. He's a special skater for a guy his size. He closes quickly on people. He is going to be an impact player for them. I love this pick. I think Ottawa's already having a great night.
It's been really good so far for Pierre Dorian, and they're not done in the first round yet. Let's head to the NHL Network now. Jamie Hirsch with the number 2 pick of the 2020 NHL Draft, presented by Team Rogers Community Draft. Jamie.
Quentin, congratulations. I see a big smile on your face, and we saw the reaction of your family, the confetti and all. What was it like for you to hear your name called as the number 2 overall pick?
Yeah, no, it was definitely something super crazy. And, be able to spend that with my family and, all the people that support me growing up was something really exciting. Definitely anxious coming up for that. And, hearing my name get called, definitely a big relief off my shoulders. And, can't wait to go to LA now.
So you are officially the highest selected Black player in NHL history at number 2. It's a huge honor and distinction. I'm sure you are going to grow up to be a lot of kids' role models. So what does that distinction mean to you?
Tim Allen's
yeah, no, that's something, super positive. And, I just want to continue, spread positivity and awareness to, that subject. And, it's also just something about my hockey career.
That's how I do it, folks. The secret.
I'm just really happy about that all coming together.
Nobody else in your entire family played hockey. You were the one that decided to take a chance, and here you are as the number 2 overall pick. When did you know that hockey was something you loved and wanted to dedicate your life to?
I find most players
that's a good question. I don't really know. Nobody really played hockey in my family, but growing up, I think they really enjoyed watching hockey and watching the Maple Leafs. My dad's a huge fan. We really just started watching that every Saturday night and got super involved about that. And, I think that's why I fell in love with the game. But
his father.
I never really knew when I was
going
to make it to the NHL. But I'm so thankful for this day.
Dad might have been a Leafs fan growing up, but I'm sure he is a Kings fan going forward. Congratulations, Quentin.
So far, we've got
thank you. Shout out to my Elmo as well.
Stutzla number 3 from Ottawa. Detroit picked Raymond.
Oh, that's fantastic. What a smile. And what a tweet from Evander Kane. Congratulations to Quentin Byfield on his second overall selection and becoming the highest drafted Black hockey player in history. A great night for Quentin Byfield, his family, the Los Angeles Kings, the Sudbury Wolves, York Simcoe Express, and the OMHA. We can go all the way back to when that fine young man first picked up a hockey stick and love him with the bow tie. We just saw Jake Sanderson get selected by the Ottawa Senators. Another defenseman perhaps on the horizon? For that answer, we go back to the commissioner in Secaucus, New Jersey.
Anaheim Ducks Executive Vice President and General Manager Bob Murray will make the 6th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
This moment we've all been waiting for. The pick is in.
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 The pick is in. The pick is in.
The pick is in. The pick is in.
The pick is in.
The pick is in. The pick is in.
The pick is in.
The pick is in.
The pick is in.
The pick is in. Woohoo!
That's nice. That's cute. All right. Take the pick.
With the 6th pick in the 2020 draft, the Anaheim Ducks are proud to select from the Erie Otters, Jamie Drysdale.
Jamie Drysdale goes number 6. Here we go to Anaheim.
The Anaheim Ducks have a history drafting defenseman. Cam Fowler was a smooth skating defenseman, still is, but Jamie Drysdale is
live on
probably Berkey. Everybody in this draft as it relates to skating. Your thoughts on this pick?
Well, obviously he's the right shot deal pair. They're not the same player at all. They're very different players. This kid's elite skater, elite thinker, made the under 18, the World Junior team as a 17-year-old, which is really hard to do. Great personality, high IQ, on and off the ice.
You've watched him since he was a Marley in the GTHL, Sam. Jamie Drysdale.
Most impressive for me was at the World Junior Camp in Oakville. They're playing against the U Sports team, and those guys were older, more physical.
Okay, let's get him up on the board.
So they were pressuring him. They were throwing it in his corner. They were challenging him. And he's got such great feet. And he's got the ability
Jamie
to
Drysdale,
at that same level.
center,
So
left
he
shot,
go back,
5'9",
shoulder check, retrieve the
179
puck. All right,
pounds.
where's my
From
outlet? It's
Ottawa.
behind the net,
Oh,
D
no.
to D. Am I going to go up
What
the
am I saying?
boards?
I was
Or am I
reading
gonna
Marco
skate
Rossi.
it out, maybe move it to the middle of the ice?
Right shot
He
defenseman,
made the right play
5'11",
just about every
170
time,
pounds.
under a lot of duress. So the one thing that they were challenging them to do this year in Erie, Chris Hartsburg's the head coach there, and they said, we know you can do everything. You're an unbelievable guy. But you know what? You need to find that consistency in your game. You need to be that elite guy every night. And I think after the World Juniors, he started to believe that he could be that guy. And by the end of the year, he became that guy. Proof is in the pudding here with this pick by Anaheim.
Don Braid is his skating coach. We had a chance to watch him last week. Went to Paul Rangers, skated in Whitby. What did you make of him?
Yeah, well, it was really cool to get to go watch him skate. Don Braid worked for me in Calgary. She's a great skating coach. This kid looks like he's had a skating coach since he started. He's a great skater. There he's doing drills. Paul Ranger runs a school for defensemen. He brought some elite forwards in to put the defensemen to work. And look at the edge work here. Look at the balance. Look at the grace. He's a great
second
skater.
defenseman taken
This
in a
kid,
row here.
I mean, the sky's
Again,
the
Jamie Drysdale goes to
of
Anaheim.
drafting defenseman. Bob Murray
Right
was the
shot
top
defenseman,
defenseman
5'11",
This
170
kid's going to play and be a real cerebral
From
player.
Toronto,
Jamie
Ontario.
Drysdale of the Erie Otters, drafted 6th overall by the Anaheim Ducks. We're going to hit a pause. Back in a couple of moments. New York City awaits the big man, Alexis Lafreniere.
Yeah. I like this in the arena.
It all started with a dream. It was early mornings at the rink and late nights in the gym. I moved to Rimouski and had to grow up quickly.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me. If you're just popping in now,
but so did I.
we've already gone through picks 1 through 6. And there's been no trades or anything so far. And basically, at least according to the Hockey News publication, there's a commercial on right now.
It's what you do.
Mute that. They were right about 1 through 4. They were pretty correct. And then Ottawa went a little bit off the charts there with their number 5 pick. But Lafreniere, of course, goes first to the Rangers, the left shot winger. Byfield goes to LA. I thought Stutzla would be taken there, but he went to Ottawa at number 3. He's a center and left wing. Lucas Raymond was picked by Detroit at number 4. He's a right winger. Jake Sanderson, son of Jeff Sanderson, former NHL player, defenseman with left-hand shot. He goes to the Ottawa Senators. And Jamie Drysdale, right shot defenseman, originally ranked number 5 by the Hockey News, goes number 6 overall.
Tim Cosentino and Brian Burke are having a good time saying, whoa, what can be next? Here's
New Jersey is next,
Alexis Lafreniere goes to the Rangers at 1st overall. Quentin Byfield to the Los Angeles Kings. Tim Stutzla is a member of the Ottawa Senators. The Swedish sniper Lucas Raymond goes to the Red Wings. Jake Sanderson, the defenseman, to the Sens. Their second pick in the top 5. And moments ago, Jamie Drysdale
So
of
the
the
Sens
Erie
had
Otters of the
a
OHL goes to the
defenseman and an
Anaheim Ducks.
amazing
We now
center.
await
They're going to be such a great
the pick for the New
team
Jersey Devils.
in
And
30
Sam,
years or
what
so.
are the options that Tom Fitzgerald has?
Wow, you've got Marco Rossi. You would have seen him a lot because there's a lot of New Jersey prospects playing for the Ottawa 67s. You got Jack Quinn in a similar type of situation. You've got Cole Perfetti, unbelievable playmaker. You've got Alexander Holtz, a goal scorer. Your options are wide open. And Berkey talked about it off the top of the show, that this doesn't really drop off until we get to 12. So in doing my mock draft, it was really difficult to kind of figure things out here and place guys where you thought they would go. Because I do believe that the line between best player available and positional need is really blurred in this draft because there are so many high-end guys. We're seeing that already.
We wonder about the goaltender. We do wonder about wrenches being thrown into the gears here, the wild card picks. This is Tom Fitzgerald.
I think the goaltender
This is
Askarov
his
is going
first
to
draft
go
as
in the
general
top
manager
10. That's my
in the
guess.
NHL. Does
He's
he go
too good.
safe, or is there even a safe at this spot?
Oh yeah, there's safe picks. He can be real safe. He has to take a forward. I think the goaltender's a safe pick, but chances of this goaltender playing in the next 3 years, you better have 3 years left on your contract if you're going to go off the list and take the goaltender.
That's true.
There are safe picks here at forward. I don't think there's a safe pick at defense for a few more picks, but there's safe picks here at forwards and good ones. He cannot miss here in my view.
Do you have a gut feeling on this one? Sam, you're really good at reading the time and temp on these.
If I'm looking at Rossi, they already have smaller centers in Heischer and Hughes. Probably don't go that way. So that's probably the only thing I can think about here.
To the commissioner.
Anyone's guess on where Askarov's
New
going to go
Jersey
at?
Devils general manager Tom
Any
Fitzgerald
guesses?
will make the 7th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
There you go, New
The
Jersey.
New Jersey Devils are proud to select from Djurgården right winger Alexander Holtz.
Alexander Holtz from Sweden. 6 foot, right wing, right shot. 183 pounds. He's compared to Philip Forsberg by the Hockey News in the best case scenario, obviously. Jamie Drysdale, by the way, was compared to Miro Heiskanen in the best case scenario. All this is by the Hockey News. And Jake Sanderson was compared to Zach Werenski.
Check me out. I'm a member of the New Jersey Devils. Alexander Holtz selected 7th overall by Tom Fitzgerald and the Devils. Sam, give us the update.
Well, this guy's a pure sniper. That's why he's being drafted. He had 9 goals last year playing in the SHL, and they call this the other half of the Swedish Twins. We already saw Lucas Raymond go forward to Detroit, while Alexander Holtz goes here to the New Jersey Devils. And when you talk about Holtz, it's that goal-scoring ability, and he can do it in a variety of ways. Here he circles out of the blue line. Oh, no problem. I can score from long distance. That's part of the repertoire. There's Holtz. You see him coming in off the rush. Oh, how about this nifty little shot to the short side? Thank you very much. We'll continue to work with Alexander Holtz. I think we'll bring it to the interior and a high tip from the slot. No problem there whatsoever, showing off the stick skills. Now I'm going to set up, create a little space with a little pause, pick up the trash. Thank you very much. This guy scores them from all over the place. And when I look at where the New Jersey Devils are, this is one element that I really think they can need, and they address it here.
That's all fine and dandy, but here's the hard-hitting information I'm bringing Sam. You see that ice cream bar named 88? Uffe Bodin is the Swedish hockey reporter, and Alexander Holtz, when asked by Uffe why he wears the number 88, everyone's expecting, I'm a big fan of Patrick Kane. A lot of the kids said that. He said, no, I just love the 88 ice cream bar. It's my favorite kind of ice cream. That's the kind of information I'm bringing, Sam, to the draft. So great scouting report, but Berkey, I thought my information stands up pretty good on this one.
I would agree. The ice cream looks fantastic, by the way. I wish they had him here.
Your thoughts on not the ice cream bar, but the player, Holtz?
Well, this guy's he's a sniper. He's a shoot first mentality. He's a big kid. He's close to 200 pounds. He's not some frail Swedish kid with high skill level. This guy's got a man's body already. He's performed unbelievably at all the major international tournaments, under 17, under 18. Gretzky, Helenka. Like, it's unbelievable what this kid's done. He is a sniper. He'll play right away. That's what I'm saying. These are all safe picks. Everyone on this slide right is a safe pick.
Everybody's getting a player, and Pierre Dorian has 2 of them, the defenseman and also the forward. Let's get to Pierre Dorian.
Frank's asking where is Schneider ranked? Braden Schneider. By the Hockey News, he's ranked 22nd.
We'll talk to you about your daily double in the top 5, and we'll start with taking Jake Sanderson 5th over.
They're just interviewing Pierre Dorian at the minute, but Braden Schneider, who I'm hoping the Leafs pick up, he's ranked 22nd by the Hockey News. Internationally, though, he was ranked 13th. And I think by a lot of Sportsnet writers picked him closer to like it's like 14th or 15th overall, right around where they're supposed to pick. So he hits hard. He's really good in his own zone, and he has a lot of offensive upside. I'll read a little bit about him, what they said about him here. I don't know if you even – yeah, you subscribe. I give you a link to the Hockey News. Anyway, they say about Braden Schneider, he goes that not only did he help Canada win gold at the 2018 Gretzky Cup, but he was also named top 3 player of the national side's 2019 World Under-18 squad. World squad. Schneider was then invited to the 2019 World Junior Summer Showcase in Michigan and inspired a lot of praise from World Junior assistant coach Andre Tourigny as the December camp as well. Though Schneider didn't make the cut, he has a great position to succeed next year. He's a typical pro defenseman who will probably play in the NHL for 15 to 20 years.
The pick's gone by as we wait for the Buffalo Sabres, who will select 8th overall. Quick thought on what you heard from Pierre Dorianson?
Well, when I went to the BioSteel All-American game in Plymouth in January, all of his teammates deferred to him, meaning Jake Sanderson. Without a doubt, he was the...
But continuing on with Schneider here very quickly, he plays like a pro now. Just an all-around terrific defenseman who's responsible in his own zone. He played on the second power play unit in Brandon, but experts see him more as a penalty-killing ace. The key will be to play within himself. He's really a fluid skater, said another scout. When he tries to do too much offensively, he doesn't always execute thoroughly. He can gain space with his mobility, not his skill.
You just say, I don't care what the depth chart says. We're taking the best player.
You're taking the best player. If you pass on one guy and say, we want this forward because we need a forward, that defenseman turns into be someone like Wade Bork. You've made a huge mistake. You draft the best player available, unless it's a dead heat. And then you go by position. Goaltender's hardest to find. D, center, wingers. Wingers are the easiest to find.
299 subscribers, folks.
You trade to
Who's going to be number 300?
You don't draft to address them.
Who's going to be 300?
Went through that in his draft. Was
Please feel
by
free to
San
share
Jose
this on
Sharks.
Twitter
We're
and
not going
Facebook.
to take you. We've
It's
already got
probably
Mike
what I should be
Rapchi and
doing.
Marcus Ragnarsson. Why do we need you? Hall of Fame defenseman. Here's a commissioner, Gary Bettman.
There we go.
The 8th selection
Buffalo.
in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by Buffalo Sabres general manager Kevin Adams.
We would first like to congratulate the Tampa Bay Lightning on their Stanley Cup championship and also say thank you to everyone at the National Hockey League for all the great work they did under challenging circumstances. The Buffalo Sabres are proud to announce from the Ottawa 67s and the Ontario Hockey League, Jack Quinn.
Jack Quinn. Oh, ranked number 12th by the Hockey News. Oh, the audio just went out there. He's a right winger, 5'11", 176 pounds, from Canada, obviously. Youngest brother of the Quinn brothers. I'm sure you all knew that anyway. So he goes number 8 to Buffalo.
Ricky, I know what you're thinking. Hey, what's that fish on the wall there? That is Jack Quinn, by the way, who just popped for the Ottawa 67s this year. And we just mentioned, right side players. Here's one of the best right wingers in the draft, period. What did Buffalo get, Sam?
Back-to-back right wingers who are snipers, and that's exactly what we're getting with this guy. You go back to last year, he scored 12 goals. But really, he worked on the defensive foundation, his details, his play away from the puck, so that this year he would have the puck more often. Then Andre Tourigny, his head coach, said, you know what, bud? Don't be that pass-first guy. You got a bullet. Shoot the puck. So he took his advice, and he scored 52 goals. A 40-goal improvement in 1 year in junior is a really difficult thing to do. And similar to Holtz, he can do it in a variety of ways. He can do it from distance. He can do it in tight. He can do it with the deep. And he can do it with that finding that
internationally,
soft ice in the
and
slot.
has taken
I
number
really
8
like this pick.
overall.
I had him at 10. Doesn't surprise me that he went a bit higher than that just based on that goal scoring ability. The year-over-year improvement is what's so impressive there. If you think he's at the bottom of the curve and he's going to continue to rise, oh my gosh, you look at him. He's slight of frame now. This guy adds 15 pounds. Oh, you got to love it down the right wing. The other thing I'll say about this pick is we saw it with Tim Stützle. Pierre Dorian just addressed it with Kyle. There is potential for this guy to move to center. Andre Tournier believes he has the hockey sense to move to center, and that always adds that additional value that Berkey referred to earlier.
If you're Kevin Adams, you're looking down the middle and you still have your fingers crossed for a Casey Middlestat. You look at Dylan Cousins, who's on the horizon, just made the move for Eric Stahl, Jack Eichel, franchise center. The center position is interesting. Jack Quinn, Buffalo Sabres, Kevin Adams, first pick.
Well, when you see a 50-goal scorer, you see a guy who's a liability defensively, and that's not the case here. This kid is a relentless worker. He's a 3-zone player. He's responsible defensively. That is really hard to do when you're putting 50 bucks in the net. But as Sammy said, you realize once your defensive game is better, your puck recovery increases, your offense comes off the transition. He's turned himself into a 3-zone player. Great interview, multiple sport athlete. This guy's going to be a popular teammate. He's going to be popular with the fans in Buffalo, and he's going to score goals without hurting you defensively. I like this pick.
A thank you card to Andre Tournier from Jack Quinn here.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, this guy should be in the NHL as a head coach, and probably not too long before he gets there, but he really tells his players what's up. Here's what you have to do to get better. They buy in. It worked for Jack Quinn.
All right, when we come back, the Minnesota Wild still to pick, and also the Winnipeg Jets with a special selection. Where does Kevin Cheveldayoff go? The answer to that in moments on Sportsnet.
All right, so Minnesota's up next. And Winnipeg after.
2020 NHL Draft on Sportsnet. Brought to you by Team Rogers Community Draft. Apply now at Rogers.com/getdrafted.
Oh my!
All right. There's a commercial on right now. I just want to say thank you for everybody for joining me today. As you can see, all the numbers are listed right there. You have known already. Lafreniere, of course, goes to the Rangers. Byfield to LA. Stützle to Ottawa. Great pick there. Raymond to the Detroit Red Wings from Sweden. He's a right winger. Sanderson, left shot defenseman to Ottawa. 6 is Drysdale, Jamie Drysdale, right shot defenseman. That's 2 defensemen in a row there. Goes to Anaheim. The Devils pick right winger Holtz. And Buffalo just picked the last Quinn brother, Jack Quinn, who's a right winger, and who could possibly play center, as you may have heard. I'm just going to post something to Facebook. So please, what did Frank say here? First goalie by Mini? Oh, you think Askarov might go to Mini? Well, they already have a really good goalie prospect right now at the moment. So I don't know if they take the goalie.
Draft on Sportsnet.
I mean, I do think he'll go. I did think he would go top 10, but he may be just outside the top 10. Maybe Nashville gets their hands on him at 11.
Okay, welcome back. We're standing by for the Winnipeg Jets, but as we speak right now, the Minnesota Wild are on the clock. General Manager Bill Guerin, the options in front of him are what, Sam?
Rossi, Perfetti, Askarov, and then you have Anton Lundell. They've had some success with Finnish players in the past. You can go a variety of directions, and as Berkey's told you on a couple of occasions tonight, you're not going to be wrong. This is awesome to watch this unfold with as many good players as there are. A couple of little surprises so far, but I think we were pretty comfortable talking about the top 12 picks so far that's played out that way.
A little bit thin down the middle. The Minnesota Wild, do you see them going with a center? Perhaps here?
I think they might look at a center position. I don't think they'll draft by position, but certainly it's a weakness now.
All right, we'll see. Bill Guerin and the Minnesota Wild are on the clock. Let's get back to Secaucus and Gary Bettman.
Minnesota Wild Executive Vice President and General Manager Bill Guerin will make the 9th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
First, I'd like to say hello to all our great Wild fans across the state of hockey in Minnesota.
And a second hello to our assistant GM and brother, Tom Curvers, who's watching from home tonight.
Garen looks like he just woke up out of bed.
Now proud to select with the 9th pick in the 2020 draft
sweats on and stuff.
from the Ottawa 67s of the OHL, Marco Rossi.
Marco Rossi goes to the Minnesota Wild. Okay. He was ranked number 6 overall by the Hockey
Sam, you know
News.
this player quite well.
7th overall
Rossi,
internationally.
center for the Ottawa 67s, maybe small.
And he goes number 9.
But this kid is.
He's a center who shoots left, and he's 5'9".
2 years ago, we're in London doing
that's
a
why
game
he's slid
against
a
the
little
Ottawa 67s, and we're talking to Andre Tournier. He says, buddy, you got to watch this guy. He's not draft eligible because he's a late birthday. Keep your eye on him. He's extremely coachable. His practice habits are off the charts. Well, here he is 2 years later, 120 points to lead the CHL in scoring. But it's the details in his game. There is no give when he's playing in neutral ice. There's no give when he's playing on the defensive side of the puck. And this guy's built from his lower half down. He gives you that good, solid foundation. You can't get him off the puck. So what's he doing in Austria? Oh, yeah, he's jumping like a bunny rabbit. He's on the treadmill with the heart monitor on. He's doing all kinds.
This is crazy, Sam. This is insane.
I do that at home all the time.
Look at the quads on this kid.
Oh, man.
I usually do it with a weight vest. But anyways, what we're talking about with this player is the fact that he's responsible in all 3 zones. I'm surprised, actually, he got this far down the list to number 9. His dad lost 2 jobs driving him from Austria to Switzerland so that he could play in a better league in minor hockey. His dad's a former pro player. His dad's pretty happy right now.
He is. And the last time the Minnesota Wild drafted within the top 10 was 2012. They took Matt Dumba at number 7. Your thoughts on Marco Rossi, a member of the Minnesota Wild?
Well, you said he's small in stature, Jeff, and I would disagree. He's short. There's a difference. This guy's as wide as he is tall. Like, he's a solid guy. You saw the quads on him. He is a rock. He's not a little man at all. He's powerful enough that one thing one scout said to me is he can extend plays as well as anyone. Hang on to the puck, be patient, take a little bit of a hit, work the cycle an extra yard, let somebody get open, and then find them. So this guy extends plays well. He's solid as a rock. He can kill penalties, which a lot of star players can't kill penalties. I like this
right.
I know we're all about sort of breaking norms here, but 5'9" centers. Look at Braden Point in Tampa, 5'11", Crosby ditto. And we don't see much smaller than that, Sam.
No, but it doesn't matter because, again, all the positions are blurred. So you're really talking about the face-off when it comes to the centerman. There's no problem. It was about 63% in the Ontario Hockey League this year, so that's not an issue at all. You look at McGillney and Kamensky. Here he is as a young guy growing up, had to play his minor hockey in Switzerland just to play against better competition. So he felt that with the connection that Nico Hischier had to Andre Tournier, and Andre Tournier, recruited him with James Boyd in Ottawa, he said, oh, yeah, I'll go over. You were the first overall pick. I think I'll go over and try and follow that same path. And it looks like that path has been carved out.
I'll turn that down.
Let's get back to the NHL Network and Jamie Hirsch with the number 5 pick of the 2020 NHL Draft, presented by Team Rogers Community Draft. Jake Sanderson with Jamie Hirsch. Jamie.
Jake, congratulations. You are the 5th overall pick going to the Ottawa Senators. What was your reaction to finding out that you were taken at number 5?
I was just really excited to spend the moment with my brother, and both my parents is really special, and just super excited and pumped up right now.
Yeah, and your dad, Jeff, knows plenty about hockey and being drafted and everything, but what is the biggest thing that he has taught you about whether tonight or your development overall and what to expect going forward?
I think from him, probably the biggest thing is just enjoy the moment because you won't be able to play hockey forever, and he played a really long career, so I've definitely got to listen to him on that about that. So just enjoy the moment and spend time with your teammates.
If and when you make it to the National Hockey League, you would become the first Montana-born player ever to play in the NHL.
Montana.
What can you tell us about the hockey
He's from
community you
Montana.
experienced growing up there?
I want to retire and buy a house.
Yeah, that'd be
in
really
Montana.
exciting. I think for me growing up in Whitefish, there wasn't a lot of hockey at the time.
from?
There was only one team there, so I was playing
I'll
with
give you a
kids
hint.
younger than me and older than me, so that was a little different with that. But we had to travel a lot too, and hockey there right now, it's definitely grown, and there's a lot of hockey fans there, and hockey's growing there too. So I think everybody's really excited. So am I.
I know they are very excited for you tonight. Congratulations.
Not missing too much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
As I talk over him.
Thomas Chabot, Jake Sanderson. All of a sudden, that Ottawa Senators defense for the future looks pretty nice. Okay, let's turn our attention now to the Winnipeg Jets, and we
Jets.
always ask about options.
Jets
and
are
Ricky, I
next.
know you're waiting to see where this Russian netminder
Thanks
goes.
for joining
but,
me, folks.
There's some other options here for the Jets.
Yeah, there's Anton Lundell's the center who's playing in the league, who's actually wearing an A in the men's league right now. His
299
third year in
subscribers.
that league. You have the goaltender Askarov.
It's at
That would be an
300.
interesting pick as well. But you got Connor Hellebuck. Looks like he's there for the long term. And I guess the other guy left would be Cole
2
Perfetti of the
years now I'm
Saginaw
doing
Spirit.
this.
I mean, here's a guy who was second in the Ontario Hockey
Time
League in
flies, huh?
points.
Right.
He's still on the board. But again, we're still in that top tier that we've talked about that extends to 12 players. So it could be any one of those three, I believe.
I can't see them taking the goaltender. I really can't. But
Any
I think
guesses
the other
to who,
names are the
Winnipeg's
right
gonna
ones,
pick?
And we're still in the slide here. We haven't hit a
I
ledge.
mean,
We're
maybe
still
they'll
in
take the goaltender.
safe
It might
picks,
be a little
guys that
tempting.
our scouts that I talk to.
I mean, he'll
GMs
be
I
ready
talk
for
to,
at least
assistant
3
GMs
years
are
anyway.
confident are all going to play.
So
Everybody's, to Brookie's point, Sam, everybody is getting a player here.
Yeah, I would be extremely happy if I were sitting inside 10, as Kevin Cheveldayoff and the Jets are. And again, right down to 12, but for 10, top 10, no question about it. It's awesome.
Last year, they went with Ville Heinola, the defenseman, ended up playing a handful of games. Do you think they go with a forward or stick with a D, or does it even matter?
I don't think it matters. They got Sandberg, who's on the rise too. So they do have some defense options, but I think they go to the forward route here.
All right, with that, we'll head back to the NHL Network now to find out which way the Winnipeg Jets go with this pick. Here's the NHL Commissioner in Secaucus.
Here we go. Winnipeg's about to pick.
Winnipeg Jets General Manager Kevin Cheveldayoff will be making the 10th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
As this coming season marks our 10th year in the history of our franchise in Winnipeg, and tonight we make the 10th overall selection, I would like to invite Crystal Hawerchuk, wife of Dale Hawerchuk, the greatest number 10 in Winnipeg Jets history, to make our selection. Crystal?
Thank you. Let's pick this up.
Oh, it's
But first, our family
Dale
would
Hawerchuk's
like
wife.
to thank the
That's
Winnipeg
cool.
Jets and all of Dale's loyal fans and friends for their love and support through his very tough fight of stomach cancer. He was a great hockey player and a very special man. I want you to know that he loved Winnipeg, and I always felt a special connection to the people of Manitoba.
This is wife speaking.
We both
Hawerchuk's
consider
wife.
Winnipeg our home. Your love and support meant so much to him. Thank you. Now I am thrilled to announce with the 10th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft, the Winnipeg Jets select from Saginaw Spirit, Cole Perfetti.
Cole Perfetti. So he's ranked 7th
What a
overall by the
beautiful
Hockey
moment.
News.
Crystal Hawerchuk,
Left
wife of
winger.
the late Dale Hawerchuk,
International
making
Scouting
the
Services
selection.
ranked him number 6.
Cole Perfetti, the all-in hockey
He's
kid, grew up
5'10"
around hockey.
from Whitby, Ontario.
His parents were billets for various members of the
Here's
Oshawa
the breakdown,
Generals, including
folks.
the Memorial Cup team, and Crystal Hawerchuk giving us a
He's a good player.
tissue moment.
Player. Excuse me.
A few dry eyes, certainly around here. Sam Cosentino, what are the Jets getting in Cole Perfetti?
Well, thanks so much, Crystal. Dale, unbelievable man. Maybe even a better man than he was a hockey player. When it comes to Cole Perfetti, they're getting an elite offensive mind. This guy's got creativity and he's got vision where his hands match his ability to think the game. And it really starts here. Have a look at Perfetti coming down the wing. He looks off. He pauses a little bit, says, all right, I'll take the shot. Oh, I don't make it, so I'll just knock it in out of midair. But what I like most about it is his ability to assess the play as it's ongoing. How about the anticipation? He realizes it's a loose puck. My guy's getting into it first. I'm going to blow the zone. Usually that's a cherry picker type of thing. Not if you anticipate the play like this. He gets a breakaway and buries it. But the great, strong mental play would continue. How about on the PK? The defenseman has his feet turning west. Perfetti looks off, says, I'm going to go west. Oh, sorry about that. I'll take it back east, open up a lane. And, of course, the end result is in the back of the net. This guy's creativity is simply brilliant. He has the ability to delay. He has the ability to anticipate. Here he sees it once again. His guy's going to get to the puck, so he blows the zone. A perfect pass that he runs into, and we know the end of this story. Turn on that red light. Thank you very much, Cole Perfetti. Maybe the most gifted offensive mind in this round.
Cole Perfetti is
Cole Perfetti. They call him
compared to
Cole
Mitch Marner
Perfetti.
by the
This
Hockey
is
News.
unbelievable. He
In the
does a
best
Rubik's
case
Cube
scenario.
in less than a minute. It would take me a month. Right? He's a math whiz. And the intelligence he has in the classroom carries over to the ice surface.
They
This
show
guy
him
is
doing a
smart
Rubik's
hockey player.
Cube.
People say he's a
in-
little small. People say maybe he's not the fastest skater, But the two things teams think they can improve the most
Under a minute.
are strength and skating. So if you have a guy with a high motor like he does, you can make him
Askarov.
stronger.
Nashville's
If he'll do
got
the
to
work,
grab Askarov.
he's going to get stronger.
I would think.
You can improve the skating,
I mean,
which
they
is
picked up
pretty
that
good now.
goal from
If he does the work,
I
you can
forget his
improve the
name right
skating.
now.
So I like this
for next
pick.
to
I like
nothing,
this
but-
player, and I'm going to learn how to do a Rubik's Cube before the next draft.
Best of luck. We'll see you. We'll see you next season at sometimes. Sam, you have a quick thought on Perfetti here?
I sure do. He'll be motivated by what he thinks is a slight going this far in the draft. The last time he got slighted, he got cut from Canada's World Junior team. He ended up the season with 66 points in 32 games. That's the type of motivation
Now,
I'm looking for him with the Winnipeg
top
Jets.
8
And he's been
so
around hockey. So
far,
here's one of the things that I love personally about
by
Cole
the Hockey
Perfetti.
News
He's been
have all been
around
picked.
hockey his entire life.
And
I mentioned
we're
the Billick
10
family story, but here's a
picks
guy
in
that in his
so
spare
far.
time, where a lot of
So-
kids just want downtime and get away from the rink, and he'll talk about, going onto his dad's computer
The two
and watching
outside
hockey
the
clips
top
on
8
YouTube. And I'm thinking to myself, he's going to the Winnipeg Jets. And you think about all-in hockey guys, the
again,
24/7
Perfetti,
hockey guys, and
left winger
Mark Scheifele,
for the Jets.
who is that all-in guy. All of a sudden, we talk about mentorship by field and Kopitar in LA. I look at the mentorship between Mark Scheifele and a guy like Cole Perfetti, and to me, Berkey, that's hand to glove.
I agree. A great mentoring situation with Mark Scheifele, who's a hockey junkie. He's a
better
hockey
stop
freak.
singing.
It's
I'm
hockey
losing,
24/7.
viewers.
Watches, listens. I'm sure he's watching right now. And I think it's a great situation for this player to go in and have a role model like
Got one
that.
back.
Okay, let's get to the NHL Network now. Jamie Hirsch with draft pick from the 2020 NHL Draft presented by Team Rogers Community Draft. He went 6th overall to Anaheim. Jamie Drysdale. Jamie.
Talking to
Jamie,
Jamie
we spoke
Drysdale.
earlier and I
interview.
asked you about the balloons your mom had.
I don't know.
Well, it
This
was like quite the
this
party.
part
and
kind
lots
of
of
bores
people
me a
there.
little bit, so I don't really. It's just typical questions. Ask every hockey player. What did you think about being drafted by the Ducks? What's he gonna say? I mean, there is the okay. I'm not saying they're dumb or anything. Obviously, there's a lot of intelligent players out there, but it's usually the questions. There's nothing really interesting that you haven't heard before. So
Yeah, we know your family's been such a huge
why not turn the
supporter
sound down and listen to something uninteresting that I have to say? Really, what can be better than that?
about what your parents did and what you were able to do to stay on top of your game by using your home.
Next up, the Predators. I still haven't heard from anyone's guesses on where Askarov is going to go. Now, if you don't know who Askarov is, he's the top-ranked goalie in the draft right now. They compare him to Carey Price in the best-case scenario. He's ranked 10th overall by the Hockey News, by the way, and internationally he's ranked. They just say that as the number 1 goalie, but I don't know. I don't think Florida would pick him because of the goalie prospects they have in the pipeline. I think I want to say it's Spencer something Spencer. But Nashville, I think there's a possibility, or Carolina. I say one of those 3 teams. So either let's go back to the panel here. I'll turn it up.
What am I going to do now? I don't have a hockey team to manage. Jamie's off to Erie to play for the Otters. Nashville is up next. Here's Gary Bettman, commissioner of the NHL in New Jersey.
David Poyle, the Nashville Predators president of hockey operations and general manager, will make the 11th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
Oh, he's in a jumpsuit, yellow
Thank you, Gary.
jumpsuit.
The
That
Nashville
doesn't stick
Predators
out
are
at
very
all.
excited to have the 11th pick in this draft, and we're also very excited to have a special person present our selection.
It's a
It is
tracksuit,
Roman
it's not a
Josi, our
jumpsuit.
captain, and this year's Norris Trophy winner as the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. Roman, if you do the honors for us, please.
Oh, Roman Yossi's going to pick the pick.
With the 11th pick in the 2020 NHL Draft, Nashville Predators are proud to select from St. Petersburg, Yaroslav Askarov.
Oh, they got the goalie. Boom. Nice. Good for them. I kind of guessed that, didn't I? I didn't hear anyone else guessing.
The 12th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft belongs to the Florida Panthers. Florida, you're on the clock.
Really? Already? Oh, no.
We're going to get back here to the Florida Panthers pick. They have 5 minutes to make the selection. But your guy went, Yaroslav Askarov.
Let's listen to what they have to say about him.
Yes, so keep this in perspective. Since
6'3".
2013, only 3 goalies
Russia.
taken in the first round, none higher than 13th. until tonight.
Carey Price.
This guy's big. He's athletic. He's a lefty. He technically sound, handles the puck well, skates well. He's got size. He's incredibly athletic, incredibly competitive, challenges shooters, has staggering numbers internationally. Save percentages in his last 3 tournaments are .948, .954, and .960. Unbelievable. He's got size. He's athletic. This is a great pick at this place, in my view.
You call them unicorns, I believe. Goalies selected in the first round. Last year, Spencer Knight with the Florida Panthers. They're going to be selecting second. Dallas has done it a couple of times with Ottinger and Campbell, Ilya Samsonov. This is rare, but when you look at this goaltender, one scout said, the one thing I like about him is he intimidates shooters just by his presence.
Yeah, no question about it. Some are concerned about his glove, but I don't think that's something you have to worry about down the road. What's fascinating to note about taking a goaltender here, when you look at those 3 guys that you talked about previous, Dale Talon selected Spencer Knight. He's no longer the general manager. George McPhee selected Samsonov. He wasn't the general manager to watch him play NHL games. Jim Nill and Jake Ottinger are still together. Ottinger might not have been on the NHL roster if Bishop didn't get hurt. So what I'm saying is you better be pretty confident as a general manager that you have long-term.
You better have term left on your contract if you take a goalie this high, but I think David Coyle's pretty safe.
Yeah, I think he's pretty safe there. But the other part that you have to address there is you have to be patient. And I believe to draft a goaltender, you should have one. Washington had Braden Holtby. Samsonov entered their lineup this year, won 16 games. If you look at the Saros and Pekka combination, they're great placeholders. Allow this young man to continue to have success like he's had the start of the season in the KHL. Let him play out his contract, whatever it may be, 3 years. Get him over to the American Hockey League, into the smaller rink where the angle's a little different and you learn how to play the game on North American ice. And then you integrate him as a backup with 5 years down the road as your goal to make him a starter. This guy, because of how good he is, might be able to cut that timeline just a little bit, but you have to have patience.
We always say that, Nashville Predators are the defense factory, and we see Roman Josi win the Norris Trophy. Let's not forget that before that, it was considered the goaltending factory. It was Dunham, it was Vokun, now with Pekka Rinne, and now, of course, with Yaroslav Askarov. You wonder, Berkey, what does that say about Pekka Rinne's future?
Oh, I think I agree with Sam. I think you draft a goalie this high because you have goaltending already. You're not in a hurry to get him here. He goes back to St. Petersburg for a year or 2. They generally enforce their player contracts strictly, but then he gets to Milwaukee, works his way up. I don't think this is a comment on their current goaltending situation as much as saying we've got a chance to do it.
Okay, before this pick, it was the Winnipeg Jets selecting Cole Perfetti of the Saginaw Spirit of the OHL. Here's Sean Reynolds with Winnipeg General Manager Kevin Cheveldayoff.
Kevin, you land Cole Perfetti, a centerman, the area of great organizational need. 1, are you surprised that he dropped you? And 2, what do you feel you are getting in this player?
Yeah, we were surprised. We were getting pretty excited as things started to unfold in front of us. Our list is something that seemed to be going pretty tight, and then all of a sudden it spread apart, so it was exciting to sit there and see his name pop up. We think he's a player that has just tremendous hockey sense and really good skill. And we know that hockey sense will translate well into the style of game that we want to play, and that's being played today.
We keep hearing how deep this draft is. The last time we had a relatively deep draft was 2015. You and your scouts did a phenomenal job, selected 5 players who's made it onto the wall behind us here as they've graduated to the team. What are your scouts saying about this draft? I know you only have 3 picks as of now going forward. What are your scouts saying about the potential to find some later gems?
Well, we're picking at 40 right now, and we think that there's a good group of players that should be there. Again, depends on how the bottom half of the first round does shake itself out here as the day goes on.
Okay.
Again, we'll see where we're at there, but we're pretty comfortable that there's going to be a good player there for us as well.
Thanks for joining us, Kevin. Congrats on the pick.
Thank you very much.
Now.
Okay, so Cole Perfetti goes to the Winnipeg Jets, the centerman to the Winnipeg Jets at 10. Nashville takes the goaltender Yaroslav Askarov, the most highly sought after and considered goaltender going back to 2005 with Carey Price, who was selected 5th overall from the Tri-City Americans of the Western Hockey League. What are the options for Florida here, Sam? Quickly.
End of the tier. Lundell's the last guy left, I believe, in this tier of 12.
Let's see what happens. Here's a commissioner, Gary Bettman, before Florida picks.
Okay.
Bill Zito, the general manager of the Florida Panthers, will make the 12th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
On behalf of the Florida Panthers, I'd first like to thank our fans for their support during these difficult times. The Panthers would like to select from IFK Helsinki, centerman Anton Lundell.
Oh, Anton Lundell, ranked number 9th by the Hockey News, 8th overall internationally. He's a center who's 6'1", 183 pounds.
Yeah, now things start to get real.
Picked by
now
Florida.
It's going to get really interesting. There are a variety of ways in which teams can go, but I don't think we should sleep on this guy. Lundell is third year playing in the Liga, and if we've seen anything from the Liga in years past, there's a pretty good correlation to the translation of point production there to the National Hockey League. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Alexander Barkov, Mikko Rantanen, and Patrick Laine, all guys who played in the Liga in their draft year, all guys who are pretty good NHL players, with Kotkaniemi still a ways to go. Capo Caco, add him to that list as well. So this guy fits in that list. He's a late birthday player. You put an assist
no
up
sponsor
on the game-winning
yet.
goal to World Juniors a couple of years ago.
Sponsor me.
When it comes to
I'm
character,
starting up a
this guy
Patreon
has
soon.
it all.
Very
he wins
soon. Next
faceoffs.
couple
I
of
know
weeks,
people
so
are worried about the
keep an eye out for
offensive
that.
upside, but consider after he was injured last year, his final 25 games in the Liga put up 16 points. In the preseason, had 13 points in 11 games, and he's off to a decent start in the regular season. So I think you can put those concerns to bed a little bit here.
You know, this shouldn't surprise us. If you look at Bill Zito, he's the new general manager of the Florida Panthers. His background, you know, even before he was with Columbus, ran an agency, Acme, and had the Finland file, had Tim Thomas playing with Helsinki, and he's quite well acquainted with a lot of Finnish hockey players. This shouldn't be a surprise, Berkey.
It's not a surprise. This guy's a legit man. He's a man, first of all.
There he is with his dad, by the way.
Oh, that's him with his dad. Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry. My producer's yelling in my ear, and I'm supposed to say that. That's what that is. But this guy's a man. He's played in this league for a couple of years now. He's a thick-bodied guy.
Anton
He
Lundell
wins
is
battles.
compared to
He can run a power play.
Mikko
He's highly
Koivu.
skilled. He's good on faceoffs. He's a 200-foot player. This guy is a very industrious defensive player, very conscientious. This is a solid pick. And to be clear, when we say the ledge ends here at this pick, the next group is not that far off this group. We're not saying it's a precipitous drop, but this ends the list for me. And now we go into the next tier, which are very close.
All right, so the next phase of the NHL draft is on the horizon, and we will see, after Carolina makes their selection, 3 Canadian teams in a row make their pick. The Montreal Canadiens will select at 16, the Toronto Maple Leafs at 15, and the Edmonton Oilers at 14. Carolina is next, and then we run the Canadian teams on Sportsnet next.
So if you didn't hear that, Florida picked Anton Lundell.
I feel like my toes are
He's a
tapping
center.
out as a seagull.
He's 6'1", 183 pounds, shoots left. He was ranked 9th by the Hockey News, 8th internationally by Scouting Services. He's best case scenario compared to Mikko Koivu. And that kind of rules out all of the Hockey News's top 12 picks have all gone in the top 12. And they've been pretty accurate about that. So if you don't subscribe to them, they're not my sponsor. They also have a YouTube channel, by the way. You should check that out. I listen to it all the time. Yeah. So there you have it. Top 12. Next up, we got the Carolina Hurricanes at number 13. I don't know if you can see the board. Maybe it's a bit too bright here. Turn that down a bit. That's a little bit better, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so we have Carolina Hurricanes at number 13. The Oilers at 14. Toronto at 15. And Montreal at 16. And Connor McDavid is just talking to Lafreniere now. Yeah, it's another commercial, whatever. All right, so yeah, there you have it. So shall we go through the top 12? If you're just joining me, I just want to say thank you so much. I'm at 299 subscribers. It's been about a couple of years now, a very small channel. I want to thank you for all your help. If I don't know if you're familiar with Patreon or not, but I will be getting that started up within the next couple of weeks. Basically, it's sort of like a GoFundMe for artists, and I'll put up links on my channel under every video, really. If you're interested in taking a peek at that, I'll put up a video of that eventually. I haven't posted a video in about a couple of weeks because my work has been getting more busy. I work in the film industry on a gig per gig basis. So yeah, obviously I would love to do this more full time. And we're back. I'll shut up now.
Do the Canadians, the Maple Leafs, and the Oilers have?
Well, first off, you have the Oilers, and you've got a Hall of Fame general manager that's finally dug in last year. Kenny Holland was hired late.
Thanks for joining me.
And now he's had plenty of time to prepare. I think when you look at the Edmonton Oilers, you look at the back end of this, you're probably looking at they've got a couple Western Hockey League defensemen, big, tough guys, likes to build up by the back end. You look at the Toronto Maple Leafs with Kyle Dubas. They've been skill. I don't think, there's been talk about the team trying to get tougher.
Okay,
I honestly believe
we got to hold you off. We'll come back to Montreal in just a couple of seconds. But first, Carolina is on the clock.
Absolutely.
So let's send it to the commissioner.
He was finishing with Toronto. Let him talk about Toronto.
The 13th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by Carolina Hurricanes President and General Manager Don Waddell.
Carolina Hurricanes are proud to select from the Portland Winterhawks, Seth Jarvis.
Seth Jarvis, ranked number 16th overall by the Hockey News, 26th overall internationally. He's a right winger who shoots right.
Seth Jarvis of the Portland Winterhawks. We saw Crystal
172
Hawerchuk, by the way, make the selection for the Winnipeg Jets, and 10-bell salute to Dale Hawerchuk and the Hurricanes. Of the past couple of seasons, their first rounders have been from the Barrie Colts and Ryan Suzuki and Andrei Svechnikov, but they go west this time with the Portland Winterhawks. They love drafting from the CHL. And Seth Jarvis, who, Sam, had a great second half.
Oh, he sure did. He was over 2 points per game for the Portland Winterhawks in the second half. But here's a player who was playing in the perfect situation. Offensive-minded Mike Johnson is the head coach for Portland. So they love to rush four players. That fits Seth Jarvis perfectly. Look at the hands. Absolutely magic. According to our friends at Iceberg Analytics, he is an analytics dream. And when you look at where the Carolina Hurricanes are, Darren York now looking after things over there, this is a guy who fits that profile, no question about
Everybody
it.
See the
but
board?
that second half, I think it took him a while to kind of get going. And then in the second half, he really took off. What's interesting to note about this player, he played with a guy by the name of Jack O'Brien. He's a 16-year-old. We're going to be talking about him on this show next year. When you are the driver of a play and the driver of a line as a 17-year-old with a 16-year-old on your center at center ice or on the other wing, then you realize just how good you are. Because normally these players who are draft eligible, who are really good, are playing with players that have already been drafted or the higher end overage guys. Mm-hmm. This guy played with a younger player and still put up 98 points.
He sure did. And I referenced the great second half for Seth Jarvis, and he now joins a forward group that has Andrei Svechnikov, who had a fantastic season. We all know about Sebastian Aho and Martin Necas. First 29 games, okay, but relatively pedestrian by his standards. 14 goals and 33 points. And then Berkey, the next 29, an explosion. 28 goals and 65 points for the Portland Winterhawks.
And he did it without sacrificing defense. Mike Johnson told me this guy's a driver. That's a coveted asset on a hockey team. A guy who drives the team to perform, who drags people along with him, they are coveted. He's an elite penalty killer. He put up all these points while being responsible defensively, and he gained 10 pounds during the pause. He's come back 10 pounds heavier in these 5 months off. He's going to tear it up next year.
So Seth Jarvis from the Portland Winterhawks goes 13th overall to the Carolina Hurricanes. That is a pick that Carolina got from Toronto in the Patrick Marleau deal.
He's from Winnipeg.
Speaking of Toronto, it is now a run of Canadian teams, Montreal, Toronto, but first at 14, the Edmonton Oilers. And Edmonton, the last couple of seasons, have gone the defenseman route. Philip Broberg last year in Vancouver. Before that, we saw Evan Bouchard of the London Knights. How do you feel about Edmonton this season, Sam?
Well, you think about Jones and you think about Bear, and all of a sudden it looks like the defense is in pretty good shape here moving forward. Broberg's off to an outstanding start over in Sweden, and Bouchard, I think, is well on his way to becoming that guy as well. So you'd have to think that they're looking towards a forward. We're not looking at the next goalie most likely until round number 2. So that forward position, the wingers, really deep in this draft, and you'd have to think that's the direction which they're going to move.
Agree? Yeah, I think they got a traffic jam on defense with the young guys they have. I think they go with a forward.
Ken Holland has gone the defense route, certainly last year with Philip Broberg. When you mentioned that they might be looking at a forward here, who are the options that Ken Holland would have? Who would be in front of him right now that him and the scouts would be looking at?
Dawson Mercer would be one guy. Ridley Gregg would be another guy. Dylan Holloway, those are similar players, Gregg and Holloway. So there are a lot of different options. There's Jacob Rowe, who's a true sniper. There's a variety of ways in which you can go. And so when I look at this this pick from 12 to 25, again, you're going to get a really good player here. It's just a little bit more a matter of pick your poison as opposed to maybe drafting that best player available. But there's tons of options here.
I agree. I like all the selections.
We're also going to see the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is a pick they picked up in the Kasperi-Kapanen deal from the Pittsburgh Penguins. They will select 15th. And then the Montreal Canadiens, who made the move today, picking up Josh Anderson from Columbus, Max Domi going the other way. They will select 16th.
And it looks like Toronto's going to select, which is great because I would never have traded my first round pick.
Well, that
Don't speak too soon.
But that is interesting because we talk about, these are prospects, these are green bananas. And there are some teams that are not in the green banana business. They want ripe hockey players because they feel that they are close.
And Kyle came out and said that if they can improve their grit level, they'll do that. So I'm guessing that he's explored a lot of ways to move this pick. But knowing how thorough he is, they'll be ready to pick. And there's still some good options, especially now we're getting into the next wave of defensemen after the next couple forwards.
Right. So after the Edmonton Oilers, the Maple Leafs pick, and the one thing that we know about Kyle Dubas and some of the instructions to the scouts is if this player can't skate, take him off your list.
Still a lot of good skaters left. There's no concern there whatsoever. There'll be one available for him there.
Montreal Canadiens on the horizon as well. And have fortunes changed in Montreal since the playoffs, or expectations have they changed?
I would like to go back and change those lists I did to the point where I put Montreal so low on the list. Man, all of a sudden they got their defense in line. Everyone's signed long term. They're in good shape, boy.
And Suzuki popped, as you like to say, in the playoffs. Jesperi Kotkaniemi was exceptional as well.
We should explain real quickly. Popped means a guy that we thought had high expectations for. Popped. He made it. He showed what he's made of.
Changing expectations for your franchise. Elias Pettersson did that in Vancouver. Nick Suzuki doing that right now with the Montreal Canadiens. But it is the Edmonton Oilers on the clock. With that, we head back to New Jersey and the commission.
Here we go. Oilers
the
next.
14th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by Edmonton Oilers President and General Manager Ken Holland.
The Edmonton Oilers are proud to select with the 14th pick Dylan Holloway, University of Wisconsin.
Dylan Holloway, center, 6 foot, 192 pounds, shoots left from Calgary, Alberta. Ranked number 13 by the Hockey News, ranked number 18
a little bit of a time
internationally.
But you will see the celebration as his name is called.
He goes 14th overall.
Ken Holland, the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers. And when the name is called, if I'm Dylan Holloway, guys, I'm thinking to myself, I just got drafted to a team that has Connor McDavid, that has Leon Draisaitl, has some exciting young prospects, specifically on the defense, is a team that's ready to attach a rocket to their back. What did the Oilers get in Dylan Holloway, Sam?
They're getting the grit. They're getting the power forward. They're getting a north-south type of player. He was the second youngest player in NCAA hockey this year, so the numbers weren't quite what you might expect him to be. Add that to the fact that he was playing on a deep Wisconsin team that had the likes of Turcotte and Caulfield. He wasn't given those top-line, high-leverage situations in which to produce points. So you know what you do? You work in that power forward game. You're in on the forecheck. You're making things happen around you. You're intimidating the opposition with not only that great speed, but your ability to throw a big check. If you're looking for the points, go back to 2 years ago with Okotoks, the AJHL Player of the Year, where points were not a problem whatsoever. But being the second youngest player in the NCAA, that's difficult when you're playing against competition 3, 4, 5 years older than you are. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about the offensive side of Holloway's game, but I do love that power forward aspect he does bring to the table.
Thoughts on Holloway?
He's going to play at like 215 pounds. If he can't play center on the Edmonton Oilers, they can move him to the wall pretty easily. He skates beautifully, great first 3 steps. His compete level is very high, but he's a big man. If they got to move him onto the wall, no sweat. This kid's going to play. As one scout said to me, he's a lock to play, and he has a history of scoring, like Sammy said, going back to Okotoks, where he put up big numbers. This kid's going to play. That's a good pick.
We always say this. It's a very 2020 thing, and this is how Dylan Holloway actually received the news that he had been selected by the Edmonton Oilers. As we were waiting, there was a time stagger. He just got a text. Oh, it's Edmonton.
I can't show it yet. I'm on the tube.
Did Elliot Friedman just break that
That's hilarious.
to the Holloway family? But that's the reaction before
he got a
watching
text
it on television.
before he saw it on the TV.
Now a member of the Edmonton
and they had to
Oilers,
act like he didn't see it.
There was no
yet.
rushing. A player like Philip Broberg last year for the Edmonton Oilers. And the one thing we've seen with Ken Holland, his track record with Detroit is, player, in his case, playing with Wisconsin. Stay there as long as you're going to stay, and then it is into the American Hockey League. And there's some players above him. You think of a player like Tyler Benson, like Ryan McLeod. Like there are players that he needs to leap over to get to Edmonton.
Yeah, but this kid's skill set's higher than some of those players you just named. This kid can skate. Like he's a 210-pound guy, 208-pound guy right now. I'm not sure how much he went up during the pause. He was 203 before the pause. He's probably 210, 212, and he can skate. This is a guy that's going to leapfrog some guys above him that have been drafted, and that's what happens when you get to pick this high in a draft this deep.
Okay, so congratulations to the Holloway family. Received the information by text as we saw Dylan Holloway selected by Ken Holland and the Edmonton Oilers. We turn our attention now to the Toronto Maple Leafs and their general manager,
By the way,
Kyle Dubas. This is the pick of the first
they compare
round pick.
Dylan Holloway to
Dylan
Larkin of the Detroit Red Wings.
Defense?
Well, I'd like to look into the room and see if anyone's on the phone here to see what's going on, to see if
talking
they're
about
going to
Toronto
move this
now.
pick whatsoever. But I think there are a couple of ways in which you can go here. If you want to address the physical nature of the game, Dylan Holloway would have been one of those guys, but there are two others. Both of them play for the Brandon Wheat Kings. It's Ridley Gregg, son of Mark Gregg, former NHLer, and Braden Schneider, the right shot defenseman, who's a big guy who skates really well.
Yes,
Both
please.
of those guys bring that old school physical mentality to the game. So if that is indeed something that you want to address, yet still have the skill set to play with some of those other guys, one of those two players I think would be in the conversation here for Toronto.
Last year, the Maple Leafs didn't have a first-round pick, but in the second round, they hit it big, picking up Nick Robertson, the Peterborough Petes, had a playoff debut for the Maple Leafs, and he's pretty much penciled into the lineup next season. Maybe he's the player that made Kasperi Kapanen expendable. What do you expect the Maple Leafs to do now that they're back in the first round?
Well, Kyle expressed this publicly, so I don't have to surmise what they might do. He said they're going to try to get bigger and grittier. There is a defenseman that fits that description. There is a forward that fits that description. So they've got good options. But I think they are going to take their full 5 minutes here and see. They don't need more green bananas in Toronto, and they need some players who can help them now. I think they're going to be active on Friday. So I think they're going to upgrade tonight and then with a trade or a draft. And then I saw a genius predict this on Twitter that they're either going to keep their pick or trade the pick or trade for another player. Yeah, I'm like, really?
Those are the options.
You're gonna tweet that? So they've got those options. I think they'll work the phone. So use the full 5 minutes. You can call a timeout on the draft floor. You can call a timeout twice, and you get a 5 minute timeout. I don't know if they're allowing it now with the virtual thing, but they'll take their time here.
I think the one other guy is Caden Gooley. I had him a little bit higher up on my list, the Prince Albert defenseman, who again is a good skater. So we check that box with Kyle Dubas.
He's a left
the physical
shot,
play, we check that box with Kyle Dubas. So I think he's also in consideration here as well.
How close do you think the Maple Leafs are? Brian, you talked about in your rankings, the rankings of the Canadian teams that you and David did, and to the point.
300
hold on to that one because we're going to the pick,
so
there'll be no timeout. Here's the commissioner, Gary Bettman.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
5 minutes has elapsed and the pick is not in. You can either now make the selection or take a timeout.
Oh, Mitch Marner's going to say the pick.
With the 15th overall selection in this year's 2020 NHL Draft, Toronto Maple Leafs are proud to select from UFA of the KHL, Rodion Amirov.
Rodion Amirov from Russia.
No question, he fits inside the top 15 in terms of the overall skill set for what this draft class has to offer. I was really impressed with this player. I got to watch him 5 times in November last year playing with the Canada-Russia series, and he was unbelievable. He was playing for Coach Valery Bregan, who really doesn't play his younger players very much. But Igor Larionov had some influence and said, hey, we need to get Max Groshev, another guy you'll hear about most likely tomorrow, and Amirov some more time playing because we really feel confident about their skill moving forward. So this guy does a lot of things really, really well in terms of scoring goals, in terms of being a playmaker, and he's a responsible guy who doesn't mind the physical part of the game. So now Toronto addresses a little bit of that physicality, yet they still go back to their great fallback position in having a ton of skill with Amirov.
As a Toronto fan, I'm disappointed.
Small, soft skill. He's not afraid of physical play.
Right shot defenseman. Just do it already.
The problem is when you scout him, he shows flashes of brilliance. He does things that kids his age can't generally do. But he tends to do them in his own age group and not with the older men. And he tends to do them not frequently enough. Needs more consistency, but they've got time. But again, to me, small, soft skill. Not exactly what they need as a priority, but he's a gifted player.
How close? I can hear Maple Leafs fans watching television right now, watching on the tablet, saying, "Well, how close is this?"
Ask me Saturday. See what they do on Friday.
Oh my God.
Okay, Sammy, how close do you think Amarov is?
I'd say 3 years. Say in this pick for Toronto.
All right, so there you go. Rodion Amarov is the selection for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is 15th overall. Let's rewind now. And score to Jamie Hirsch with the 10th overall pick, selected by the Winnipeg Jets in the 2020 NHL Draft, selected by Team Rogers Community Draft. Here's Cole Perfetti with Jamie Hirsch. Jamie.
Cole, congratulations on being selected in the first round of the NHL Draft. What has you so excited to be a part of the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great feeling. Worked my entire life to
take it easy, Frank.
Be drafted by such a great organization like the Winnipeg Jets.
I don't know what they picked.
It's pretty surreal, and I can't wait to get things going.
I understand you typically wear number 91 in honor of John Tavares, your favorite player, big Oshawa fan growing up. So what do you think that moment will be like for you when you get to share the ice with him?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Growing up, dreaming of playing or being as good as him, and then now being able to have the chance to play against him is definitely a dream come true, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
So Amarov was ranked 30th by the Hockey News. Internationally, he was ranked number 16. Best case scenario, they have him as a James Van Riemsdyk kind of player. He's a left winger. He shoots left. He's 6 foot. I gotta say, I'm really disappointed with this pick by Toronto. I'm not saying he's not going to be a good player or anything, but for God's sake, man, just right shot defenseman. Like how? Oh, okay. Back to the panel here.
A game on television, or we're doing Hockey Central. I want to see you do a Rubik's Cube.
Well, the broadcast window is usually 2.5 hours, so I have a chance.
There you go. The Maple Leafs selecting Rodion Amarov.
Fan,
just heard Jamie Hirsch in conversation with Cole Perfetti, who goes 10th to the Winnipeg Jets. Montreal Canadiens and Marc Bergevin are next up, and we've seen Nick Suzuki popping for them this year in the playoffs. Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Last year, they drafted Cole Caulfield in the first round. Wisconsin, the sniper, maybe the best pure goal scorer in that draft last season. Where do you guys expect Bergevin to turn this time around?
Well, I love it because they've also addressed some of the size situation. Weber was already there. You look at Edmondson getting signed, and you see up front Josh Anderson has the ability to play that belligerent style of game. So I like that some of their smaller forwards are going to have some room to move around there and allow their younger players to stay nice and calm out there and allow them to do their thing, like Kotkaniemi and Suzuki. So, again, a variety of directions. But for me, the names don't change as from what we just talked about, whether it's Caden Gooley, whether it's Ridley Gregg or Braden Schneider. Those are the guys that I would see in the next couple of picks here.
I would see that. I think they need scoring on the wing. They count on Gallagher to be their scoring when they traded Domi away. They don't get enough scoring off the wall. I know Domi plays a lot of center too, but I think that would be their priority. But they've got to replace some of these defensemen down the road, too. They're in good shape. So I wouldn't be surprised if they take a defenseman. He is going to take the best player. He's not a positional draft guy.
Alexander Romanov comes in.
What are you talking about? He did that with
hard-hitting defenseman. All of a sudden, that division is getting much tougher.
Did you hear that? Did you all hear what I heard?
What other teams have done by way of physicality. Cole Caulfield last season, the sniper, comes in. We'll see which way Montreal goes. A lot of intriguing names still on the table. Take it away, Commissioner Gary Bettman in Secaucus, New Jersey.
He picked Kotkaniemi was the 7 places
Marc
out.
Bergevin, Executive Vice President and General Manager of the Montreal Canadiens, will make the 16th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
Thanks, Gary. Les Canadiens de Montréal sont fiers de selecter. The Montreal Canadiens select from the Western Hockey League Prince Albert Raiders, Caden Gooley.
Caden Gooley for the Montreal Canadiens. He's ranked 19th overall by the Hockey News, 14th overall internationally.
The hockey family, older
he's
brother,
a left
plays
shot
in the
defenseman
NHL already. Now, Caden
from
Gooley,
Alberta, 6'3",
selected 16th overall by the Habs.
187 pounds.
He's a former first overall draft pick in the WHL's Bantam draft. What does Montreal get here, Sam?
They get a guy who's on a perfect developmental curve because as a 16-year-old playing for Mark Habscheid and the Prince Albert Raiders, he played third pairing minutes. Yet he got some cookies once in a while, but he proved that his great skating ability and his old school, nasty, tough to play against mentality really came to the fore. He helped lead his club to a WHL title and into the Memorial Cup, where you could see flashes of brilliance from this guy. So what happens this year? They're asking him to play a more offensive role. No problem whatsoever for Gouli. He puts up 11 goals, 29 points, or 29 assists for 40 points. And you can see him start to accept more minutes to see that he's grown physically. When we talked to him on the Zoom call, he'd already put on 15 pounds, I believe. So he's well over 200 pounds now. He's an excellent skater, but man, is this guy difficult to play against. He's nasty. And you know what? Personality-wise, you're talking to him, he's as serious as a heart attack. He's got his eye on the prize.
Does not giggle. No, he's a serious kid. He's from a hockey family. His brother plays in the Anaheim system. I talked to Bob Murray. He said that guy, his older brother's serious too. This kid's got a nasty streak and he can skate. And like Sammy said, we had him at 6'3", 190. He's 205 and projects himself to play at 215. And he's got a 40-point pace, 50-point pace. This guy's a complete player. Should be in your second pairing. Can kill penalties. Does already. Has played on a championship team in junior. What could go wrong with this pick? Nothing. He's big and nasty and skilled and a great kid. Hockey family, pro mentality, going to play.
You're leaving out a word that
So,
there we go.
Caden-
I'm waiting for the Berkey word here. So
Wait till they
Edmonton,
finish
Toronto,
it.
and Montreal have selected Holloway, Amarov, and Gouli the picks. We'll get upstairs. Elliot Friedman with Mike Fuda on his thoughts.
There we go.
I'm looking at the clock at the bottom of the screen. You got 3 minutes and 40 seconds. You think you can finish this off before Bettman
Note
goes
to
the
self.
podium?
Note to self. Bettman trumps Fuda.
All right, the Canadian picks, Gouli, Amarov, Holloway. What do you think?
Well, I love the Holloway pick. I think you get the speed that that Kaz was talking about. The kid's, I think he's a very safe third line player. If he hits, he's going to be able to play top six all situations, reliable in all sessions. Now you go to Toronto, doesn't surprise me one bit. I call him Jim Pelofeedov. This guy spends more time in Russia than he does in
The
Canada.
Russian whisperer.
He's unbelievable. This man is over there. He's in everybody's houses. He knows these players than anybody in the National Hockey League. So they've got a great player. It might take a little while to get there. Kiefer might have to work on his Russian, but Pelofeedov is bar none the best scout in hockey in Russia. And then you get back to Montreal. You've got a kid, a Western Hockey League defenseman. The kid, sometimes there's a little bit of question with his decision-making with the puck, but he brings the physical nature. He's an exceptional skater, and he's going to be right in on the blue line with the Montreal Canadiens. Great pick by Trevor Timmins.
You wanted to talk about Perfetti.
I just think it's an outstanding pick because you got kids sometimes. I know
Caden Goulet, by the way, was compared in best case scenario to Jacob Trouba. So there's that. Back to the panel here.
Way to get around the ice. And I think Winnipeg, I think Hillier and Zinger made an exceptional pick there.
Now, you were talking about some of the people behind the scenes. You mentioned Trevor Timmins in Montreal. You just talked about Heisinger and Hillier in Winnipeg. You wanted to mention Martin. Now, Martin Madden, who runs the draft for Anaheim, Seattle tried to get him, and Anaheim promoted him, so he couldn't leave. Some of the people behind the scenes.
Well, I understand as a general manager, it's your balls on the line. So, you get to a lot of them stand up and state the pick, but behind the scenes, there's incredible work. I think Martin Madden's one of the greatest scouts in hockey. You don't hear much from him. There's a reason why Seattle wanted him. There's a reason why Brian Murray wanted to keep him around. Mark Chianetti, who I worked with, it would have been heck having to go through 4 extra months to break down players with this guy, the way that staff works. And then you look at these guys with the extra picks, but I even look at someone like Jay Bakula, who worked his tail off in Florida, worked this draft off. He loses his job a week ago, and now he's ready to go. It's just tough on guys like that. That play like that will be back in.
All right. Also ready to go, Sean McKenzie with Kyle Dubas. Sean?
Oh, yeah. See what Kyle Dubas from the Toronto Maple Leafs has to say about this. What the hell,
the 2020 draft
I'm
is.
sure he'll be
How much
good,
did
but
that
still.
play into the factor of
Right
keeping
shot
the pick and
defenseman!
not dealing it away?
Yeah, we had lots of conversations, Sean, on moving the pick, but in the end, we were really comfortable if we didn't find the deal that we wanted to select Rodion, and our staff really, really likes him a lot. And I've got to know him a little bit here over this process, and certainly have done a lot of work on him. And he's off to a great start with UFA and the KHL, and have spoke with their coaching staff and the national team staff, and so we're real excited about it.
Yesterday, you said that you want the Maple Leafs to be a very difficult team to play against. How much do you expect to address that need through trade and free agency over the next week or so?
I think that's a lot easier thing to address in those methods.
Well,
Sean, at this point,
defenseman.
drafting an 18-year-old kid right now, especially in the middle of the first round, expecting that they're going to come in and address some of the needs that are done by mostly more mature, older players in the league, I think wouldn't be the most smart way to go about things. So, with this pick, we wanted the player that could help us out best in the long run and then roll from there. Kyle, thanks for the time. Perfect. Thanks, Sean.
Loved hearing Mike Fuda bigging up all the scouts. This is their day. My question, why do they always just wear black? There are other colors, as Colby Armstrong calls it, the scout fit. Here's the commissioner, Gary Bettman.
Stan Bowman, Senior Vice President and General Manager of the Chicago Blackhawks, will be making the 17th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
Thank you, Gary. Here at the Blackhawks, we believe that what we do off the ice is just as important as what we do on it. We have a special guest joining us today to make our first choice from the Fifth Third Arena here on Chicago's West Side. Please welcome one of the inaugural One West Side grant recipients, Jamile Cannon. Jamile is the founder and executive director of The Block, which is a nonprofit boxing program that uses the love of boxing to provide mentorship and academic support to the youth of Chicago.
With the 17th pick in the 2020 NHL Draft, from Eisbären Berlin, the Chicago Blackhawks select Lukas Reichel.
Lukas Reichel. Here we go. Okay. Wow, how high is he? Wow, that's right off the map too.
The 18th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft, their second selection in the first round, will belong to the New Jersey Devils. New Jersey, you're on the clock.
Okay, slow down here. All right, Lukas Reichel.
Okay, this is New Jersey's pick
Chicago.
That they got from Arizona.
He's a left winger.
But let's go back to pick number 17 with the Chicago Blackhawks, Sam. And Lukas Reichel, 2/3 of
72
the line
pounds.
have now been drafted. Tim Stützle already going to Ottawa.
They compare him to Andre Burakovsky.
Peterka will go to complete that trio of Germans selected. But when it comes to Reichel, what excites the scouts the most is the fact that they feel he's got great growth potential on the offensive side of the puck. Here's a guy who's got good speed. He shoots the puck extremely well, but they think that ceiling is much higher than what he's already been able to produce. He's the fourth best under 18 producer of points in the DEL. So when, again, you can go in and have success playing against men in a men's league at this age, that's impressive stuff. But the base and the foundation is great skating ability with good hands and skill and put the puck in the net with a lot of room to grow on that side of the puck.
You have the German file going back to when you're managing the Maple Leafs.
Well, what I like about this kid is that they call him a problem solver. Like, he breaks down what happens on the ice, figures it out real quickly in real time, and makes the right decision. It's a real gift. And he also battles hard, but he's very conscientious about not taking penalties. Now, we can always find guys that have big penalty minutes, but if you can find a guy who hits and manages his penalty minutes, that's a gift. This kid is going to be a good player. The Germans are coming. The Germans are coming.
Berkey, two have gone in the first round. The Germans aren't coming. The Germans are here. Lukas Reichel goes to Chicago Blackhawks at 17. As you have a look at some of the great shots from a very young Lukas Reichel. Tim Stützle goes to Ottawa at 3. Reichel to Chicago at 17. All right, so we'll take a pause. The New Jersey Devils are on the clock. Also, when we return, the Calgary Flames will select at number 19. Have a look at some former first-round picks. Hey, Sean Monahan, looking good. Dinner to you, Sam Bennett. And how about Matthew Tkachuk? Flames up in a moment.
Wow, a lot of good players skipped over here. I mean, they're all good players. Good players.
Stop dreaming.
But I'm sure there's some surprises.
Driving.
I mean, the Blackhawks and the Maple Leafs go
with
way
great
off the
offers
board.
on select 2020 models. Visit
with whom they've selected. I know. I've been getting to know the rest of the league very well in the past 3 years or so, but I especially know Toronto. Usually, the hardest things to learn about a team are their bottom six forwards, their bottom pairing defensemen, and their prospects. So I've been watching a hell of a lot more games since just before I started this channel. I mean, I've always watched every team play during the playoffs. But I was born in Toronto, watched them all my life, so I have a very intimate knowledge of them, which is kind of why I'm a bit disappointed in their pick in Amirov at number 15. And I promise I won't whine about this the rest of the night. I'll try not to let this bring me down. But yeah, I was really hoping they go after a defenseman because their prospect pool is so thin with them. Not to mention their actual team. So here, and we're back.
Mark Caden Gooley is the newest member of the Montreal Canadiens. What was it about him that you liked so much?
Size, skating, range, brings some offensive skill to his game, and a little hard to play against. So, I mean, if he checks all the boxes for us.
Earlier today, you made a trade with the Columbus Blue Jackets. What made sense of that deal from your perspective?
Well, we gave up a pretty good asset in Max Domi, but, that was the price to pay to add Josh Anderson, which is a power forward. There's a very few players like him in the league, and we're trying to get bigger, especially up front. And, again, we like what he brings. I know he missed time last year, but we feel that he'll be back 100% and ready to go.
We haven't seen really any trades during the draft itself to this point, I guess I should say. But do you think that has something to do with doing everything remotely?
Well, we did one today. It was I would call it a draft day trade, but I can't tell you why. I thought there was some conversation, but it's still early. There's tomorrow, so time will tell, I guess.
Might be hard to do a trade.
I'm sure. Thanks so much for the time.
Well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If you squint really hard, it looks like Mark Bergevin's wearing shoulder pads underneath that shirt. New Jersey on the clock again. They've drafted Holtz. We'll see who's next. Here's the commission.
18th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by New Jersey Devils General Manager Tom Fitzgerald.
Thank you. The New Jersey Devils are proud to select from Chicoutimi center Dawson Mercer.
Dawson Mercer, ranked 17th overall by the Hockey News, 28th overall internationally. He's a center, 5'10", 165 pounds, from Quebec, Canada.
Sam, I know you like this pick.
I sure do. This is an unbelievable young man, and
He's
a guy
compared to
who
Thomas
as a 16-year-old scored 30
San Jose
goals for a
Sharks.
deep Drummondville team. Yes, he got some good matchups. Yes, he got a little bit of power play time, but he went into the offseason and said, you know what? I want to prove that I'm the guy who scored the 30 goals, not the circumstances surrounding me. So he came back last year, had an unbelievable start, gets invited to the Canada Russia Series. Dale Hunter says, I love this guy. He plays with speed, he plays with passion, he plays with energy and bite, and he's got really good hands. So he makes Canada's World Junior team, albeit in a bit role, but still as an underage player, really impressive stuff. He comes out of the World Juniors and they say, someone from his hometown, young girl, close family friend says, can I bring you to school for show and tell? The guy says, no problem. I mean, what kind of kid is that? You got to love it. So now he goes back. He's big part of a trade to go to Chicoutimi. He comes into this year and he's starting on fire once again. So I love the passion, the energy, the small area game. Great pick.
This kid's got a motor, Brian.
Kid's got a motor, good Newfoundland boy. This kid is really impressive. Like, you go through the interview process with these kids, and there's value to a positive, confident kid. Teemu Selanne was like that. Brad May was like that. They come in your dressing room, and it's like sunshine. They're very important. This kid's a good player. He's deceptive. He's shifty, but he also brings a confident, positive attitude that's useful to any team.
It's a shot.
I just want to talk about the goal scoring again. I mean, the 30 goals as a 16-year-old, and then backing up that again last year. Iceberg Analytics did a little something for us here to show us that how effective is he in the high danger area, meaning shots from the high danger area that actually make it to the net, that don't get deflected, that don't get blocked, that actually make it on goal. He's the leader amongst this draft class at 75%. So really impressive stuff there, that when he's in tight, he still has that knack to be able to get the puck on goal. So look for big things from Dawson Mercer down the road.
Multi-sport athlete.
And I know you love that. I know you're a big supporter. I know all kids want to play spring hockey, want to play year-round.
By the way, I'll be here tomorrow.
Does it matter what sport, as long as they're playing a sport?
Dad asked me once, what summer sport, what off-season sport should my son play? And I was perplexed by the question. I'm like, well, what does he like, for God's sake? What do you mean, what should he play? He said, well, he likes baseball. Well, that's no good. I said, what do you mean it's no good? Hand-eye coordination, signal signs, whole thing. He said, well, there's no cardio. So I said, you know what? Let him play baseball. And when you drive home, stop a mile from your house and make him run home the last mile. Other sports are good for young athletes.
And have a look at some shots here. I mean, first of all, this is a wonderful young man, Dawson Mercer. And you mentioned good Newfoundland boy, and he's been successful all the way up. Big medal, big trophy, big smile, right-hand shot. There's a whole lot to like here in Dawson Mercer. A wonderful pick by the New Jersey Devils. Calgary Flames are coming up next. Brad Treliving, this is your old squad. What do you expect from the Flames here? Last year they went to the Q and drafted Jacob Pelche, who just lit the Q up last season.
They're really happy with that pick. The information I've managed to procure from Calgary is zero. Way to go. The gratitude Brad Treliving has shown to me for hiring him is zero this week. And Brad Pascal is no better. I've asked him, give me some guidance, give me some hints. I got crickets, nothing.
The outsider.
You sure you were well liked in that organization, Brian?
Great outsider, I guess.
I gave them Christmas gifts every year.
Okay, hockey outsider, Brian Burke. Very good. Sammy, what do we expect from? Were you able to glean any information? Maybe Craig Conroy slipped you some info?
Oh yeah, they told me everything. I got it all. Sorry about that, Berkey. But you're looking again at a variety of players, and I still like the fact that you got Ridley Gregg on the board, Braden Schneider on the board. Justin Barron is a guy that may come into play. Right shot defenseman just underwent another medical procedure, but it looks like he's in the clear now. So again, a lot of options here. You can go to the wing, you can go to defense, you can go with a little bit of truculence and Gregg. So a lot of ways in which they can go here.
I can see Calgary.
Here's a snapshot right now of the Calgary Flames. Jeff Ward, the interim tag removed. He is the head coach, and there's still some big decisions for the general manager on the horizon.
Well, there are, and the fact of the matter is they removed the interim tag from Jeff Ward, which I think was well deserved. I think he's a hell of a coach. But they're letting a lot of their D walk away to unrestricted free agency. So in my mind, they got Juuso Valimaki coming, who they really like and think will play in their top three right away. But they need help kind of across the board. So this could be a positional pick. They've got guys tied. They could use help at forward. They could use help at defense. They might draft a goaltender, but I don't think this high. I think the next goalie is going to go in the second round. But I think that I know they're trying to get back to long pants hockey with Milan Lucic and the way they played. They like the banging, and I think I wouldn't be surprised to take a guy with some bite, whether that be Gregg or Schneider or whomever.
We have some information about pick number 19 with the Calgary Flames. We're going to get there in a couple of moments, but when you look at the Calgary Flames right now, Rasmus Andersson is in, sign of that extension. And you look at Juuso Valimaki, you talked a lot about him in his draft year coming out of Tri-City. He's going to get every opportunity, as Berkey mentions, to play for a long time in Calgary. Now, we'll get to the commissioner with the info. Here's Gary Batman.
I'd like to announce a trade.
Oh, boy.
The Calgary Flames are trading pick number 19 in this year's draft, the 2020 draft, to the New York Rangers for selections number 22 and 72 in this year's draft, the 2020 draft. So it's Calgary trades 19 in this year's draft to the Rangers for selections 22 and 72 in the 2020 draft. As a result, New York Rangers, you're now on the clock.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if you haven't heard that, the Rangers and Calgary just came to a trade. Calgary traded their 19th overall pick for the 22nd
so
overall
and the
72nd overall.
You know what I wonder about? Hendrix Lapierre.
Very, very interesting, because if you look at 3 New Jersey picks and they pick next, they probably afford to hit a home run there. So maybe that's a guy that ends up going there. What's interesting when I look at Calgary, though, trying to acquire some picks, they got 38 in the second round. They don't have a third round pick. So they're able to acquire that in this trade and slide down because I guess they feel comfortable with the cluster of players that they're looking at. Thanks for all that information from Calgary.
Well, I like the cluster. I didn't get any information from Calgary, but I do like the fact where you pick up a third round pick and you only drop a couple places. You've got to be in the same cluster, on the same ledge, basically. So I like the move. And we used to have a chart on my teams, what makes sense trading up and down. So we had a chart that if you want to trade 15, it has to be, if it's 18 to 20, it has to include this pick. And so I like this for both ways. I like the Rangers getting after it again, making sure they get the guy they want. I like Calgary dropping a couple picks, staying in the cluster, adding a 3rd round pick. That GM had a great teacher.
Yes, because the Rangers need more picks, and you're right. Good on the Calgary Flames to pick up another asset. Before we get to the Rangers, and we'll stand by for Jeff Gorton's pick. Let's go to Jamie Hirsch with the 16th pick of this year's draft, presented by Team Rogers Community Draft. Here's Jamie Hirsch with Caden Gooley.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Congratulations. I'm sure this night was not at all what you dreamed of when you were a young boy growing up and imagining draft night. But how special was it to know that the Montreal Canadiens liked you well enough to draft you 16th overall?
Yeah, it was a huge honor. This team's been around for a long time, so to be a part of their organization is a huge honor, and very, very pleased and very happy to be a part of it.
Your brother Brendan is also an NHL player, although he was taken in the 2nd round. Does it feel good to know you have a little bit of an edge there in family bragging rights?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a little bit, but I never really thought about it like that. I think he's still got bragging rights. He's got a lot more games in the NHL than me, so maybe this one thing, but I think he's still got more to brag about than I do.
Well, besides facing off against your brother someday, who's another NHL player that you admire and respect and can't wait to maybe make a great defensive move against him someday?
I'd probably go Sidney Crosby. I mean, he's been around for a long time. He's one of the greatest players in the game ever right now still. So I think just being able to play against him would be a dream come true. Watching him play throughout my whole childhood was awesome. So I'd probably have to see him.
Well, congratulations on the big night, and thank you for the time.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And you thought Jonathan Taves was Captain Serious. Meet Caden Gooley of the Prince Albert squad. Let's get to the commission now. The Rangers are ready to make their pick. Here's Gary Bettman.
New York Rangers General Manager Jeff Gorton, with the 2nd pick in the 1st round. The Rangers will be selecting the 19th pick.
Rangers are picking 19th after a trade with Calgary.
With the 19th pick from the Brandon Wheat Kings, the New York Rangers select Braden Schneider.
Braden Schneider, who the Leafs should have picked. Let me take off my hat so I can pull out my hair. Okay. God damn. Good pick by the Rangers.
I'll tell you what, Sam Cosentino, it is an impressive prospect pool that the New York Rangers are putting together. We've talked a lot about the forwards, and Alexis Lafreniere goes 1st overall, but they're not forgetting about the back end, and we mentioned Keandre Miller earlier on today, but how about Braden Schneider of the Brandon Wheat Kings?
His greatest asset is his self-awareness. Here you're going to see him jumping up
this.
on the rush. You're going to see him scoring goals, creating assists. But for me, that's not his best asset, because I think he recognizes that in order for him to be a mainstay at the next level, this is the type of stuff he has to do, Berkey.
Yeah, this he's a big open ice hitter. He's a right shot defenseman, which everyone knows how hard they are to find. But this guy plays in all 3 zones. He's very proud of his work in his own end, and he can close on people. For a big man, he skates well. He can close on people quickly. This guy plays in all 3 zones. He's going to fill out and play at around 225, I think. And he's mean, but he's got puck skills to back it up. I like him. Big hitter. Do you
see some Jacob Trouba there in Schneider? It's like hearing the description and watching the way that he plays. Do you see some Jacob Trouba there?
I do, but he's bigger than Jacob Trouba, and he's a little meaner than Jacob Trouba.
So that's what the New York Rangers are getting in Braden Schneider. We talk about the Brandon Wheat Kings. It is one of those Cadillac Junior franchises. We talked about Lafreniere with Rimouski, and we'll always talk about the London Knights. Yes, Berkey.
I hate those big old ice hits that we're just showing. I hate seeing.
Give me more. Give me more.
Really, I wonder about the poor forward who just got drilled. I really worry.
But I know you're especially around the boards. It's very dangerous there. We should have the no-hit area. I know you're very sensitive. Call the police. Someone might get hurt out there.
And this kid's a great interview too. What a wonderful kid.
He is
wonderful kid.
A tremendous hitter, but interesting that, and the hitting may be one of the calling cards. But
Can't
the one thing
believe
you won't
Leafs
see with this
whiffed
player,
on this
Sam,
guy.
true or false,
I'm just
is
so
he
mad
won't
about
chase
that.
it. Like, he won't chase that hit.
No, it comes
And
to
he's
him
a Toronto
naturally, and I
fan.
think
They're
that's
showing
part
pictures of
the game
him
that
as
he
a
really
kid
worked
wearing
on
a
this year
Toronto
with Dave
jersey.
Lowry, the head coach here. So when I look at this guy in total, he's probably one of those players, like I said earlier, that he's going to make his mark being that defensive defenseman and being belligerent to play against. But I think as time wears on, you'll start to see the shot and maybe a second power play unit potential start to grow in his game. But I don't think that should be his focus, and I don't believe he thinks that should be his focus either, and I like that.
And the mom, 24-year career as an RCMP officer.
Yes.
Thank you for your service. Your son bragged about you.
At the call, he went out of his way to talk about Mom very
And Dad,
specifically.
too. Don't leave Dad out. Dad sells commercial fishing equipment, and he's very proud of you, too, Dad. But
Berkey's looking for a deal.
I was going to say another fishing story and a plug from Brian Burke. What are you angling for here tonight, Brian? Sorry, bad pun number one coming from this chair today.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say
He's
that's
compared to the hockey news by Jake Muzzin, by the way.
Thank you very much. So Braden Schneider goes to the New York Rangers. And we always talk about, listen, whoever drafts first overall wins the draft. This is a wonderful piece of business by Jeff Gordon so far. And I don't think anyone thinks that by any stretch of the imagination that he's done.
I love the aggression. I love
that.
This is the guy we identified. We're not going to fool around. We're not going to wait around for it to happen. We identified this guy. I believe Schneider slipped a little bit here, and they said, "All right, we're gonna jump the queue."
Yeah, we're going to jump the queue.
Now, would they have had intel? Like, I'm curious about this situation because they made the trade with the Calgary Flames specifically at 19 to get this player. How much would you know as a general manager what New Jersey is going to do after Calgary and all the teams? Would it be phone calls to everybody? Who are you going to take?
Well, there are guys you could talk to that would tell you what they're going to do as long as you respected the information. Like Mark Bergevin is a guy I would trust. Say, Bergevin, what are you going to do here? And he'd tell you, this is the guy we're looking at. What likely happened here is that Jeff Gordon went to Calgary and said, if this certain guy's available, here's what we'll do. And Tree would have said back, if the right group is available below this player that you want, we'll do the deal to pick up a third-round pick. So this could be, depending on what Calgary does with the pick, this could be win-win, and I like it. We finally have something to talk about besides draft. Who's drafting? I used to tell Tree, you can move up in the draft, You can trade your picks. You can move up and take two twins together.
Oh,
you can do it.
Before we get into 1999 stories and Daniel and Henrik, let's go upstairs. Mike Fuda wants in on this conversation. Elliot.
Well, New Jersey is on the clock with their third pick of the first round, and you have a theory about what you would do in that situation.
Well, I think anytime you have such an incredible amount of riches of three picks in the first round, that I think a player like Lapierre really has to come into play. Before I got the pipe, I got to see this kid play live, and he had the puck the entire evening. He was outstanding. He made plays. He played a two-way game. Incredible skater. And obviously there's some injury issues, which teams, I see this kid, and I'll cause you talked about it, as a guaranteed top 10 pick if he was healthy. He's had some injuries, but this is one special hockey player. If you get the bottom of his health that I've heard, this kid's got 8 points in 3 exhibition games or something like that. You got a chance right now to add a guaranteed top 10 skilled centerman to your lineup with a later pick in the first round draft.
When you had a player who did have injury issues, what kind of extra work would you guys have done to check it out?
Compare him
like the combines, we actually faltered
Lapierre,
on.
that is.
We faltered on one player that we didn't really know the extent of his injury in the first round. But if you get to the bottom of it, and this kid, I don't want to talk about his injury total, but the people I've talked to said it's not necessarily a long-term related injury, that it was something that he had to get through. And I know like the hit he took, it was one of the kind that Berkey was talking about. It was a car accident, airbag off, whole thing done. But this kid is a special hockey player. He's played through it, and he will add something incredible to the lineup.
All right, let's see if New Jersey follows your advice. The commissioner is at the podium, so let's send it to Gary Bettman.
Here we go.
The 20th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by New Jersey Devils general manager Tom Fitzgerald.
Okay.
The New Jersey Devils are proud to select from UFA defenseman Shakir Mukhamadullin.
Mukhamadullin. Sammy, kind of a wild card?
Yeah, we go off the board a little bit here. And here's a guy I didn't have in my first round, but he's starting to get a lot of late love. Why? Because he's off to an unbelievable start in the KHL. Through the first 9 games, he has 5 points. But you harken back to where he first started to get on the radar, and that would be at the World Junior A Challenge. He scored the double overtime game winner to give Russia the gold medal there, but he proved that he could hit, he could skate really well. He's got a bomb of a shot. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me. But when I look at some of the other defensemen that are available, with some of the risk that might be involved with them, whether it's a Barron or whether it's some of the other defensemen that we're talking about here in Poirier. But what you see here is a guy that's got off to a great start, and I believe we talked about this earlier, that this is the guy who's benefited from returning to play before the draft actually happens. So you get to see that growth after the time off, and I believe he's the true benefactor here because of the layoff. Ricky?
I talked to one scout the other day. He said he's a project. As an American, I say project. He said project. This kid's big and he can skate and he's got a great shot. He's 6'4". He only weighs, even with the pause, I think he's up to only 190 pounds. So he's a bit of a scarecrow, but his upside is tremendous. This guy can skate and shoot. This is a good pick. It's going to take some time and it could go south. Some of these kids don't come along. But this guy's got a chance. He's if you said, take a flyer on a guy in the first round, this is probably the guy.
You do it when you have multiple. Shakir Mukhamadullin is now a member of the New Jersey Devils. Before this, they selected Dawson Mercer of Chicoutimi. Him and Hendrix Lapierre at the same rink, and comes over for the big congratulations from one teammate to another. And now we'll stand by to see where Lapierre ends up. But meanwhile, teammates, high five. Way to go, bro.
The 2020 NHL Draft on Sportsnet, brought to you by Team Rogers Community Draft.
All right, so the Devils picked Shakir Mukhamadullin. He's a left shot defenseman, 6'2", 170 pounds. He's compared to Rasmus Ristolainen right now. And 37th overall by the Hockey News, 21st overall by the International Scouting Services, and he goes 20th to the New Jersey Devils. We'll see how that works out. As you may have heard, the insiders talk about him. He could be a bit of a project. He's got to put some meat on his bones, etc., etc. All right. And we're just still going through some commercials here. Does anybody have any questions so far? We just had a trade just earlier between New York and Calgary. Calgary drops a couple of spaces to pick 22nd overall there, and they also picked up a 72nd pick. And New York Rangers picked up Braden Schneider, the right shot defender who the Toronto Maple Leafs should have picked up in that position. There's that. And I keep promising I won't talk about how disappointed I am with Toronto's pick. And eventually I'll stop talking about it, I hope. Here we go. We're back in. Let's talk. Let's go.
Defenseman before that goes to the New York Rangers. That was a trade with the Calgary Flames. Braden Schneider, Dawson Mercer from Chicoutimi is a member of the New Jersey Devils. And Brian Burke loves talking about German hockey players. Stützle goes 3 to Ottawa. And then the Blackhawks at 17 pick up Lucas Reichel. And next on the clock are the Columbus Blue Jackets and their general manager, Jarmo Kekalainen, doing business today, sending Josh Anderson to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for Max Domi. Lately, they haven't had a lot of picks, and it is a pipeline that they need to reemerge and reinstall. What do you expect, and what are the names available here for Jarmo?
Well, they don't have a second or a third, so I don't know if a trade possibility exists here in order to acquire another asset. But again, there's still a variety of really good players. Connor Zeri's sitting there from Kamloops. Ridley Gregg is sitting there. I mean, you've got Jacob Perreault, pure sniper. There's, again, a lot of different ways. We're still talking about really good players here. And yeah, we talked about that ledge of 12. But, man, I still like the selections. I'd be happy to pick here, no problem whatsoever, unless I could really do well and acquire a second-round pick, because I do believe that list extends to 50 in terms of the depth of getting a player that you would want that would be higher up on your list.
Columbus, Liam Foudy was the last time they selected in the first round.
I know, but you know what they've been. I think everyone in hockey admires what they've done as a team.
Mm-hmm.
They went for it all. They got decimated. Still played great. Everyone has a fond spot in their heart.
Back to Secaucus. The commissioner is standing by. Here's Gary Beck.
Okay, here we go. Columbus is next.
The 21st selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by Columbus Blue Jackets general manager Jarmo Kekalainen.
Here we go.
The Columbus Blue Jackets are proud to select from Avangard Omsk
of the Continental Hockey League, Yegor Chinakov.
Yegor Chinakov.
Right winger from the KHL, Igor Chinakov, goes to the Columbus Blue Jackets at 21.
Well, I'm sweating. That's completely off the board for me. I got to tell you, I had not done a lot of work in this guy, to be completely honest with you. I had read something recently where he was starting to make some headway and really starting to make a lot of noise. But Fuchs, we're going to have to defer to you on that one, because Chinakov is not a guy I expected to go here. That is for sure.
I think he's a Russian winger.
Right side or left side?
He can play both.
Mike Fuda, do you have anything else to add?
I got to tell you, like, this is the best, because I saw Sam looking through his papers. I saw Michael.
I'm looking through my papers.
And I said, we are off the board.
Yes, I was, yes. I'm going with Berkey. He's a winger. Not right winger. But I tell you, Vili Siren is phenomenal with the Columbus. You know, these guys, they tend to go off the board. They've had great success with European players, so it doesn't surprise me at all. But I'm at a loss. I know that I'm assuming any of these players from UFA, they usually take a couple years to come over. They're a little bit more of a project. But to take a picture like this, they obviously have a great feel on the player.
Where is this guy?
Like Jarmo's a legend in Europe. They're going to have a homework book on this guy, know he's coming over, and know everything about him.
Now, the one thing I wanted to ask you is, they got a third rounder today from Montreal in the Anderson Domi deal. They don't have a second. So are you thinking about them as a team saying, we have a player we like, we're picking here at 21st. We don't pick again till 78. We just got to take him.
Yeah, it happens a lot. That was kind of what I was referring to.
I can't find this guy.
Clearly way off.
He's a right
honestly,
winger.
when you see a player and you love him, and you know that there's going to be a huge gap before you pick again, you jump up, and there's no fear in what the Columbus Blue Jackets do. Look what they did 2 years ago when they went for it down the stretch. There's no fear in Yuri with any way this team drafts. And I mean, I think it's one of those things. I wish I had more on him, but I'll be completely honest. This team's never done anything with fear, so they've got to feel exceptionally strong about this player.
All right, Jeff.
He is the 30th ranked European player. And perhaps the point that Elliot made there with Mike was the most salient one. If you're looking at the next couple of rounds and saying to yourself, we don't have picks, and we think this is our guy, and we're not going again till later on in the draft, let's just take him.
Well, the fact of the matter is, when you look at the hot start that he's off to, and you think about a guy who's performed internationally at the under 17 level, at the under 18 level for Russia, he's obviously been identified as a national team player. But the interesting part about this pick is, typically we're talking about late 01s or 02s in your first year of draft eligibility. He's a February 01 birthday, so he's already gone through the draft once. Maybe he's one of those late bloomer types. But again, I really like your point.
Okay.
And it makes a lot of sense that if you really identify a guy and you don't have a pick for a long time, go ahead and take the guy you like.
And I agree with that generally, but sometimes the old cartographers, when they made maps and they didn't know when the world ended, they put, here be dragons. Don't go past this part. At some point, if you go far enough off the map, here be dragons.
We shall see if that dragon breathes fire or produces for the Columbus Blue Jackets somewhere down the road. Calgary Flames are selecting now. This is after the trade with the New York Rangers. The Rangers taking Braden Schneider. We'll see where the Calgary Flames go. In the last 5 minutes, Brad Treliving texted you any indication of what they may be doing. You want to check your iPhone there, Bert?
He's out of the will.
Okay, so not so good for him.
What are we looking at? I can't find this guy in the top 100.
The options still exist.
For the Blue Jackets.
I'm really impressed with
for the
this
hockey
young
news,
man.
he's not
just
in the
as a
top
person,
100.
but again as a player. 86 points in the Western Hockey League.
21st overall.
Ridley Gregg brings.
Does anyone know anything about this guy?
Also brings a lot of that belligerence
That's
to the
crazy.
game. Undercover skill when it comes to what he's doing. Again, Justin Barron, I still think is an option here. And the trade back scenario says that might be an option. But how about Hendrix Lapierre? Hendrix Lapierre is sitting there.
Okay, let's pause on that, because that's the name that and Mike Fuda talked about Hendricks a couple of moments ago as well. That's the one name that I keep getting stuck on as we have a look at him here. High skill. I know the injury last year was the injury. He's come out of the gates in the QMJHL, lit the league on fire, specifically this weekend. All the talk of the junior world, and yet here we are at 22 and saying, what about Hendrix Lapierre?
And I heard a little bit about the Willander kid too today, that he jumped up a little bit here.
All right, so we'll stand by to see which way the Calgary Flames go. As we, listen, this is a team that took Jacob Pelche, as we mentioned off the top, last season, and that was a home run. Some people may have looked at that pick and said, smallish type player, but just ripped into the QHL like a hog into truffles. He was exceptional for them. So, this is a team that perhaps you look at and you say the future of this team is going to be built around players like Matthew Tkachuk, and we need to start complimenting that player. You see Yusuf Alamaki coming up, certainly Rasmus Anderson, but we need to start complimenting that player and the Dylan Dubés and the Mangiapanis with other skill players.
Have we got a second here?
We do.
So we're on the floor. We just drafted Yusuf Alamaki. We're on the floor, and we make the trade for Tree makes the trade for Travis Hamonic. And I said to Yusuf, "What do you think?" He said, "Good. I got a partner now." Like, it might take a couple years to get it, Yusuf. Yeah, I loved it.
If he didn't get hurt, he would have been right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are at zeros, but we are standing by right now for the NHL commissioner to send it to the Calgary Flames. Are poised to select 22nd overall. How much? I mean, Brian, on this entire panel, only yourself and Mike Feud have been part of this on the floor. How much do you know about how the rest of the draft is going to go? Like, there's a general idea, certainly of the top 3 and the top 10 and the top 15, and you start to get into this sort of gray area. And here we are now at 22. As a general manager, do you have to make nonstop phone calls to get a sense of what the rest of the draft is going to look like?
Well, you usually can walk from table to table, and now you've got to make those phone calls. You used to be able to walk over to the next table and say, "What do you got going? What does it look like?" So you'd have a better feel. Virtual draft like this makes it a little bit harder, but yes, you still have to work the phones. And there's 31 teams. That means your assistant GMs have to work the phones too. You can't manage 31 phone lines. You got to get your assistant GMs doing the same thing and try to get a sense. Now, at some point, you usually get a run of European skaters. They've been sprinkled in here. But at some point in the second round, you'll probably see the run on Euros start.
So these are all the draft centers that we're looking at. 31 NHL teams and their draft centers making the selections. Would you sort of allocate, Brian, I am very curious about this. Would you allocate, okay, it's your job to handle this file. It's your job to make this phone call. How would you do that?
You'd start by dividing up the team. So I would say to, say Craig Conroy was my assistant GM and Brad Pascal, I'd say, you're responsible for A through L. You're responsible for the rest, half and half. And I want you calling them every 10 minutes. If you can't talk to the GM, talk to the assistant GM, but keep your finger on that pulse so that I know what's going on.
All right, the Calgary Flames are poised to select the 22nd overall pick back to the NHL Network in Secaucus, New Jersey, and the commissioner, Gary Bettman.
Here we go. Calgary up next. 22nd
We have
overall.
a trade to announce.
Oh, trade.
The Calgary Flames
Another
are
one.
trading the 22nd selection in the 2020 draft to the Washington Capitals for selections number 24 and 80 in this year's draft, 2020 draft. So Calgary trades 22 to Washington for 24 and 80, all in this year's draft. Washington, you're on the clock.
Wow. Calgary trades
so
down again.
It's the Washington Capitals.
That's hilarious. They pick up, yeah. Okay, Washington.
Okay, so we wait for the 5 minutes for the Washington Capitals and Ryan McClellan, the general manager. And last year we went to the London Knights for their first round pick. We'll pick up on the Washington Capitals here in a couple of moments. I believe we're going to Jamie Hirsch at the NHL Network with an interview with Tim Stützle.
Tim, congratulations on being the number 3 overall pick in this year's draft. What was it like to hear Alex Trebek call your name?
Yeah, I mean, for me, unbelievable experience to be with my family and my teammates. It was so much fun, and they supported me my whole life. And to finally hear that, it's a dream come true for sure. And I feel very honored and can't wait to get going.
Appreciated it, right?
And with Alex Trebek specifically, did you have any idea that was coming?
No, 100% not. But it for sure was so much fun, and it was really nice to see that.
You know, before the draft, Pierre Dorion said on our show that he expects whoever they take at number 3 to be able to compete for a spot on this year's team. How much does that make you excited to join the Senators?
Wow. Calgary's busy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my goal is to play in the NHL.
Any Calgary fans out there? I'd love to hear what you think of this.
So that's 100% my goal.
This is double trade for them. Trading down twice, gaining a couple of
to win something with the Ottawa.
What did they gain? They gained the 72nd and
this is a really big year for German hockey players. Of course, Leon Draisaitl winning MVP, and now you being selected third.
It's just a player's interview. Kevin Serling, is second round tomorrow. Yes, it is. It starts off at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Add 3 hours Eastern. 9:30, 10:30, 11, so 11:30 Eastern. But yes, second round through the 7th round is tomorrow. I'll be covering that as well, bright and early. So you can look for that. I don't know if I'll be able to keep track of it because they usually go much faster, but I'll try. We'll see how that goes, right? Yeah. In any case, they're interviewing a player right now. Who are they interviewing? The second Ottawa pick, or is it Stützle? They're interviewing Stützle. Excuse me, right now. So, anyways, there's that. Oh, here we go. Let's see what he has.
He plays here down the road.
Washington Capitals poised to select next. Hendrix Lapierre. Do we say this is a big fall for him?
I think the injury concerns would probably be the reason he slipped. He's a great kid. He's a gifted player. He's extremely bright. Both of his parents skipped a grade in school. Like, this is a family of smart people. This pick makes sense for me here.
A lot of really good players. I still stick by Zary. I still stick by Greg. Paterka. Really, it's still wide open here.
Okay, let's see what the Caps do. Won the Cup a couple of years ago.
Capitals.
Let's see what they do with this pick. Here's the commissioner, Gary Bettman.
The 22nd selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by Washington Capitals Executive Vice President and General Manager Brian McClellan.
With the 22nd pick, the Washington Capitals are proud to select Hendrix Lapierre.
Oh, there you go. We've been talking about him for so long. He's finally gone.
I think we just had one of our first memes. If our producers can isolate the moment that Hendrix Lapierre finally exhaled. What
So
a
he's
relief
ranked
for
28th
Hendrix
overall by the
Lapierre
Hockey News,
and
number
that family.
17th
Sam,
internationally.
you've documented this
He's
young
a
man's
center,
career
6
for a
foot
long time.
from
No
Quebec.
question. And again, that story starts back in August at the Hlinka Gretzky Cup, where he was absolutely lights out. Was able to play the half.
Hendrix Lapierre,
really good
for the Washington Capitals here.
He's got passion, energy. He skates really well. He can play center. He can play wing. There's a lot of versatility to his game. But the issues that have been raised about the injury have not gone away, obviously. That's why he's at 24. So Washington really felt the need to move up there and feel like they're going to hit a home run. And if he remains healthy, they will have hit a home run. The fact of the matter is, it started with a concussion, and then they went out to try and find all the medical people that they could to figure out what was wrong. He kept having concussion-like symptoms. And the timeline is diagnosed concussion, return to play, diagnosed concussion, and he kept feeling it and feeling it. And finally, they said, we got to go look somewhere else. We need to kind of go out of the box here and figure out what's wrong. They ended up with a doctor in Florida finally, and they did a lot of work and found out that it was an issue between the C1 and the C2, meaning a neck issue. And so now that they've got that sorted out, they feel like it's not a concussion-prone type of player, but more with Dr. Dyrek and what he said, that it's a neck issue. So if you're comfortable with that diagnosis and you're still okay with what happened with the neck, then you move forward and make this pick. Obviously, 23 teams ahead of them. We're more worried about that medical diagnosis, but I think this is definitely home run potential here, and Washington identified it.
I think so too. Like, this kid's a great kid. He's a really gifted player. He's done well in international tournaments. Like I say, he's very bright. But this to me is not uncommon. And this player, I'm told by an assistant GM, sent out very extensive medical materials so that the teams had an opportunity to evaluate that this was not in fact a concussion, but an unrelated injury in the neck area. So they were very careful about it, but obviously it still scared some teams off because he shouldn't have been drafted this low. A GM told me last week, if they didn't have concerns about his injury, he's a top 10 player, maybe top 8 for sure. So this might be a steal for the Capitals.
This may be rob the bank and not have to wear a mask for the Washington Capitals.
Best case scenario,
this one could be the tape measure home
Alexander
run. They select Hendrix Lapierre from Chicoutimi, and I can't wait for the interview with Jamie Hirsch because of all our Zoom interviews. He may have been the most personable Have a look at this evening. When, Dad? When, Mom? When? Oh, I'm a Capital. We're back in a moment.
That's good. Happy for the guy with an injury history.
Whether
like
it's
that.
rides to roll over or
Really
an
interested
overdue
to see
makeover,
how he works
get
out.
all your pet.
Let's just take out the volume there because there's a commercial on. And so again, Washington Capitals pick Hendrix Lapierre. He's ranked 28th overall by the Hockey News, 17th overall internationally. They compare him to Alexander Barkov. He's a center who shoots left, 6 foot, 181 pounds. But he may be taller and weigh more because this information was printed like 6 months ago. So, and these kids grow fast, so you know how that goes. In any case, there you have it. There you have it. So up next we have the Philadelphia Flyers. Do we have any Philly fans here? Anyone? Bueller? Fry? No? Okie dokie. All right. Do I have any Oh, here we're back. I was going to say something else, but I'll shut up. And
register at Rogers.com/get.
We're back.
Welcome back to our coverage of the 2020 NHL Draft. Jeff Merrick alongside Sam Cosentino and Brian Burke, Mike Fuda, and Elliot Friedman, along with us, Jamie Hirsch at the NHL Network. What a season it was for the Philadelphia Flyers. If you go to the middle of November and take it right to the middle of March, there was only one team that had more points, and that was the Boston Bruins. And we saw players like Ivan Provorov cemented. We saw players like Philip Myers cemented, Carter Hart, Joel Farabee. So there's a good youth movement. They even got to Morgan Frost yet. What do we expect out of Chuck Fletcher now as the Philadelphia Flyers are poised to select 23rd?
Yeah, you have to love what they've done. I mean, you get that foundation with the goaltender Carter Hart, and things really start to fall into place after that. But I looked at 3 years ago, and I saw their decor with Travis Sanheim and Provorov, Phil Myers as a free agent signing. I thought, wow, this is absolutely brilliant. Some of that was done before Fletcher, obviously, but they're on the right path, building from the back end out. And I think they're pretty comfortable, obviously, with Hart and goal, pretty comfortable with what they got going on in the back end. So I would suspect the forward would be picked here.
What do you think, Burke?
I like that Chuck Fletcher has addressed the team's needs surgically. He said, here's a problem, I'll go fix it. Here's a problem, I'll go fix it. I think that's the way to do it as a GM, and they're much closer than people think.
You know, it really is amazing how many problems gets fixed when you have a goaltender.
Yes.
It's amazing how that eraser works pretty quickly. Here's a commissioner, Gary Bettman.
Philadelphia Flyers general manager Chuck Fletcher will be making the 23rd selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
This past July, Philadelphia Flyers scout Jack McElhargy passed away after a battle with cancer. Jack made countless contributions to the Flyers over the years as a player, assistant coach, and scout. Today and every day, we miss Jack's insight, wit, and sense of humor. Jack played a big role in the drafting of several players currently within our organization. This draft, we honor and remember Jack as we select the next class of Flyers prospects. With the 23rd selection, Philadelphia selects from Barry Tyson Forster.
Tyson Forster, ladies and gentlemen.
Tyson Forster, the Barry Colts, goes to the Philadelphia Flyers. Bricky, I want to talk about him for a second.
29th overall by the Hockey News.
About Jack McElhargy. Classy move by
20th
Chuck
overall internationally.
Good move by Chuck Fletcher. I had the good fortune to work with Jack Mack in Vancouver for a number of years. He might be one of the finest people I met, and it was sad to lose him this past season. And to his wife, Karen, and his daughters, who we still think of Jack every day.
When he played, he was raw bone tough, and off the ice, he was a gentle giant. Tyson Forster, you know, Sam, I talked to one scout earlier on this week, and he said no one of any of the prospects that he saw and talked to, no one improved their skating in the offseason more than this young man.
Yeah, no question. And that's something that was a focus for him. And that was probably the difference between him going in the second round and the first. But the one thing that's clearly evident about this game, he can put it in the back of the net. He's probably got the best one-timer that this draft class has to offer. Absolutely deadly on the power play. He's a big kid. He works out with Aaron Downey. They're doing farm boy type stuff. So they're throwing tires and they're dragging tractors around and doing all that kinds of stuff. So he's already a big man to start. But you know, the really interesting thing about this pick for me is I remember going back to April and I put out my rankings, and maybe a couple hours later, I got a text from Dale Hawerchuk, and the text said, check it out. You missed on Forster. So we had a conversation through the text messages, and Dale was always an unbelievable advocate for his players. And at that point, we miss you tremendously. I got to tell you, what an unbelievable guy. He made you feel like a Hall of Famer when you walked out of the room. But when he sent me that text, that was all the endorsement I need. I've looked at Mangiapane, and I've looked at Blandisi, and I've looked at Ekblad and Scheifele, and all of these guys, Svechnikov, you know, Suzuki. They've all come out of his program, and for good reason. This guy knew how to coach. He knew how to coach offense, and he knew how to coach Tyson Forster. There's always be that connection there.
The legacy of Dale Hawerchuk lives on very much in the NHL, and that will continue with Tyson Forster, Berkey.
Yeah, big kid, rocket one-timer. I asked him to describe himself, what he would like me to say about him on TV, and he said, tell people I'm a good farm boy. Very close family. His cousins live right beside him. His parents work at the Honda plant in Alliston. Like, this is a legitimate, hardworking hockey family. They've made great sacrifice to get this kid this far. He's a big kid. He's got a bit of a mean streak. He can score goals. His first couple steps have to improve. He knows that. He's been working on that. But this guy, if he can get his skating up to even average NHL, according to one scout, he'll play right away.
You know, you mentioned he works out with Aaron Downey on the farm boy, the Spud Farmer, and there's a documentary made a number of years ago called 3 Guys and a Goal, and it's 3 hockey players in the NHL and all of their different workouts, and Downey is one of them. And it's all that farm boy workout stuff. And a lot of it sort of, you know, whether it's, you know, pushing tires, it's made its way into traditional, now what we consider traditional hockey training. But this is stuff that, you know, Aaron Downey is now passing on to Tyson Forster. It's that old farm boy forearm grip strength that this kid's going to have. And that can only help things like, as you mentioned, that rocket shot.
So it's funny you say that because Dale Hawerchuk used to tell Tyson, get the weights.
Let's go.
The old hockey stick and keep rolling the weights. Get those wrists going every night before you go to bed. Get the wrists going. So
he told us a great story. He's a fisherman. He was fishing at Manitoulin Island, and his phone went off. He's fighting a big rainbow. We'll show you the fish in a minute. And he pocket dialed 911. So he says 911. So he said, I can't talk right now. He hung up, and the police called back. And they said, oh, you're talking right now. So he had to answer some basic safety questions while he fought the rainbow trout, which is a beautiful fish with one hand. This guy, I love fishermen.
He is a wonderful player and was great at the top prospects. So a quick thought on him at the top prospects in Hamilton as well.
Unbelievable. That probably turned things around for him in terms of him getting into that first round.
It got him on the map. Okay, the Calgary Flames are allegedly going to make this pick. They've had 2 shots at it so far, and they've traded both times, once to the Rangers and once to the Washington Capitals. I want to check your phone really quick and see if you have anything from Brad.
I'm not talking to him. I ghosted him. I think that's what you do, right? I don't know how you do it.
Yes.
I think that's what people do.
You're ghosting Brad Treliving. Will they make the pick here, though, Burke?
Yeah, I think they're going to pick. I think they picked up 2 third-round picks. It was smart. They're still in the group of players that we identified as legit first-rounders. They're going to get a guy that I think is a legit first-rounder, but I think they're going to pick now.
They do like going to the Canadian Hockey League. And whether it's
Tyson Forster, by the way, is compared to James Neal of the Hockey News. He's a right winger, shoots right, 6'1", 194 pounds. Again, 29th overall by the Hockey News, 20th by International Scouting Services.
One of those names.
That's for the Philadelphia Flyers. So we're moving on to Calgary.
You mentioned telling Brad Treliving that you're allowed to trade up and down so many years ago. Is there a sense of pride here for you that Brad Treliving is the one guy that's
he's way better. He's way better at trading down than I was. I had trouble doing that. That went against my nature. Traded up a couple times. I don't remember trading down very effectively, but I think he's done a nice job here. I think he's going to get one of the names that was in his wheelhouse when he first picked, and I think now he's going to pick up 2 third-round picks. So I like it.
All right, so a nice bit of business by the Calgary Flames. So their general manager, Brad Treliving, of course, poised to make the next pick in the NHL draft to the NHL Network. Gary Bettman.
Calgary Flames general manager, Brad Treliving, will be making the 24th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
Here we go, Calgary.
Thanks, Gary. I'm proud to introduce to make our 2020 selection former Flames captain, former Flames great, and Hockey Hall of Famer Lanny McDonald.
Lanny, all right.
Thank you, Brad. It's been almost 50 years since my name was called at the NHL Draft. It's one of those great memories in a young player's career, and still to this day, it is for me. Now, the draft has certainly changed a lot since my day in 1973. But no matter if it's a phone call, a big stage, or today virtual, it's a special day and an honor to pull on an NHL jersey over your head for the first time. I have the privilege tonight to welcome this young man to the Calgary Flames to carry on our traditions and legacy. I'll ask Flames Director of Amateur Scouting, Todd Button, to bring the jersey forward. Thank you, Todd. And with this, the 24th selection in the 2020 NHL entry draft, the Calgary Flames select center Connor Zary from the Kamloops Blazers.
Connor Zary. Yeah, this is way off the.
So, guys, it's a Medicine Hat Tigers selecting a Kamloops Blazer as Lanny McDonald. And I don't know about you guys, but I could hear Lanny talk all day long. And I know as a member of the Hall of Fame selection committee, Brian, you've heard him talk plenty. Connor Zary is the choice. They stay in the Canadian Hockey League in the West. The WHL's Connor Zary sang.
I think the legend of this player, you have to go back 2 years, and you talk about the Kamloops Blazers needing to get points in their final 7 games in order just to get into a position of the playoffs. They needed some help to do that. But in the last 5 games of that 7-game stretch, he was out there taking big face-offs. He's playing second-line minutes, and he ends up putting up 10 points over that stretch. So what happens? They end up in a tie with Kelowna. They go into the tiebreaker game. They win that game 5-1. He has a goal and an assist there as a 16-year-old player. And so now you understand that he wants the puck on his stick in big moments. He's into big situations. So he comes back this year. You see the really good hands. There's some responsibility in this game. I know some people worry a little bit about his feet, but I think he put up unexpected point totals this year in Kamloops. And so when you're talking about 86 points amongst the top point getters in the Western Hockey League, that really made him pop. And he's another guy like Forster who was brilliant at the CHL NHL Top Prospects game.
Kamloops Blaze looks good in that Calgary Flames uniform.
Yes, I will tell you this. I worry about his skating. I do think his IQ will overcome it. He told us in his interview he's working on his first 3 steps and lengthen his stride. That's the only thing that's missing. His compete level's there. His hands are there. His hockey sense is there. This guy's legit. He's just got to improve his skating. And as I said earlier, teams are willing to bet on guys like that. The 2 skills they can improve most easily are lack of strength and a lack of skating ability. This kid puts it together. He's a fierce competitor. Dad's a cop. Mom's a teacher. He's an 85 student. Played every sport there is. Yeah. He's going to make it.
Awesome interview.
Awesome interview.
Yeah, really, really good. Fun-loving guy. I love this guy.
And one thing we should mention as well, elite level celebrations that make us think about another hockey player, maybe someone that wears 88 on Chicago. Sam?
Oh, yeah, he's got the old Patrick Kane thing going on. Get on the knee, give it the old fist pump. You know what? He genuinely loves to score goals. What's wrong with that? Show a little bit of that. Show that passion, that energy, that excitement. It's tough to score goals, so why not celebrate it to the nth degree when you get the opportunity to do it?
He loves the Pat Kane celebration. Berkey, you a fan?
Yeah, I am. I don't like big celebrations as a rule, but to me, I think we need a little more emotion in the game. And so this kid's legit. When you talk to him, he's celebrating because he's happy. It's not a stage thing. It's not trying to get on TV. He's a happy kid. Really impressive kid.
How close, Sammy?
I think he's a couple of years away. I mean, we want to talk about the skating, but I think in Kamloops, they've done such a great job there. I mean, Sean Clouston has come in as the head coach last year, and I think he really helped turn Zary around. He's had a couple of coaches the last year, but now they're really settled in and locked in. I think another year with Sean Clouston there is going to do him wonders.
All right, Connor Zeri of the Kamloops Blazers goes to the Calgary Flames at 24th overall.
He's
we turn
not
our attention
ranked
now to
in
the
the
Colorado
top 100
Avalanche,
in the
who
hockey news here.
last year, I'll tell you, Burnaby Joe, the draft is in Vancouver. He takes Bowen Byram from the Vancouver Giants, Victoria Grizzlies. I mean, he takes the play. He did everything perfectly last year for the draft, picking up Alex Newhook from Victoria. What do we expect from Joe Sakic and the Avs this time around?
Cale Makar?
No Cale Makar there.
I still think that list of players: Perreault, goal scorer. You've got Greg, plays with that bite. And you've got Justin Barron still there as a defenseman who, when he is healthy, and it looks like he's back on his track to recovery there, he's a guy that you think of. Peterka is the other guy. Poirier, Wallinder, Noel Gunler. There are, again, a variety of options with really good players. I mean, we keep talking about the depth of this draft, but we've got Mike Food up there who can attest to it, and all the scouts that I talked to, Berkey, I'm sure you feel the same way. There's plenty of depth still left here.
Yep. You know what? From the Colorado Avalanche point of view as well, you have a look at how they've drafted and how they've developed and the quality of individual they've put in there. On this team right now are 3 Calder Trophy winners, most recently Cale Makar. You throw in Nathan McKinney, you throw in Gabriel Landeskog as well. This is an elite level team, and they've got their.
Yeah, really interested to see.
Yeah, they do, but they've done a good job with their American League team too. Going into Colorado, it was a bit of a reach when the California division was set up. We never envisioned a team in Colorado, but we welcome the Colorado Avalanche. It's increased travel costs and everything. It's a short drive from their office. They are there all the time. Again, the proximity of their AHL team allows them to develop and watch their players more closely. They've done a good job, and there are still depth and there's still quality players right now, for sure.
You know that organization helped maybe most specifically Ryan Graves,
Yes.
who is now cemented as that top spot.
Common thread, and all these guys you're talking about, Graves included, these guys are quality individuals. So you're not just drafting a good player, but you're drafting a good person. Bowen Byram. Unbelievable.
So if you missed Calgary's pick, they went like completely off the board from the top 100 even in the hockey news in any case, and picked Connor Zeri as a centerman.
And there's more.
The knock on him is his skating. We'll see how that turns out for them.
It's almost an embarrassment of riches.
We drafted. We interviewed Landeskog for the draft,
panel.
and Brad Treliving said I wanted to ask him to stay for the rest of the meeting. Like that's how impressive he was.
Good combination. Alan Heppel does a great job there as the head scout, as a guy who not only looking at good players but good people. I think that's supremely important.
Okay, it's the Avalanche's turn at the draft. Back to Secaucus, New Jersey, the NHL Network studios, and Gary Bettman.
5th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by Colorado Avalanche General Manager Joe Sakic.
Thank you, Gary. With the 25th pick, the Colorado Avalanche are proud to select from the Halifax Mooseheads, Justin Barron.
Justin Barron.
All right, nice celebration for Justin Barron. And I guess, Sam, it wouldn't be a first round if someone from Halifax didn't go.
Of course. Of course. And again, I can speak to this. I've spent a lot of time with this young man. You're talking first and foremost about a quality individual. So let's go back to a couple of years ago when he came into the league. Again, as a late birthday, he's had 3 years in the league. But I look at that Memorial Cup year. Eric Veilleux came in. He's a tough, old school type of coach. And so early on, Justin Barron wasn't really getting some of the minutes he thought he should. So he went into Eric Veilleux and said, "Hey, what's up, man? No power play time here. What's going on? I want the big time minutes." And Eric Veilleux said, "No, we got a bigger thing to worry about than that. And it's called the team, and it's called you being a big part of that team. We want to play a defensive style of system first. Don't worry about the power play. We'll worry about that later on. But we need you to be an anchor on the back end for us." So he accepted that responsibility. Now, unfortunately, you go into December of this year, he has blood clot issues, has to have a surgery to repair it. He had a second procedure recently that when we saw him, I was shocked. He's throwing that right arm around like there's no problem. So it was a surgery on the upper right part of the body. It looks like he's going to recover. This guy is a great skater, good first pass type of guy, and he's not overly physical for his size, but angling, stick, all the defensive qualities you need are intact.
First Halifax defenseman ever selected in the first round. We thought Jared McIsaac might end up being that guy who goes to Detroit in the second round. Your thoughts on Justin Barron?
Well, he's a 6'2" right shot defenseman who can skate. That's a pretty good start. But the surgery he had is called thoracic outlet syndrome. It's common in baseball players. That's where you get a blood clotting issue from pressure in the joint. They have to actually remove a rib and remove a couple of muscles. It's very complex surgery. His mother's a nurse. And when he first complained of discoloration and soreness, she diagnosed it properly and said, we got to get right to the ER. They found the right doctors. He showed us full range of motion, like Sammy said. This kid is a great kid. He's very bright. 6'2", 215 he's going to play at. I like it.
Sammy?
I got to give a lot of credit to Robin Hunter, who is the medical trainer on staff there with the Halifax Mooseheads. She was integral in getting it sorted out, because you let that thing go for too long and you're in all sorts of difficulties. So she, along with Justin's mother, really the heads of getting that done and getting Justin right here. I'm looking forward to watching how he progresses.
Could be a home run pick here for the Colorado Avalanche.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
Chris Archer is a Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher that just had this surgery. So it's not uncommon. They know how to do it now. It's not a high-risk thing if you're a drafting club. It's not routine, but it's not rare. So he should be just fine.
So Colorado may have hit a home run here, guys.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. He looks healthy to me, I'll tell you that.
All right, on that we will pause. And there may not be the crowd, there may not be the rank, but the emotions are still there, and the draft still very much for players, for their families, a family affair. St. Louis Blues on the clock. Next, 2020 NHL Draft continues.
Here we go. Okay. All right. So the MO on Justin Barron. He's ranked 21st overall by the Hockey News, 23rd overall internationally. As you heard them talking about, he had issues with a blood clot. He's a right shot defenseman, 6'2", 187 pounds. And they've compared him, in the best case scenario, for the Hockey News anyways, to Brandon Carlo of the Boston Bruins. So there you have it. There you have it. Any Colorado fans watching today at all? Anyone? Colorado. So Carlo goes 25th. Okay. 5th, and that's okay. Back to the draft here.
Hunter Fish?
Yeah. We all threw in a couple $100 and bought a little fishing boat.
I was on Manitoulin fishing for rainbow trout there.
Part of a bass fishing league there. We're like, hey, let's go fish in the river.
Just some of the picks talking about a fishing trip. There's some really good players who haven't been picked yet, like William Wallander, who was ranked 14th overall, for instance. Hal Grans, 15th overall.
Past couple of weeks be Sammy and Berkey. Sam and I would be ridiculous enough to have the nerve to ask hockey questions, and Berkey just wanted to talk about fishing stories with the kids.
That's not true. I'm way multidimensional. I wanted to talk about hunting as well.
Barry was giving it to you there. Hey, what about me and the fishing? I love it. That's the type of kid he is.
That's what I'm saying. And I love that picture of Tyson Forster as well. One more quick note on the Barry Colts pick. One thing that we were remiss, we probably should have mentioned, he was a defenseman until Minor Banson. And it's only recently that he's turned, like, this kid is a remarkable athlete, wonderful hockey player. A credit to the Barry Colts organization and Dale Howardchuk. And yes, Berkey, an outstanding fisherman as well. To the commissioner of the NHL Network, Gary Bettman, the St. Louis Blues are now on
the clock. Here we go, the Blues. Anyone from the Blues in the audience? I think we have
the 26th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by St. Louis Blues general manager Doug Armstrong.
The St. Louis Blues select from Edmonton, Jake Neighbors.
Jake Neighbors.
Okay, so we're having a run on CHL players here, guys. The Capitals taking Hendrix Lapierre, Philly takes Tyson Forster, Connor Zary goes to Calgary, Justin Barron to Colorado, and now St. Louis pick up the Edmonton Oil King, Jake Neighbors. What can you tell us, Sam?
A lot of depth to this person. I remember going into Edmonton earlier this year, and just talking about his personal life. He was very open and very candid and very honest. What you're getting as a player, I believe, is the baseman is a third-line energy guy. He's going to be a pain in the rear end to play against. He's going to want to get under your skin. He's that guy that really just bothers you out there on the ice. He can chirp you. He can do it with physical play. And, yes, he can do it by scoring goals as well. So when it comes to Neighbors, you're sitting there saying, all right, we know he's going to play. At the very least, he's going to be a third-line guy. But as that goal scoring starts to develop and he continues to work on the offensive side of his game, there is some second line potential here. But I'm okay because when you look at what you need in terms of depth of scoring in the National Hockey League to go deep in the playoffs, you need to have it as far down as your third line, but you also need those physical guys. This guy has that great combination.
A lot of tears and a lot of hugs here. I know it's a common theme at the draft, and it gets a lot of us, certainly me, every single time. The tears and the hugs, Berkey. Your thoughts on Jake Neighbors?
Well, my parents cried a lot when they watched me play too. So
different reason, Berkey.
He's 14. He lived in Airdrie, just north of Calgary. The hockey wasn't good enough there. His team was poor. He moved to Kelowna to play. Yeah. So he made a commitment at a much younger age than most kids do to get to a higher level of hockey. He said the hardest thing for him was when he went from Pee Wee to Bantam and they allowed hitting. He said, because all he did was try to hit, and his coaches had to finally calm him down. This kid's a throwback. This kid's old school. He doesn't just hit because it's the right thing to do. He hits because he likes it. And he's got a high skill level to go with it. His skating has to improve. But this is a guy who's over 200 pounds now with the pause. Use the time well. This guy's going to make it, and he's going to play in your bottom six, and he's going to chip in. I like him a lot.
You know what? And in a lot of ways, that's a coach's dream. I remember Peter DeBoer telling me when he coached the Kitchener Rangers, as a head coach, I would rather have to tame a tiger than paint stripes on a kitty cat. You can't paint stripes on a kitty cat, but you can always calm a player down. And as a head coach, you'd much rather do that. Upstairs, Elliot Friedman and Mike Fuda.
So, Mike, Neighbors makes it 15 Canadians taken in the first round. The record is 18 in 2008. Did you expect that this would be a Canada-heavy draft?
Yes, I did, Elliot. I mean, these things go in cycles, though. I mean, some years the U.S. program has been exceptionally development. I think last year they might have broken the record for U.S. players. And I mean, U.S. hockey's strong as ever. But this year, when you look at the Canadian Hockey League and the depth right out of that, you talk about that ledge and just the depth for all the programs in the CHL. It's a great night for the Canadian Hockey League. But yeah, I thought it was going to be a great night for Canadian hockey.
Okay, so one of the funny highlights of the night was the Columbus pick. But you were telling me a great story about what happens in a draft room if a player goes in the first round and he's not necessarily on a team's list. What will happen then?
Well, it's very similar to what happened here tonight. First of all, you're looking at your list, and Mark Kennedy and I used to take it and we'd yellow off with a highlighter, and you get the pick, and it looks really normal. And all of a sudden, something happens, and you're flipping. And it's not so much you know where you have the player on the list, but you look over and your general manager's looking at you like, what's going on here? This guy's not on the list at all. In a perfect world, I've got more notes coming in on the Chignikov pick, by the way. Now.
You said people were texting.
People are calling me with updates on it. I wish I could throw to Sammy to find out what his parents do for a living. But honestly, you got a guy here. I think it's this thing. Obviously, these guys came on strong. The kid's got 5 goals in the KHL to start. But I mean, honestly, it's a panic.
Yeah,
it's an absolute panic. And it's not that you're wrong or you're right. It's just you take so much pride in your list.
Selected off the board by the Columbus Blue Jackets.
And then when you see a name that's not there, everything starts to go in your head. Did I see this player enough times? How did I see it? Did I lose my list? Is there a mistake? You want to get a hold of your Russian scout. But I'm telling you right now, it's a real life thing because you're so confident in your list, and when it goes away, there's nothing you can do about it.
All right, let's see if there's any more surprises. Anaheim is on the clock. We send it to the commissioner, Gary Bettman.
Okay. So Anaheim is about to pick, but Jake Neighbors is a left winger, 5'11", 200 pounds, from Edmonton, Alberta. He's compared to Gabriel Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche as a best case scenario.
Are excited to select from the Starnia Sting, Jacob Perreault.
Jacob Perreault. Jacob Perreault. A right winger.
Okay, so we have a little bit of a delay here. Oh, wait a minute. He's just discovered he's now a member of the Anaheim Ducks. Their second pick in the first round. This is a pick that was acquired in the Andre Kasha trade with the Boston Bruins. And they go to second-generation player Jacob Perreault of the Sarnia Stings.
We talked about it earlier in the show, but those guys always seem to have a leg up because they're unfazed by transitioning to what an NHL dressing room looks like and the travel and those sorts of things. But again, the calling card, a lot like Alexander Holtz and Jack Quinn, that this guy scores goals. I think what's impressive about him, though, is that he can play that small area game. He's got really good hands. Some people earlier in the year were talking about his skating, but when we did the testing in the CHL NHL Top Prospects game, skating was not a problem, especially with the puck. And that's when you need to be at your very best. But no question he can score goals. I think that he is at his best when he plays with a little burr under his saddle, when he plays ticked off. And there were some scouts telling me that they had seen him earlier in the year and not much was going on, and someone hit him unexpectedly. It ticked him off, and from there on, he took the game over.
You know, one scout told me, Sam, that the one thing about Jacob Perreault is he doesn't know the meaning of a bad angle goal. This guy scores from everywhere. There's no, oh, this is a low percentage shot, I'm not going to take it. He'll fire it, and he'll find it.
And why not? When you shoot the puck as well as he does with the accuracy and the release that he has, I'd be shooting from anywhere too. Perky.
Well, a note to our new colleague, Mike Feuder. The information on players is usually gathered before the show begins. It has more value if you get information on players before we go to air. This kid's a driver, for one thing.
Yeah.
Again, a prized possession on a team. A guy that drives the work ethic, drags people along. He's a driver. He's got an elite shot. He can retrieve passes that aren't perfect. They can be behind him, off his skates. He gets them out of the stick of his blade and gets a hard shot off with accuracy. This kid is a great pick this late in the round for me.
You know, we talk so much about the shot, and you're looking for comparables, and, you know, we're doing a Zoom call and talking to him and chatting afterwards. And is there someone that he reminds you of, maybe someone that played with the Erie Otters, who popped 50 goals 3 years in a row, who plays now for the Chicago Blackhawks? Sam.
Number 12, Alex DeBrincat. Yes, an unbelievable shooter
Hockey News
in the Canadian Hockey League with the Erie Otters, and really came out of nowhere. Have a look at this from that dot. Yeah, no problem. A little bit similar. But the ability to get it to the back of the net. Why? Because you have a great release. You've got great accuracy. And one thing that the great goal scorers do really well, they have the ability just to change the angle ever so slightly to deceive the goaltender. And Perreault has all of those attributes, a lot like Alex DeBrincat.
Okay, let's get back to the Calgary Flames now, as we'll stand by for the third pick in the first round for the Ottawa Senators. Here's Ryan Leslie with Flames general manager Brad Treliving.
Okay, so a bit about Jacob Perreault, just selected 27th overall by the Anaheim Ducks here. He's a right shot, right winger, 5'11", from Montreal, Quebec. He's compared to, best case scenario, Tyler Toffoli, 198 pounds. And yeah, he was ranked 39th overall by the Hockey News, 27th overall international by International Scouting Services, and which is exactly where Anaheim took him. So let's get back. There's an interview going on with Brad Treliving now of the general manager of the Calgary Flames.
We didn't have a third. We don't know if we got a third round pick this year. Well, that'll be determined before the third round if we get Edmonton's pick this year. But
to gain a couple of third
allowed
round
us to move down, and luckily when we got to 24 and the pick was there, Connor was still there. So that's it worked out. It worked out here today. Good work by the staff, and we're excited to get the player.
What do you like about the player?
Well, he's a bit of a Swiss Army knife. First of all, he plays a premier position in center ice, and a real smart player. Competitive player, high hockey sense player. So, and plays in all three zones. We think he's a real full 200-foot player, and scored 30 plus goals this year. So there's a skill element. He's one of those guys that has a knack for doing what the hardest thing is to do, which is to shoot it in the net. So, a well-rounded player. Still room to grow in terms of getting physically stronger, getting a little bit quicker. But we think this guy's got a chance to be a real good player.
You recently said that ownership is giving you the green light to go to the cap when it comes to adding to your team, improving it. You also recently mentioned defense and goaltending are a priority for you. How confident are you that you can get those done via free agency or the trade route?
Well, we're going to have to, one of the two routes either. We still got a few days before we get to free agency, so we continue to talk with our players first and foremost. And whether that be the market.
Free agency starts on Friday,
route,
by the way.
Certainly, we're
I'll
trying
be doing quite a few videos that day. I booked the day off from work.
But time will tell,
so look out for that.
Some needs to address, and
I just want to thank you all to my subscribers for sticking around.
We plan to do that.
Brad, thanks for this, and congrats on the pick.
You bet. Thanks, Ryan.
Just went over 300.
My day. Chris Snow with the fist pump. Yeah,
so,
every day is a good day. Snowy
to,
Strong, the assistant general manager of the Calgary Flames. Great man, great family. His wife Kelsey. Snowy Strong. We are with you, Chris Snow. Ottawa Senators are on the board next. Which way do the Sens go with their third pick in the first round, Sam?
Oh, man, another pick. Still a lot of really good players left here. I'm happy with the depth. Greg Paterka, a couple of options there.
The answer next.
You could gamble a bit here.
Here we go.
Trent Mann, Chief Amateur Scout for the Ottawa Senators, will be making the 28th selection in the first round of the 2020 NHL Draft.
With the 28th selection, the Ottawa Senators are proud to select from Brandon of the WHL, Ridley Gregg.
Ridley Gregg, ladies and gentlemen. The centerman. If that is how you pronounce his last name, Greig.
Great pick. I want a close up of that pillow. Look at that shot there, Sammy and Berkey. That's a beautiful one with Ridley on the pillow there. Ridley Gregg from Lethbridge is the Ottawa Senators' third pick of the first round of the 2020 NHL Draft. Give us the scouting report, Sam.
Old school, difficult to play against. Earlier in the show, we talked about Seth Jarvis playing in Mike Johnson's system and how it worked out really well because you had a really offensive guy playing in an offensive-minded system. Well, you have Dave Lowry as the head coach of the Brandon Wheat Kings, and he was mean, tough, physical, difficult to play against. And so Ridley Gregg was already that type of player, but got to learn some more of the tricks of the trade this year from Dave Lowry. The one thing that I think goes undercover about this guy is his skill. He can put the puck in the back of the net. He has good hands. The skating is not an issue for this player whatsoever. So now you have that entire package, the complete player, playing for a coach who knew what it was like to play like a long career in the NHL, as well as be a coach in the NHL to help guide him forward.
Berkey, do you want to talk about Ridley or do you want to talk about his dad?
Real quick, there's some throwback in this player. This player likes it rough. He likes it crude. Again, one of those guys, he doesn't just hit to separate the puck. Mm-hmm. He hits to hit. And if there's any kind of problem on the ice, he's usually in it. And if there isn't, he'll start one.
Hits for keeps, leaves a dent, asks questions later. Tell us about, we talk about second-generation players. You had dad.
I had dad in Hartford, and he played about half the year for me in Hartford and half in Springfield. Really good skater, really good Western kid. I really enjoyed having him as a player. I'm not surprised he's had a career in hockey afterwards because he was always very bright and paid attention. Good guy.
We talk a lot about the second-generation hockey player and the advantages that young hockey player has. And if you have a look at father-son duos drafted in the first round, well, the Reinhardts, certainly in the Kachucks, with the pair. Alex Turcotte goes last year to the Los Angeles Kings. Sam Gagner, Detroit, his dad, Dave, of course, a legendary player now with Wasserman Group with Jeff Jackson and Judd Moldaver, Ryan Siller and Daryl.
Ridley Gregg is a centerman who shoots left, ranked 45th by the Hockey News, 42nd overall by International Scouting Services. He's compared in best case scenario to Casey Zizekas of the New York Islanders. There you have it. Third pick in the first round for the Ottawa Senators.
The way he ran his organization, they have always had really good players. They have two more in the first round here. Who knows what's left to come for the Brandon Wheat Kings.
I want to get a quick shot here. He was on the floor, by the way, at the Philadelphia draft. That was the first draft, Sam, that you and I ended up working together. It's a great picture. There he is so many years ago. That was the Aaron Ekblad draft.
Yeah, well, see, in Philadelphia, his dad, Mark, scouts for the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't know if we mentioned that. We talked a little bit about his NHL playing career. So he was a chance to be a runner. And I know you and Mike know a little bit more about what that dynamic is like when you have a young player, a young person working for you on the draft floor.
Well, you got to watch your language when they're that little. Usually, if you get a little older kid, you can curse in front of them. And it's the worst when they give you a girl because then you can't swear at all.
What's their job? What do they do?
They do whatever the people on the floor need. So you need a coffee, you ask the runner to get a coffee. They bring the sweater up for the kid that's coming up, give it to the PR guy. They have a gas because they sit at one end of the table, and the scouts always include them like they're a member of the staff. How's it going? How's school going? How's hockey going? It's a great experience. They have a gas, and this young man probably had one of the best days of his life.
I would imagine they're nervous to start. My buddy Brandon Cross and his son Carter ended up doing it for the Edmonton Oilers last year when they drafted Philip Broberg. And I could tell that he was nervous at first, but by the time everything starts to get going, you get in a rhythm, you start to really enjoy it. At what point can these runners actually enjoy the night, Berkey?
Oh, I think right away, because I think the teams put them at ease. Hey, you're here to have fun. The hardest job you're going to ask them to do is go get you a coffee or a bag of chips or something. The meals are served, like the sandwiches or whatever are served. The runner doesn't have to do that. So basically he or she just does simple tasks, talks hockey with the guys. It's fun.
All right, Ridley Gregg goes to the Ottawa Senators at 28. That pick, by the way, is from the Islanders in the J.G. Pajot trade. You mentioned Kelly McCrimmon a couple of moments ago, selling the Brandon Wheat Kings. He's the general manager now, as we all know, of the Vegas Golden Knights. Who's there for Kelly McCrimmon now at 29?
Vegas, that's right. Vegas is
well,
up
there's
next.
a lot of different directions you can go. There's a couple of defensemen that I think are really interesting here. And William Wallinder, who plays in Sweden, he's a guy, a big right shot defenseman who's a really good skater. You got Jeremy Poirier, who plays with the St. John Sea Dogs, who has elite skills. We'll see what they do here.
Let's get to the commissioner.
Here's
Gary
Bettman,
Vegas on the clock.
Leonard didn't have to give up a first rounder. And now they signed him for 5
The 29th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft will be made by Vegas Golden Knights general manager Kelly McCrimmon.
Here we go. Las Vegas fans.
With the 29th selection in the first round of the entry draft, the Vegas Golden Knights are pleased to select from the Chicago Steel of the USHL forward Brendan Brisson.
Brendan Brisson of the United States. Centerman.
And so the Brisson name is no stranger in hockey circles. His father, Pat Brisson of CAA, agent for, amongst other players, Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins. But tell us about his son, who just got drafted in the first round.
Well, his son is making his own name. There's no question about it. A Shattuck St. Mary's guy who transitioned to the USHL playing with Chicago and was lights out there. He had 59 points through 45 games. And I think there was a fire lit under him at the start of the year. He got cut from the Hlinka Gretzky Cup team. And at that point, he put a reminder on his phone. It said, got cut from Hlinka Gretzky team. And that reminder was on his phone that whenever day he woke up, that was inspiration to continue to work hard to get to this point, to be a first-round selection, to let USA Hockey know that they made a mistake. So when it comes to his play, here's a really smart player, a guy who can put it in the back of the net. What does he do? He scores extremely well from the dots, as we're showing you there. That's one of the strong suits of his game.
Ricky, good half-wall player, good shot, dangerous shot, can run a power play, can work off the half wall. The offensive part of his game is beyond dispute. He's gone on to the University of Michigan. He told us he went there with the Junior Kings when he was 10 and was hooked on the University of Michigan at that point. So now he's gone on from the USNDTP. His skating has to improve. This is not news to him or to his dad. We asked Brendan in his interview, what do you need to improve? He said, my skating has to improve. But this kid has elite offensive ability. And again, skating is the second thing that teams think they can improve. Strength is first. This kid's got a really good chance to be a good NHL player. His dad's a good guy.
You know, you talk about advantages that some players have over others, and Pat Brisson is, of course, the agent for Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And he told us a funny story during the Zoom call that his older brother had a cut, I think, on his chin, and Dad had to take him to the hospital. And so there was babysitter Sidney Crosby with young Brendan giving him a bath in the sink. So you can add babysitter to the business. Babysitter of a first-round draft pick to Sidney Crosby's business card.
Yeah, what can't Sid do at that age that he would know to give a bath to a kid in a sink? Good Lord, he couldn't have been that old when this kid was a baby.
You know what? And he talked about, you guys mentioned Shattuck St. Mary's as well. And he talked about, what a thrill it was, even just to get on that ice and know that he's, shooting pucks off the boards, the same boards that Sidney Crosby did. Like this guy, we talk about growing up around it. If dad's a hockey player, same as Pat Brisson is the agent, super agent in the NHL. This kid has grown up around hockey his entire life.
Yeah, pretty cool. He lives in LA. So the fact of the matter is that it's just a close plane ride to get over to Vegas for dad to be able to watch him play here down the road.
Yeah, and they live in Manhattan Beach, which is right beside the airport. It's really easy to get to a plane.
All right. Congratulations to the Brisson family, Brendan.
Okay, so he's 5'11", 179 pounds. We're talking about Brendan Brisson, just picked by the Las Vegas Golden Knights. He's a center who shoots left. He's best case scenario as related to Braden Shen of the St. Louis Blues. 179 pounds, and he's from Manhattan Beach, California. So yeah. And of course, you just heard them talking about him just a second ago. He was ranked 31st overall by the Hockey News, and by International Scouting Services, he was ranked number 33. His knock on him is his skating, as you heard just a few seconds ago, and now he's picked 29th overall by the Golden Knights. By the way, if you've seen their new third jersey, which is kind of like all gold, mostly gold, with gray and white and red trim. I like that the best. I was never a huge fan of Vegas's home jerseys. I'm just not a big gray fan of gray on a uniform. I don't know. I always find it just gray clouds, gray sky, gray, boring. I just related to that, and I love their away uniforms in white, but the gold ones, these third jerseys, I like to see them make them permanent as their home jersey. Why not? They're called the Golden Knights, not the Gray Knights. The Golden Knights. So, anyways, if you haven't seen it already, you can check my Twitter page and you'll see some of that. But we're getting back to the panel now. And we're getting ready for Dallas's next pick. So there's that.
Welcome back to our NHL Draft coverage on Sportsnet, presented by Team Rogers. Jeff Merrick alongside Sam Cosentino and Brian Burke. The Dallas Stars are on the clock right now.
Some of them
Jim Nill's
completely
squad,
off the board. Like
losing a tough Stanley Cup final in the hands of the Tampa Bay Lightning, but really turned a corner, I think, in a lot of people's minds. And we saw Miro Heiskanen take that next step. We saw Denis Gurianov take that next step. Rupe Hintz. Your thoughts on what Dallas could do here?
Well, doing a really good job in terms of their drafting. When you talk about Jim Nill and Joe McDonnell, their head scout there, these guys do a good job identifying, sticking with the program, and integrating their players. And we saw a lot of them that were homegrown compete this year.
Miro Heiskanen, lottery move up.
Not a fan. Brian Burke, head to commissioner. Gary Bettman, Secaucus, New Jersey.
Here we go. Dallas Stars.
Dallas Stars assistant general manager Scott White will be making the 30th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft.
With the 30th selection in the 2020 NHL Draft, the Dallas Stars select Mavrik Bourque of Shawinigan.
Mavrik Bourque. A centerman, another centerman. Oh my God. Okay, he's ranked 18th overall by the Hockey News, 28th overall by International Scouting Services.
It's a wonderful celebration for Mavrik Bourque, and I'll tell you, one scout that I spoke to this week talked about Mavrik Bourque specifically. I said, "What do you like about this kid?" And he said, "The work ethic. He lives on a farm with his folks, and he gets up every morning, 5 o'clock." Milks the cows, drives into Quebec City to do his workout on the ice, in the gym, drives home at dusk, milks the cows again, gets some supper, goes to sleep, and does it all again the next day. It's routine hard work for Mavrik Bourque, Sammy.
I made several calls, and I mean several calls to try and figure out Mavrik Bourque. Of course, I've seen him play with my own eyes, but I still couldn't figure him out. The one thing that kept coming back, he's got really good hockey sense, and that's going to play. But in terms of the wide array of commentary I received from scouts on both ends of the scale, there was never any middling. Either scouts really liked him a lot, or they didn't have a whole lot of time for him. And I have never studied a player or researched a player in all my years doing the draft that had that broad range of commentary. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he goes here. I didn't have him going in the first round, but I'm not surprised by it.
Ricky? Pass first guy, can extend plays. Again, to repeat that, he can extend the cycle or hang on to a little bit. He's patient enough to extend plays, and that allows opportunities to open up for his line mates. He's got a hard shot, but he's a pass first mentality. He works like a dog, but his pace has to improve. And again, teams think they can improve that and work on that. This kid works so hard. I think he's going to get there.
So how did he sneak into the first round then, Sam?
I don't necessarily think it was sneaking into the first round, Jeff. This is probably an area in which I would have predicted him to go. Like, I really battled in terms of my mock draft and getting him in or out of there. I thought he might be one of the first 5 players to go on round 2, so I deleted him from my first round of the mock draft. But the fact of the matter is, he had 29 goals as a 16-year-old, 71 points this year. I mean, there is that to always fall back on. But again, I have never researched the players had a broader range of commentary than Maverick Bork.
All right, congratulations to the Dallas Stars and congratulations to the Bork family. Let's go to Jamie Hirsch now with the 24th pick of the 2020 NHL Draft presented by Team Rogers Community Draft. Here's Jamie Hirsch with Connor Zary.
Okay, so they're interviewing a player here, which is always my favorite part, as you know, which is why I pressed mute. So let's talk about quickly about Dallas's pick at 30th overall. Maverick Bork, spelt Mavrik. Interesting. He's from Quebec. He's 5'10", 165 pounds, shoots right. Another centerman. In the best case scenario, the Hockey News has him as a Thomas Hertl type of the San Jose Sharks. Again, he was ranked 18th overall by the Hockey News. But ranked 28th overall by International Scouting Services. Interesting. Probably see him as a bottom 6 sort of centerman, third line center kind of guy. We'll see how that goes. The knock on him, they're saying, is that he needs to pick up his pace. But he's quite able and gifted at slowing down the play and making things happen. So, yeah. So Maverick Bork goes to the Dallas Stars, 30th overall. We got one more left with the San Jose Sharks picking 31st overall. Thank you, everybody, for joining me once again. Let's get back to the panel.
And they put a ball cap on him, and he's in a shadow, and you can't see him. I never let my players put ball caps on. The league threatened to fine me one year. So they come up here. I'm explaining to Morgan Riley, this is why we're not going to give you a hat. It's not because we're cheap. We'll give you one when we get to the table. But you're taking a picture without the hat on. And look at how much better this picture is. Look at this handsome kid without a shadow over his face. Why do they do this? It drives me nuts.
Great lid, Morgan. Show it off. Why don't
watch this. You'll be able to see his face. His mom and dad thanked me for this after.
So you did that with all your picks?
Yes. The league threatened to fine me one year. And I said, then fine me. Look at that. That's way better than these other pictures with hats on.
He's got a point. He's
but the hats
are
very cool.
Yeah, take a picture of him with a hat on after they get off the stage, for God's sake.
San Jose is up next. The 31st. It's sunshine and lollipops. Here's 31. Pick number 31 is on the horizon. This is the pick from the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Barclay Goodrow deal. The San Jose Sharks and Doug Wilson about to select 31st overall.
I always get that wrong.
It's getting late. Here's the commissioner, Gary.
I usually say Tom Wilson.
The San Jose Sharks Director of Amateur Scouting, Doug Wilson Jr., will make the 31st pick of the 2020 NHL Draft.
Here we go, Shark fans.
The San Jose Sharks are proud to select from the Prince Albert Raiders, Ozzy Weisblatt.
That's funny. Ozzy Weisblatt from Canada, from Calgary, a right winger. Ozzy.
Pick number 31, and that's fantastic with sign language as well. And Sam, you're giving us the thumbs up. Ozzy Weisblatt from Calgary, Alberta, is formerly a member of still with the Prince Albert Raiders of the Western Hockey League, a member of the San Jose Sharks. That's a great look on San Jose.
Oh, man. This is a kid that you would pull for. No question about it. He's best buddies with Jake Neighbors. They're going to be loving their lives.
Let's get back to the commissioner. Here's Gary Bettman at the NHL Network studio in Secaucus.
We have now concluded the first round of the 2020 NHL Draft. We resume the draft tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern Time under the supervision of Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly, who will start the second round. Good night, everyone. Be safe. Stay healthy.
By the way, you can watch rounds 2 through 7 on Sportsnet tomorrow. Give us the update on Ozzy Weisblatt, Sammy.
A great developmental curve. Third line minutes as a 16-year-old on a WHL championship winning team. Very much the same as Caden Gooley. You got to earn your chops playing for a coach, Mark Habscheid, who's produced several NHLer, more of them on the defensive side of the puck. But this guy plays with energy. He plays with passion. He loves to throw the body around, and he's got really good skill. In tight, you can see the hands. No problem elevating that puck to the top of the net. He's got patience in his game. He can make plays and do a lot of things. What I like most about him is that he's raw. He never really had the resources a lot of these kids growing up had in order to improve his game. He's going to get all the resources he needs now, and I look forward to watching that development. Ricky?
Yeah, this kid's a driver. He's a power play threat. A lot of his points were scored on the power play. 27 of his points came on the power play. But it's been an explosive growth curve. Great family story. Mom struggled along. She's deaf. He learned to sign before he could talk. Yeah. The kids all sign. And Jake Neighbors, who's his teammate, learned to sign on the bus trips, learned sign language on the bus trips with Ozzy. You interview this kid and you're like, I have to find another first-round pick so I can draft this kid. He's going to get there. You know why? Because he's determined to get there.
Drafting good players and drafting good people. You mentioned the sign language story, and you mentioned Jake Neighbors as well. And those are two wonderful stories of this young man. How much does that go into making a pick, just putting good people in your organization, Brian?
Well, you can't just sign good people because they have to be able to play. But this kid's turned into a player. He's pushed himself into a legitimate threat to become a successful professional hockey player without a lot of the resources like you mentioned. Yeah. His family didn't have a lot of assets. They found a way to make it happen. 2 older brothers have played as well. It's a great story. Everyone in the world is pulling for this kid to get there.
The sign language story is a great one, and the friendship with Jake Neighbors is a great story as well. We'll look at a couple of pictures here of this friendship that is outstanding. Have a look at this, signing Jake Neighbors as the pick, Sammy.
Awesome. You gotta love it.
And here are the buddies, Jake Neighbors and Ozzy Weisblatt, both first-round draft picks. Ozzy Weisblatt, now a member of the San Jose Sharks, selected 31st overall. It's always great when you see buddies go in the first round.
Search through Sportsnet.ca and look at the feature on the Weisblatt family. It is worth looking for. It's an unbelievable story.
Brian, final thought on Ozzy Weisblatt and the San Jose Sharks. This was a difficult year for the San Jose Sharks. It was a team that we looked at on paper and said, I can't believe where they are in the standings. How do they turn this thing around?
Well, if anyone gets a mulligan on a bad year, it's Doug Wilson. He along with the Boston Bruins, have been the gold standard in the NHL for the last decade.
Yeah.
So if anyone's entitled to a hiccup, it's Doug Wilson. He'll figure it out. They made some good moves today to start it. I love the pick. This is a great story to end the night on.
It is.
Ozzy. I mean, this kid is magical to talk to. Like you can't help but love this kid when you talk to him.
Great kid. He's honest about himself. He's open. He's transparent. And you're right. He is a wonderful kid. And what a wonderful draft it's been. Alexis Lafreniere, first overall. It seemed like a million years ago, but that was the scene. A member of the New York Rangers. Big pick, big apple, big star awaits. The Rangers get their guy at the 2020 NHL Draft.
Okay, so
Sports are all about-
yeah, it looks like we're wrapping up here now. So let's talk quickly about the last pick, 31st overall by the San Jose Sharks. What's that noise? He's a bit off the board as well. He was ranked 73rd overall by the Hockey News. He's from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And they have him as a right winger, 5'10", 183 pounds. Coming out of playing out of Prince Albert in the WHL, and they call him. They say he's a darting, smaller player who goes through traffic to generate offense. So yeah, so there you have that. So and apparently he's got an amazing kind of character. Rance Drakel Thor, who just messaged me here. He looks like he might be a Toronto fan. Who says he thinks that Amirov is a good pick and that that you should address your current needs right now in your draft for the future, which is a good point. I guess it's been so long. My retort for that might be it's been so long since the Leafs have needed a right shot defenseman, and Braden Schneider as well looks as a player who might be able to step in within a year, maximum 2. When they still have the core of Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander and such all together. When this kid could start, and it's what they need, and I don't want to go over it again, but it's a right shot defenseman who can play defense. So I guess that's why I'm not saying Amirov might not be a good player. In fact, I don't know much about him. I'm going to read more about him tonight, and obviously there must be something really good about this kid. If they have one of the best scouts in Russia who insisted he be drafted first. But I guess, we'll see what happens, right? If they actually can do anything with trades and free agent signings, and that's a whole nother ballpark. Anyways, thanks for tuning in there. Kelsey Laurentes just messaged talking about New Jersey, saying New Jersey must have made the 20th pick to make us Vancouver fans feel not as bad about not having it anymore. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for chiming in there. New Jersey, New Jersey, how many picks do they have? 2? At least 2. Ottawa had 3. Yeah, New Jersey went 7th and 20th overall. Yeah, so I'm sure maybe we'll see a lot more people chime in tomorrow. I will be doing the 2nd through 7th round pick tomorrow. Now that'll be 8:30 a.m. Pacific, and which will be 9:30, 10:30, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time there. So look out for me there. I'm not sure if I'll be able to keep up with all the picks because they go much, much faster. But I'll try, and we'll talk about them. We'll at least do a live stream / live reaction like we do now. We're going to go back to the panel here ever so quickly before I wrap up.
Sammy, as the 31 picks have all been made, day 2 is tomorrow. You can watch it on Sportsnet. What's the story for you?
You go back to last year and you look at the United States National Training and Development Program. They had 7 of the top 15 picks led by Jack Hughes. That was the story. Well, the story is a rebound year this year for the Canadian Hockey League. You had 13 players selected in last year's first round, 19 players selected off of CHL teams this year, including a run of 7 straight from 22 to 28. Things are in good hands in the Canadian Hockey League. Got to get back on the ice.
Last year, Hughes to Beecher was a U.S. program. This year, it's the year of the return of the CHL. Who did it for you tonight, Berkey?
Pierre Dorion is my first star tonight. I think that the Ottawa Senators had the best night or best evening, best draft of any team in the NHL. So they had Tim Stützle, center winger, high skill. They had a defenseman who's going to play in the top 2 or 3 on their team in a couple of years. They had a character winger that should make it and brings character and toughness as a gamer. I think they checked off lots of boxes tonight. Well done.
Jake Sanderson and Ridley Gregg upstairs. Now, Elliot Friedman with our newest member, the rookie, Mike Futa.
I think now he's at least a sophomore after what we went through in the first round tonight. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was the night between the first round and the second round. Detroit has the 32nd pick. They open the second round, and you said that they're going to have a lot thrown their way this evening.
Yeah, Elliot, I just found that night you'd leave the draft, and as excited as you were to take a deep breath, you get back to your room and you're looking at your list and you're saying, that guy's still there. I can't believe that player's still there. Detroit has the conch. They're picking 32nd. I would be shocked if they're not getting calls from teams that are looking to move up into that spot. I mean, the one night we were just sitting up there waiting for Kyle Clifford to fall, Tyler Toffoli. It's just there's so many gems left there that that's such a key pick. And again, it starts tomorrow. You don't have as much time to make that pick. But when you wake in that morning and you're sitting there with that first pick, you're feeling great about yourself.
By the way, that is an outstanding Lord of the Flies reference. One of my favorite books. Now, this is for you and Sam. Identify this particular individual.
Okay.
It's like a Russian winger to me.
Yeah, I tell you. Looks like he plays an UFA, left shot.
You know, I wanted to mention, and this was a funny moment tonight, and Jarmo Kekalainen did his media after the game on Zoom, and he said he was a player that had really ranked really highly in the top 10. Brian credited Ottawa for its night. You wanted to mention Calgary for trading down twice, getting the guy they wanted, and adding extra third-round picks.
Anytime that, as Brad said, when you can trade back twice and still get your guy, you've had a great night. But I have to echo Brian's comments. I thought Pierre Dorian just knocked it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Just a great feel. You get Stützle at 3, you get Sanderson, and then all I've heard about is, I know the father, Mark Gregg. If that kid has half the character of his dad, that's a home run there.
You said the father's a big workout guy.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
5 o'clock every morning. He's a machine. He's a guy you just wait to get out of the gym so you don't look like a fool.
I hate people like that. Jeff?
All right, I've got the conch. Any fishing stories from Chinnikov there, Berkey? You have any?
I'll never fish with him. I can promise you that. I don't like them.
Have a look at them.
There we go. Okay, that's the show there. Really. Thank you so much for everyone for watching today. We're gonna do, as I mentioned earlier, we're gonna do the second round tomorrow morning, starting 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll go through rounds 7 through 7th. I don't think I need to go through this entire board, but maybe, what I'll do tomorrow is I'll start a little bit early, and I'll just quickly review some of these picks. If you're interested in joining about 30 or 40 minutes early tomorrow morning, we'll see how that goes. I just went from under 300 subscribers to over 300 subscribers today. So thank you very much. I'm also going to be starting up a Patreon page within the next couple of weeks. By Halloween, I'll have that up. So look out for that. I know I've been a bit absent in the past couple of weeks. It's because I have a job. I work in the film industry, and it's a gig economy, and it's gotten a little bit busier here. I live out in British Columbia, so I've been been busy lately enough. Unfortunately, my hockey videos have suffered because of it. But thank you so much for sticking around. I do have tomorrow off. We'll be working. I do have Friday off as well. We'll be looking at Trade Center when that pops open, and of course, I'll be looking at any trades here and there that happen to hit the wire. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It would really help the channel. And yeah, let's talk again tomorrow morning. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Have a good night.